Chapter 1955, 1955. But if you go, what will you do? That's deep in enemy territory and they're ready for you. You're going to send yourself to your death just to accompany that girl. You'll die and she'll still die. What about your brothers? Asked Evil Moon. That's why I'm conflicted. My life isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who loves me. But for the people I love, I have no choice but to risk my life. Don't you feel like that's the world's greatest contradiction, the great conundrum? Said Long Chen helplessly. HMPH, I can't understand the feelings of humans. The dark evil dragon race has no such thing as love. We only have a kind of instinct to kill if we want to live. We have to constantly devour others so that we can get stronger, or we'll get devoured by others. If I weren't trying to dodge my enemy, I wouldn't have ended up charging into such a backwater place to see if I could devour other experts. Then I wouldn't have ended up running into Yun Shang. I'm not talking about that. It was so unlucky. If I had gone all out against that enemy back then, I would have at least had a 30% chance of winning, said Evil Moon hatefully. Evil Moon, you've already recovered a bit of your energy, and you've managed to loosen the seal yourself. As long as you have enough time, I feel like you'll be able to undo the sovereign seal. What are you saying? Evil Moon's guard raised. I'm saying that there's a high chance I won't be returning this time to fulfill our agreement. You can leave on your own now. Having been with Evil Moon for so long, he didn't want to implicate it. If Evil Moon fell into Xuanhuan's hands, considering that it was still sealed, its ending would be very miserable. Who do you think I am? Do you think the dark evil dragon race would break their promises? We have an agreement. You help me break the seal and I'll fight alongside you. Do you think I'm a coward? Raged Evil Moon. Unexpectedly, even the dark evil dragon race had such a side. That greatly moved Long Chen. In truth, based on the information Long Chen had gotten, the dark evil dragon race was avaricious and sinister, committing non-stop cold-blooded slaughters. They didn't actually have such a thing like caring about their promises. For Evil Moon to say this was entirely boasting, but by saying this, Long Chen viewed it as a life-and-death companion. Thank you. Where did such words come from? Furthermore, even if there's almost no chance for us to get out alive, there's still a chance. I'm quite a fool. I should have sneaked away with the Huiyun Pavilion's transportation formation, which would make them think I was afraid. Their guards wouldn't be raised. But now, they know that I'm not afraid of anything as I killed 4 Nether Passage experts. In other words, I'm out for revenge, and they naturally know that I will go stop Lang Yuan's execution. They'll arrange for even more experts to gather there and have even more tricks for me. Tell me, don't you think I'm an idiot? Long Chen bitterly smiled. If you clearly knew all that and still did it, then it really was foolish. Evil Moon agreed with Long Chen. No way around it. I'm just one giant contradiction. My killing intent at that time was too strong, and suppressing it any further would affect my Dao heart. It's an irritating thing, but if I didn't unleash it, it felt like my body would explode. Many people were able to see others clearly but unable to see themselves. However, Long Chen could see himself clearly, including his weaknesses, but he was unable to do anything about them. The execution date is set for tomorrow afternoon. Since you've decided to go, just stop thinking about it and enter your peak condition. It's too bad you still haven't advanced to the Life Star realm, or you would have much higher odds of getting away alive, said Evil Moon. This was the best decision of Xuanhuan and the unfettered All-Seer, to not give Long Chen any time to get stronger or gather more trump cards. I haven't even had a chance to breathe, and they already did this to me. That unfettered All-Seer is quite a distasteful fellow. He must have worked quite hard to make an unending storm of schemes, said Long Chen hatefully. His hatred for Heavenly Fate Island had reached a peak. Long Chen, don't you think that Lang Yuan's execution is strange? Said Evil Moon suddenly. What are you talking about? Long Chen was startled. That Lang Yuan's origins are extremely strange. She's actually able to control the death energy of the yin-yang world, and her bone sword is an extremely terrifying existence. Why would she return to the corrupt path after what she had done? Be described as extremely terrifying by Evil Moon, that bone sword had to be truly terrifying. Based on Zheng Wenlong's information, she was heavily injured during her tribulation when advancing to Life Star, resulting in her being captured. She wasn't actually at the corrupt path, but the corrupt path leaked information that Lang Yuan returned to the corrupt path and voluntarily accepted her execution. I feel like Zheng Wenlong's information is more reliable. The corrupt path is only saying that to force me to appear. If I don't go, they'll have a new name for me that I'll never be able to wash away, said Long Chen. I doubt things are that simple. That Leng Yuan couldn't possibly be captured so easily. Furthermore, she obtained my essence soul, but I've never managed to sense its aura from her. In other words, she has yet to refine my dragon core. So what is she planning on using it for? I can't care about such things. Tomorrow, there will be a bloodbath. It's time to see whether I'm a dragon or a serpent. After saying that, Long Chen closed his eyes. He wanted to calm himself down before the final moment. He had to enter his top condition. In the central Xuanhuan region's northern border, near the northern Xuanhuan region, there was a hidden entrance to a minor world. That was one of the corrupt path's 3 major strongholds. It was a forbidden region to the righteous path, and no one dared to approach it. This minor world was called the Heavenly Evil Region. It was quite vast, almost as large as the Eastern Wasteland, and there were tens of thousands of sects of the corrupt path inside. It was their only stronghold outside the martial heaven continent. The ruler of the Heavenly Evil Region was the Heavenly Evil Sect, and the sect master was also the master of the corrupt path, Xuanhuan. Actually, the other 2 strongholds also had leaders of the corrupt path present. They had sent their heavenly geniuses into the yin-yang world as well. Those 2 were Gui Can and Ming Jai. Together with Zai Luo, they were called the corrupt path's 3 corrupt kings. As a result, Ming Jai had been slain by Yi Lingshan, turning them into just 2 kings. The Heavenly Evil Region was very lively today. Experts from the other strongholds had gathered here. Today, a major matter was occurring within the corrupt path. Their supreme genius, Leng Yuan, was being executed. Leng Yuan was a mysterious and miraculous figure within the corrupt path. Her fame might even be greater than Long Chen's fame in the righteous path. The Heavenly Evil Cave was located at the center of this region and was also the location of the Heavenly Evil Sect. There was a giant cave here, and inside was a statue of the corrupt god, as well as statues of their greatest leaders. It was the most sacred place to the corrupt path. Each year, they would offer sacrifices to this place. Today, atop a giant sacrificial altar, there was a woman shackled in blood-red chains. She was bound onto a wooden pillar in the middle of the altar. The wooden pillar was just 3 meters tall, but it was covered in runes that emitted an evil air. It was like billions of evil spirits were baring their teeth. Leng Yuan was bound to the pillar, and although her hair was in disarray, it didn't conceal her peerless beauty as well as her noble air. Her sapphire eyes were staring calmly at the distance. There wasn't the slightest emotion on her face. There were countless experts of the corrupt path here, just the Nether Passage experts already numbered in the hundreds. As for other experts, they were in the tens of thousands. This was definitely the largest matter of the corrupt path in living history. Leng Yuan, you betrayed the corrupt god. Today, you will be sacrificed to the corrupt god so that the corrupt god can cleanse your filthy soul. Do you have anything to say? Shouted an elder who looked like a zombie that had just crawled out of the ground. Leng Yuan was still expressionless. She didn't even blink. Her eyes were still staring into the distance. It was as if she hadn't heard him. The elder was enraged, shouting, "You have no respect for the corrupt god and have failed to live up to the corrupt god's favor in raising you. Even with death at hand, you still don't repent. There is nothing that can save you." Leng Yuan was completely ignoring that person. She was ignoring everything about this, including her own life and death. The experts couldn't help feeling some pity for her death. Her talent was just that amazing. She had been raised to be a divine sprout, but who would have thought that for Long Chen, she would actually betray the corrupt path? She had infuriated Xuanhuan. Amongst the crowd, there was a pair of eyes that glinted with divine light. That person's eyes were excited and filled with anticipation. It was Zai Luo. The elder took out a scroll upon seeing that Leng Yuan refused to say anything. He began to list her crimes. Once her crimes were finished being read off, he looked toward Xuanhuan, who was standing at the front. Seeing him nod, he raised his hand. "Let the execution begin." "Hold it." Just at this moment, a voice that made everyone look back rang out. They saw a black-robed man with a black saber on his shoulder. His divine ring was spinning behind him. Long Chen. Chapter 1956, 1956. Long Chen was covered in blood, and even his hair had some blood on it. Under the light of his divine ring, he was like a devil god that had just charged out of hell. One man and one saber, slowly walking forward. Countless corrupt experts closed the path behind him. They followed him from behind, terrified. Long Chen had charged his way in here. All those who had blocked him on the way had been killed. The corrupt experts near the entrance of the heavenly evil region had eventually been too terrified to try blocking him. They had retreated, simply following behind him. The corrupt path might be famed for their viciousness, but they had never seen someone as vicious as this. Xuanhuan smiled upon seeing Long Chen. He hadn't really expected Long Chen to come. When Heavenly Fate Island had told him to spread the word about the execution to bait Long Chen into coming, he had felt it to be stupid. It was clearly a trap. Only an idiot would come. But this idiot called Long Chen had really come. Zai Luo was also smiling, very delightedly at that. He knew that Long Chen wouldn't be able to leave now that he had come. In the future, there would be no Long Chen in this world. The expressionless Leng Yuyan finally smiled. It was like a flower blooming. But at the same time, her sapphire eyes became wet. Pearl-like tears dripped down her face one by one. Everyone was deathly silent. Only the sound of Long Chen's footsteps resounded through the air. However, behind those footsteps was a faint sound of blood dripping. Long Chen's walk was like a sorrowful overture. Even in the face of death, he refused to stop walking. Long Chen didn't look at Zai Luo or Zai Wenchen. He didn't even look at the mass of corrupt experts present. In his gaze was only the women bound to the wooden pillar. "This is the second time I've seen you cry." Long Chen walked straight over to Leng Yuyan. He reached out and wiped away her tears. Leng Yuyan smiled. There was an indescribable emotion in her eyes. "You are the first man to see me cry ever since I started cultivating." "Oh, then I'm honored. At first I didn't know if this was really worth it, but hearing that I feel like it is worth it." Long Chen smiled. Leng Yuyan shook her head. "Do you know how stupid you are? Now that you've come, you won't be able to leave. They've already sealed the heavenly evil region. No matter how many reinforcements you call, they won't be able to break the barrier to this world. You will definitely die." "That's all right. Don't I have you to accompany me? With the Devil Empress by me, even the Yellow Springs won't feel lonely. It might even be a marvelous sight. Our enmities and favors have left us entangled. This result is good. If you could protect me once, I can protect you for a lifetime." Hearing that, Leng Yuyan's eyes once more got wet. Long Chen had come here despite knowing he was sending himself to his death. Perhaps the only one in this world who could actually care about Leng Yuyan and actually sacrifice their life for her was Long Chen. Suddenly, clapping rang out. Zai Luo said, "What a pair of emotional lovers. Even I'm moved. How about this? Long Chen, I'll give you a chance. We'll have a one-on-one battle. If you beat me, I'll release the two of you. If you lose, you have to hand over all your secrets, and in return, I will make sure that the two of your corpses aren't defiled. How's that?" Zai Luo's eyes were shining. He had already advanced to the third heaven stage of Life Star. The corrupt path's resources had all been concentrated on him. Hence, the current Zai Luo gave Long Chen a very dangerous feeling. In truth, the one who would benefit the most from Leng Yuyan's execution was Zai Luo. Through this special sacrifice, the corrupt god would bestow Leng Yuyan's divine abilities to him. Then he would possess her monstrous death energy. That was a terrifying power. This challenge was not out of the goodness of his heart. He wanted to beat Long Chen himself, wiping away his previous disgrace and making sure that Huo Lian and true immortal Jioki wouldn't have the same chance. Although they were called allies, once their enemies were eliminated, they would become enemies again. If Huo Lian and true immortal Jioki didn't manage to defeat Long Chen, it would leave a blemish on their Dao hearts, which would very likely slow down how quickly they advanced to Nether Passage. Then Zai Luo would have an immense advantage. As Zai Wenchen's son, Zai Luo was quite crafty. He said that he would release the two of them if he won, but that only represented himself, not the corrupt path. This promise was meaningless. More importantly, he wanted to capture Long Chen alive. Everyone on the continent hoped to know Long Chen's secrets. The Dragonblood Legion was too terrifying. Their talent should have made them nothing more than cannon fodder, but Long Chen had turned them into the world's #1 legion. If there was no secret behind this, well, no one would believe that. The reason for Pill Valley's enmity with Long Chen was mostly because of their greed for his secrets. For Long Chen to send himself here, he was practically gifting his secrets to the corrupt path. If they weren't afraid of Long Chen using some secret art to kill himself and destroy his secrets, they would have long since attacked. Glancing at Zai Luo, Long Chen smiled coldly. He was far too immature to play schemes with him. Long Chen saw through his intentions instantly. He ignored him and turned back to Leng Yuyan. He gently brushed back her hair. He messaged her, "How can I save you?" Leng Yuyan shook her head. "You can't save me. This pillar contains the faith energy of the corrupt path. No power can break it. Once the ceremony begins, I will be sacrificed. After that, divine energy will come down here and everything will be over. Long Chen, thank you. You were the one who showed me that there could still be someone who loved me in this world. I know that if you go all out, then with your saber, you have a chance to tear through space and leave here. Leave while you can. If you exhaust yourself, you won't have a chance. I won't leave you. We either leave together or die together. No one can change this. Since I can't beat this altar, then I'll have to find some other way. There's always some solution, said Long Chen. Turning to Zai Luo, he said, don't you think your words are crap? Once you're defeated by me, you won't live up to your own promise. Long Chen, don't throw mud on my name in an attempt to anger me. I've always followed through with my word. It's just that you don't have the ability to defeat me, said Zai Luo. Long Chen do. Once you start fighting, you won't have the energy to leave, shouted Leng Yuan. Since I've come, I never had any intention of leaving by myself. Either we leave together or we die together. 5 stars lit up in Long Chen's eyes. His 108,000 stars activated, unleashing endless energy. He attacked Zai Luo with his saber. He really is a hateful and lovable fellow. Well, it's fine. Leng Yuan muttered to herself upon seeing Long Chen's back. Zai Luo raised a hand and a snakehead spear appeared. The entire spear twisted and turned. It looked to be covered in rust or corrosion, but it unleashed an evil air. It struck like a viper. Corrupt god possession. Zai Luo let out a cry, and a figure appeared in his manifestation. That figure was covered in black mist, but its body unleashed a sinister aura. Zai Luo's body became covered in black runes. The snakehead spear pierced toward Long Chen. Boom! The 2 divine items clashed, unleashing surging chi waves that even pressured the Nether Passage experts present. The 2 of them were actually equally matched. Zai Luo snorted. Bring out the power you used yesterday. I want to defeat you in your peak state. Otherwise, you'll die before I even use my world energy. That would be too boring. As expected, news of the battle yesterday had reached this place. Even his trump cards had been exposed. Fine, let me see just how powerful your world energy is. Long Chen took a deep breath. A dragon cry rang out through the world, shaking people's souls. Cracks appeared on Long Chen's body as white scales appeared irregularly across his skin. He was unable to summon the complete Azure Dragon battle armor, but the power he suddenly unleashed shocked everyone. That dragon might was unstoppable. Ha ha ha, good. This is the only way to make things fun. Defeating you in this state is the only way to show that I, Zai Luo, am the strongest. Zai Luo laughed. His hair suddenly stood on end. The black runes on his body seemed to come to life, and they roved over his body. At the same time, the surrounding space exploded. An unprecedented energy raged through the air. My evil spirit energy is able to merge with my world energy. Today, I'll make sure you're convinced of your defeat. Zai Luo had a sinister smile. The snakehead spear suddenly rumbled and attacked. The void collapsed in every direction. I'll defeat you in one move. Heaven-devouring evil spear. Chapter 1957, 1957. Zai Luo didn't hesitate or use any probing blows. He immediately unleashed his strongest attack, wanting to defeat Long Chen in one move to wipe away his previous disgrace. This was no longer his first fight against Long Chen, so they were both familiar with each other's techniques. Long Chen's fighting style was very simple. It was to win with power. Split the Heavens 7. Long Chen also didn't hold back. He directly used the 7th form of Split the Heavens. The 2 of them unleashed their strongest attacks right off the bat. Zai Luo's goal was obvious. While Long Chen was still at the peak of soul transformation, Zai Luo wanted to crush him with absolute power to show off his own power. If he could only win after fighting a protracted battle, that would make him a laughingstock. After all, he was already at the 3rd heaven stage of Life Star. Boom! Evil Moon unleashed an explosion of divine light. It was like a volcano had erupted in the air, and a ripple spread through it. Wherever the ripple passed, the void exploded. The immense power caused even the Nether Passage experts' expressions to change. They raised defenses, blocking the shockwaves. Otherwise, if this power was left to run rampant, not many people below the Nether Passage realm would be able to survive. Although Life Star experts were not that rare in this world, these Life Star experts were the elders and masters of the various sects. If they died, it would throw the heavenly evil region into chaos. Split the Heavens 7. Before the shockwaves were even passed, a furious roar rang out. Another giant saber image tore through the sky. You want to fight like this? Then let's see just who is afraid of who. Heavenly devouring evil spear. Zai Luo also unleashed the same technique. He was surprised that he hadn't defeated Long Chen in one move. Just where did Long Chen get the power to resist the merged might of his evil spirit body and world energy? However, he wasn't too worried. Just now, Long Chen had become covered in blood as his physical body was unable to endure his own immense power. Continuing like this would only be more disadvantageous to Zai Luo. Boom! Yet again, a powerful collision caused shockwaves to spread, this time with even greater momentum than last time. The Nether Passage experts were forced to strengthen their barriers. Split the heavens 7. Long Chen once more raised Evil Moon, and a saber image slashed down at Zai Luo. HMPH, after this move is over, you'll be a cripple. Zai Luo had some blood leaking out of the corner of his mouth. He had suffered a light injury just now, but he didn't mind. Unleashing this attack again meant that Long Chen would be fully out of energy. He might not even have the energy to stand. He was still at the soul transformation realm, while Zai Luo was at the life star realm and controlled his evil spirit energy and world energy. There was a clear difference between them. Zai Luo's evil aura soared as he once more clashed directly with Long Chen's saber image. Bang! However, this time, Long Chen's saber image instantly crumbled. It actually didn't have the slightest energy within it. Zai Luo's snakehead spear sent Evil Moon tumbling through the air, while Long Chen had vanished. Watch out! Shouts rang out. Long Chen had appeared behind Zai Luo at some time, a lightning spear in his hand. What? Zai Luo was startled. Long Chen's third attack was actually a fake and Evil Moon was the bait. Heavenly Evil Shield. The figure within Zai Luo's manifestation suddenly reached out a hand. That hand held a shield that blocked Long Chen's spear. The lightning spear pierced into the shield, causing black runes to fly, but it was unable to pierce through it completely. Zai Luo used that chance to attack with his spear. Having his attack blocked, Long Chen didn't pause. He formed hand seals and runes lit up on his arms. Double Dragon Destruction. Two roars rang out as Lei Long and Hue Long came flying out. Flames overflowed from the sky, and lightning raged. Boom! Zai Luo's expression completely changed. This time, Lei Long and Hue Long were unleashing all their power. Their destructive power actually made him lose connection to the heavenly Taos. Lei Long and Hue Long hadn't gone all out in a long time. Hue Long was even igniting all of its energy to destroy the influence of the heavenly Taos within this region. Break, Zai Luo roared. With his heavenly Tao energy stripped away, he focused on his world energy. Divine light condensed on his spear. Boom! Lightning and flames devoured the world, making Zai Luo cough up a mouthful of blood. Hue Long had actually detonated at that critical time, unleashing all of its power. As a result, even Zai Luo's internal organs were damaged by it. Split the heavens 7. Just at this moment, a black saber image slashed toward Zai Luo while he was heavily injured. Crap! Zai Luo's expression changed. The flame dragon's detonation had unleashed black flames that overwhelmed the energy of the heavenly Taos. He couldn't heal. In this state, he could only resist with his world energy. Boom! After a miserable clash, Zai Luo's body was covered in blood. He had almost died. At this time, the corrupt Path's people's expressions changed. Long Chen was only at the peak of soul transformation. How could he be so terrifying? They had thought that Zai Luo would have an easy victory, but Long Chen was actually able to force Zai Luo to the point that they were both covered in blood. Right now, Long Chen's body was covered in cracks, and his bones were visible from many spots. His injuries were even worse than Zai Luo's. However, just as they thought that the two of them had both run out of energy, the white scales on Long Chen's body vanished. Following that, his injuries instantly healed. What? Everyone was shocked. Just how was it possible to heal such terrifying injuries so quickly? Having dissipated the Azure Dragon battle armor, he was able to use the Primal Chaos Space's life energy to heal. But now, Long Chen wouldn't be able to use the Azure Dragon battle armor again for a while, as he also wasn't capable of keeping it up any longer. His body had already reached its limit. Long Chen no longer had the Azure Dragon battle armor, but he had the 5-star battle armor. He shot after Zai Luo, unleashing a tempest of attacks with Evil Moon. The world was covered in black flames because Hue Long had sacrificed all the energy it could expend without dying. Within these black flames, Zai Luo was like a drowning man. No matter how good a swimmer was, they always needed a chance to breathe. After blocking Long Chen's 19th slash, Zai Luo couldn't endure any longer. One of his arms exploded, and his spear fell away. As for Long Chen, he didn't pause. He continued to press forward. Zai Luo was stripped of his heavenly Tao energy now. Unfortunately, the black illusion dragon flame wouldn't be able to last for long. It was already starting to dissipate, and once the heavenly Tao energy returned, Zai Luo would be able to heal and instantly crush Long Chen. Long Chen was panting, and his aura was slightly turbulent as he had already reached his limit. With both sides at critical moments, it was Zai Luo who was terrified. Looking at Long Chen's bloodthirsty eyes, he was finally afraid. Boom! With only one arm, Zai Luo caught the snakehead spear and blocked Long Chen's next attack. Using a special technique, he managed to force aside some of Long Chen's power, but he was still sent tumbling back. Seeing this, Zai Wenchen sighed. Zai Luo had been defeated. He had been defeated because he wasn't ruthless enough and no longer had the courage to continue using head-on clashes against Long Chen. He understood his son very well. As long as Zai Luo had continued fighting head-on, Long Chen would have definitely been killed. He could see just how much energy the two of them had left. Long Chen was running on empty, while Zai Luo still had quite a bit of energy. However, Zai Luo was running, which signified defeat. He had not just lost now, but he would also lose in the future forever. Experts needed absolute confidence. If a person doubted their own power, they would never be able to be a true expert. Die, Long Chen roared, his voice causing chills. Save me. Zai Wenchen shook his head. He was very disappointed in this successor of his. However, he couldn't allow Long Chen to kill his son. Looking at the sky, he saw that the black illusion dragon flame would only last for 2 more breaths' time before dissipating. Then Zai Luo would be able to absorb heavenly Tao energy, and Long Chen would become a lamb for the slaughter. However, 2 breaths' time was as long as 2 hours to the current Zai Luo. He couldn't hold on. Zai Wenchen reached out to break the black flames, but just at that moment, a giant claw slammed toward him. What? Zai Wenchen was startled. A rune lit up on his hand, and a giant palm image smashed toward the claw. Boom! The giant claw exploded, unleashing a wave of lightning that forced back Zai Wenchen. HMPH, you're nothing more than a pet for the human race. Zai Wenchen sneered. He was about to attack when Zai Luo let out a miserable cry. Chapter 1958, 1958. Zai Luo's head had actually been cut off by Long Chen. His head was flying through the air and screaming. Damn it, I missed. Long Chen felt like his head was about to split. He was past his limit. Just now, he had been aiming to pierce right through Zai Luo's head, but he had ended up striking the neck instead. If Long Chen had struck Zai Luo right in the head, he would have had a 50% chance of controlling his Yuan spirit. However, he had failed. Taking a deep breath, Long Chen was about to make up for his missed attack when one of the corrupt path's elders flew over, smashing a palm at him. Long Chen instinctively raised his saber to block and was sent smashing back like a shooting star, crashing into the ground. He coughed up blood. He felt like the world was spinning around him. He was about to collapse. Long Chen, hand over your life. Just at this moment, Zai Luo came charging over. The black illusion dragon flame had dissipated, which had restored his heavenly Tao energy. Zai Luo had recovered to at least 70%. Thinking of how miserable his plight had been just now, Zai Luo was infuriated. Boom! Suddenly, the sky tore apart. A giant lightning dragon came out, once more clashing against Zai Wenchen. Meanwhile, Zai Wenchen's expression was calm. The space around him crumbled as he displayed the power of the leader of the corrupt path. Long Chen, just what did you do? I can't beat him. I'm unable to use my full power here, said the Silver Drake King to Long Chen. So as expected, he had lost. Long Chen couldn't help sighing. After the double dragon destruction, Huo Long had detonated, while Lei Long had preserved a bit of its energy to condense spatial runes in secret. When Zai Wenchen had tried to interfere, Lei Long had created the spatial channel, summoning the Silver Drake King. Long Chen hadn't had any extravagant hopes that the Drake King would be able to annihilate all his enemies. One reason was that the spatial channel limited its energy, and Long Chen couldn't create a larger channel that could allow it to use more of its power. He had merely hoped that it could buy him enough time. As long as he could capture Zai Luo, he would have gained a powerful trump card. If he could use Zai Luo's life in exchange for Leng Yuan's life, perhaps he might have managed to get away. However, it was all over now. Zai Luo had recovered, and the Drake King was blocked by Zai Wenchen. Long Chen was finally seeing the power of the leader of the corrupt path. That kind of power wasn't something he could face. Right now, Xuanhuan wasn't even going all out. He was easily able to block the Silver Drake King from getting to Long Chen. It really was an absolute failure, Long Chen sighed. His original plan was to first release Leng Yuan from her chains, but that wooden pillar was too strange, and Leng Yuan had directly told him that it was impossible. Then he had switched to capturing Zai Luo as a hostage. His plan had been to summon the Silver Drake King and bring them into the lightning field, and then he would think of some other way to return to the martial heaven continent. However, it was all over now. Xuanhuan clearly had more than enough power to stop the Drake King. Even if Long Chen had managed to capture Zai Luo, he wouldn't have been able to leave the heavenly evil region. This place was a death trap. Long Chen clenched Evil Moon. Evil Moon still had a bit of energy. It was flowing through his body, and although its power had already dropped, Long Chen wouldn't give up. Long Chen stared at Zai Luo, while Zai Luo glared daggers at him. He had originally been planning on crushing Long Chen, and his spear was already raised. However, he never let it fall. He suddenly smiled sinisterly. Long Chen, don't you call yourself someone who cares about friends and relationships? Then let me test whether that's really true. Zai Luo suddenly waved his hand, unleashing a ray of divine light at the distant altar. The altar's divine runes lit up. The light seemed like flame serpents dancing through the air. 16 wooden pillars slowly rose out of the altar, reaching all the way into the sky. The void rumbled as fragments of spacetime shattered and crumbled. The altar actually formed a giant channel. Long Chen, I'll let you personally witness Leng Yuan being sacrificed. Look well as her flesh and soul are stripped away, ha ha ha. With one order from Zai Luo, hundreds of the corrupt path's experts suddenly knelt on the ground. They began to chant something. More runes lit up on the altar. This time, they were blood-colored and flowed toward Leng Yuan like bloody rivers. Long Chen roared and charged toward the altar. However, just as he was approaching it, he was repulsed by some invisible energy. He was blown back many miles before stabilizing, and then he spat out a mouthful of blood that was actually black. It seemed that he had been cursed. Leng Yuan was looking at Long Chen. Tears dripped down her face, but she didn't have the slightest fear or panic on it. The only thing left there was a tender emotion. Long Chen charged forward once more, this time piercing forward with Evil Moon. However, he was blown back again. Ha ha ha, Long Chen, do you know? In front of the divine altar you're nothing more than an ant. Your struggling is foolish. All it will do is bring you closer to death. How is it satisfying? Laughed Zai Luo delightedly. He felt like killing Long Chen, while he was lost in the deepest pit of despair would be much better. In the distance, Xuanhuan was still blocking the Drake King. He didn't say anything about Zai Luo's actions. If he allowed Zai Luo to torment Long Chen, it might make up for the flaw in Zai Luo's Dao heart from losing to Long Chen. If he was lucky, perhaps the heart devil would disappear once Long Chen died. At this moment, the lightning channel shrank. The lightning drake let out an unwilling roar as it was pulled back into the lightning field. Long Chen no longer had any more energy to maintain the spatial channel. Long Chen, give up. This barrier is made of divine energy. You can't get past it even if you were in your peak condition. You've lost, sighed Evil Moon. Defeat was truly just the tip of the iceberg. I, Long Chen, definitely won't give up as long as I'm alive. I never lived off luck. Every slightest chance I get is something I won. No matter how remote the odds are, I have to fight. Giving up would mean lowering my head to fate, and I don't lower my head to anyone, not fate and not the heavens. Long Chen wiped some blood off his mouth. Zai Luo's laughter rang in his ears, but he ignored it. Leng Yuan was covered in blood-colored runes, and the spatial channel in the sky was unleashing divine might. It was like a god was really descending upon this world. Blessing of the corrupt god, cleanse my body. Let me have no fear. Let me forget myself, forget reality. The only thing in this world is God's blessing. For bestowing me my body, I will carry out the will of the heavens, to let the strong survive, to let the weak die, to let all lives grow stronger. All the corrupt path's experts piously knelt down, chanting. Their voices shook the sky. Long Chen stepped forward carefully. Before this, he had been unable to pinpoint the exact location of the barrier. This time he found it. I'll test this. Long Chen suddenly took out a bronze fragment. He carefully pushed it forward, and when it was about to touch the invisible barrier, he slammed it forward. Suddenly, a black opening appeared in space. At the same time, Long Chen spat out blood and was blown back once more. The opening rapidly grew throughout the barrier. Cracks then appeared on the altar and even the surrounding space. It was like the world was crumbling. Not good. The divine blessing has just descended, but the barrier was broken. Xuanhuan's expression changed, and he hastily rushed over. There was a pair of black wings on his back, which he used to prop up the formation. Divine light fell. Luo, capture Long Chen. Xuanhuan suddenly shouted because he saw Long Chen charging back. Even he hadn't anticipated that Long Chen would have the ability to break this barrier. He hadn't even seen what Long Chen had used. Long Chen, if you can receive this next blow, I'll spare your life, shouted Luo. He put away the snakehead spear, instead slamming a palm at Long Chen. Trash, your words are just crap. After being defeated, you ate your promise. Is the taste of your own crap good? Cursed Long Chen. Luo's expression sank. He thought of his agreement with Long Chen to release him if he was defeated, and he truly had been defeated. If it hadn't been for Xuanhuan and the other Nether Passage experts of the corrupt path, he might already be dead. Having this point be brought up, he felt like he had been slapped in the face. Bastard, shut up! Luo roared and suddenly spread his arms. Divine runes appeared, forming a runic net that attempted to capture Long Chen. Long Chen was out of energy, and Luo wanted to capture him alive. You shut up! Long Chen suddenly smashed a cyan brick at Luo. Chapter 1959. The heaven-flipping seal's divine light erupted. After accumulating energy for such a long time, its power was shocking. Long Chen could tell that there was no way he was escaping alive. If he could at least bring down Luo with him, today wouldn't be a total failure. The heaven-flipping seal smashed toward Luo. It didn't hold back at all. When Xuanhuan saw the heaven-flipping seal, his expression changed. He shouted, "Go help." If it was a normal time, perhaps Luo wouldn't need to fear this attack. But his power had already dropped from his peak. Although it looked like he had 70% of his power on the surface, he was still filled with internal injuries and couldn't bear such a powerful attack. Boom! The surrounding Nether Passage experts immediately launched their attacks to stop the heaven-flipping seal. Over 10 rays of divine light struck it and shattered upon contact. The heaven-flipping seal had been accumulating energy for a long time, and Long Chen had advanced to the 12th heaven stage of soul transformation, meaning his spiritual strength was stronger and able to provide better nourishment for it. Luo's expression changed. With a furious roar, he slammed his palms into the heaven-flipping seal. After a powerful explosion, his body had been flattened into a meatloaf. Long Chen was about to direct the heaven-flipping seal to kill him in this state when the Nether Passage experts shot over, sending it flying. Long Chen couldn't bother with that. He once more pierced the bronze fragment in his hand at the barrier. This time, he created a giant cut. This piece of bronze was a fragment of the Eastern Wasteland Bell. He had just been testing it, but it really had worked. It was able to tear through this barrier of divine energy. Cracks covered the entire barrier and it crumbled. Even Xuanhuan wasn't able to stop it. Divine energy raged as fragments of the barrier shot out in every direction. As the person at the front, Long Chen was struck first, but the heaven-flipping seal came flying over, blocking it for him. Despite that, Long Chen sensed his bones shatter. The corrupt path's experts were alarmed and hastily defended. However, this divine power was horrific, and some of the Life Star experts were slain. Long Chen felt like he might collapse at any time. Even the sounds of the outside world were growing distant. However, he couldn't faint yet. Fainting was a kind of escape, giving up. With his immense willpower, he kept his eyes open. His vision was murky. With his last bit of spiritual strength, he examined his surroundings. This world had been ruined. Other than the altar and the statue of the corrupt god, everything else had been destroyed. That was the power of a god. Lang Yuan was still bound at the center of the altar. Her head was lowered, and Long Chen couldn't tell if she was alive or dead. Tottering on his last legs, Long Chen stumbled toward Lang Yuan. Dust filled the air, and the remnants of that divine energy lingered, terrifying people. It was like a god had been enraged. One figure after another popped out of the ground. One of the Nether Passage experts pulled out a piece of meatloaf. Yes, it was the corrupt path's genius, Luo. Luo was unconscious. If it hadn't been for that Nether Passage expert's protection, he would have died. Even with his body in this state, it could be restored in the future. This physical body was still the best one for Luo. One expert popped out after another, pale with terror. Was this the wrath of the corrupt god? Only a single lonely figure continued to walk toward the altar. The sound of blood dripping echoed. Fresh drops continued to bloom on the ground. That scene was similar to when he had first come. However, at that time, Long Chen had appeared mighty and domineering. The blood dripping had belonged to the corrupt path's experts. Now Long Chen's robes were in tatters, his body was on the verge of collapse, and it looked like he might crumble at any moment. The blood dripping down was his. Each drop represented another step closer to death. However, Long Chen's gaze was still calm. It hadn't changed from when he had first come. The sounds of his footsteps and dripping blood were the only things that could be heard. Despite Long Chen being the corrupt path's greatest enemy, their greatest threat, this sight of him shook them to their core. They knew that he was exhausted and that any ordinary disciple would probably be able to kill him. But they didn't move. They couldn't. Zai Wenchen was gloomy as he floated in the sky. The altar's barrier had actually failed. That was a blasphemy to the corrupt god. His gaze was sharp as he looked at Long Chen. He was currently thinking about how he could appease the corrupt god. Should he keep Long Chen here, or should he offer Long Chen up as a sacrifice as well? If he did, it would have to be a complete sacrifice, including his weapons, his souls, and his memories. If that happened, his secrets would belong to the altar. What infuriated him the most was that, even if he made that sacrifice, he wouldn't receive any reward. If anything, just appeasing the corrupt god's anger would be not bad. A vein bulged on Zai Wenchen's forehead. Glancing at the meatloaf in the distance, he was even angrier. Zai Luo's Dao heart was doomed, and a good sacrificial altar had been turned into this state. On top of that, they wouldn't obtain anything good either. Ling Yuyan's eyes were closed and her face was pale white. There wasn't the slightest aura around her. However, the fluctuations of life around her proved that she was still living. When Long Chen finally staggered over to her, Ling Yuyan's eyes slowly opened. There was a faint, tender emotion in them. Was it worth it for you to do this? Ling Yuyan looked at Long Chen with a complicated expression. She knew that he cared deeply about relationships, but it was also because of this that he had to cherish his own life. He always said that his life didn't just belong to him, but to all who loved him. Now, just for her, he had clearly sent himself to his death, fighting for a chance that never existed. Who knows? In any case, I'm not going to just watch as someone kills you, unless they're stepping over my corpse. You really are a fool. Ling Yuyan shook her head, but she had a sweet smile, one beautiful enough to topple all lives. Reactivate the altar and sacrifice the two of them to appease the corrupt god, barked Zai Wenchen. Zai Wenchen had made his choice. He didn't want Long Chen's secrets anymore, as appeasing the corrupt god was more important. If they offended their god, they would receive a terrifying punishment. The corrupt experts began to chant solemnly once more. The runes on the altar slowly lit up. Fuck, after courting death for a lifetime, I've finally succeeded. Long Chen took a deep breath. Do you regret it? Asked Ling Yuan. I've done many foolish things, but not one thing that I regret. Thank you. Ling Yuan suddenly reached out and hugged Long Chen, kissing him on the lips. You. Long Chen couldn't speak with Ling Yuan's mouth blocking his. Everyone's expressions changed, including Zai Wenchen's. Ling Yuan had clearly been bound by the corrupt god's altar. Just how was she free to move? Starting today, you are my man. Ling Yuan smiled and the paleness on her face vanished. In fact, she looked healthier than ever and didn't look injured at all. She extended a hand, and her bone sword appeared. She slashed it behind him. Boom! Divine light exploded. Ling Yuan had actually sliced apart the wooden pillar. The portion of the pillar she had sliced off was actually taken by her. Long Chen was staring at her in shock, not understanding. That pillar contained the faith energy of the corrupt path. Just how was it possible to break it with mortal power? The two were not on the same level. Everyone was stunned, not daring to believe their eyes. Suddenly, Zai Wenchen slammed his palm at Ling Yuyan, his expression grave. He seemed to have noticed something. Chapter 1960. Zai Wenchen attacked, his palm seeming to fill the sky. There was nowhere to run as it crashed down toward Ling Yuyan and Long Chen. Only noticing now is too late. In the end, you're a disciple of the corrupt god. Can you really resist the energy of the corrupt god? Ling Yuyan swung her sword. There was a glimmer to her sword that had not been present before. Zai Wenchen's palm image was sliced apart, and Ling Yuyan's sword chi continued, leaving a bottomless ditch in the ground that continued beyond the horizon. Anyone that had been there was killed, whether at the Life Star realm or the Nether Passage realm. Lang Yuan sliced the space behind her and pulled Long Chen inside it along with her. Looking back at Xuanhuan, she said, "Thank you for your help. As thanks, I won't kill you." Just like that, Lang Yuan and Long Chen vanished within the tier in space. Sect Master. The Nether Passage experts were pale and dumbfounded. Just what kind of existence was Lang Yuan? Xuanhuan's expression was ugly. Killing intent raged within him as his fury reached a peak. Lang Yuan was just a life-starved disciple, and he should be able to slay her easily. However, somehow she had absorbed a portion of the corrupt god's energy. That energy was what allowed them to call out to the corrupt god. The corrupt god sensed their calls through it and sent down traces of its divine energy as a bridge so that they could hear its voice. However, before they had finished the ceremony, it had been broken by Long Chen, and a portion of that energy had actually been absorbed by Lang Yuan. That pillar was where the corrupt path's faith energy was gathered. Even a divine item would be unable to cause any damage to it, but Lang Yuan had sliced through it easily. Xuanhuan wouldn't fear her normally, but he couldn't block the energy that belonged to the corrupt god. Because he was a follower of the corrupt god, how could he fight against his god? So Xuanhuan was filled with rage. All his world-shaking power was unable to be released. He could only watch as Lang Yuan brought Long Chen away. Looking at the part of the pillar that remained, he knew that this was a disgrace, an unprecedented humiliation. Suddenly, a rune lit up in the sky. That rune rapidly spun and divine energy descended. It's the corrupt god's directive. Xuanhuan let out a startled cry and hastily knelt on the ground. The other experts also knelt. This kind of thing had only occurred twice in all of the corrupt path's known history. This was the third time, and everyone was shaking with excitement. This was a communication with a god. A rune fell onto Xuanhuan's hand and his whole body shook. Following that, the divine energy faded. Shockingly, the pillar that Lang Yuan had broken had actually been restored. The sacred corrupt god's power is limitless. All the corrupt experts let out cries of emotion. Some of them were even crying. They were fanatics who had just seen their god. Only Xuanhuan was still stunned. There had only been a simple message in that directive: do not provoke that girl. Just what kind of existence was Lang Yuan? She had broken their sacred pillar and killed so many of their experts, but the corrupt god's directive was to actually not provoke her. Xuanhuan looked up at the sky for a long time without saying anything. The corrupt god wishes for all talented disciples on the level of Empyreans to gather at the great totem for the divine blessing. All the corrupt path's experts were delighted. They hastily returned to their own sects, alerting their disciples to come over. A portion of these experts also sent word to the other strongholds. This was a divine blessing, something that might not occur in tens of thousands of years. Xuanhuan had many questions, but he also relaxed slightly. At least, the corrupt god didn't punish them. After walking over to Luo, Xuanhuan pointed a finger at his son's head. He respectfully said, "Thank you for your care, corrupt god." Luo, who was on his last breaths, became wrapped in divine light. When Lang Yuan dragged Long Chen into a tier in space, Long Chen finally lost consciousness. During this time, he seemed to be able to hear Lang Yuan's soft voice and vaguely feel a pair of hands cleaning his body. After an unknown amount of time, Long Chen slowly opened his eyes. His body had fully recovered. Even the primal chaos space's world trees had revitalized. It had to be known that during the battle, the world trees had long since withered. "Evil Moon, how long was I sleeping?" asked Long Chen. Back then, Long Chen hadn't had the slightest bit of energy. Hence, Evil Moon and the Heaven Flipping Seal could only retreat to his spiritual space. "It's already been 3 months," said Evil Moon. "That long?" Long Chen was startled. "What do you think? Without such a long time, do you think you could have recovered? Your body was about to crumble back then," said Evil Moon irritably. "What's wrong with you?" "I'm fine, I've recovered, and I've also benefited. When the altar's formation was destroyed, I managed to absorb a bit of divine energy. I'll also have a trump card in the future," chortled Evil Moon. "Where is Lang Yuan?" Thinking of Lang Yuan, Long Chen felt a chill inside. He had no idea of that girl's terrifying origins. "No idea. She brought you here and looked after you for 2 days before leaving. She has never returned, so she might have really left." She had left. Long Chen felt a bit of disappointment. He had risked his life to save her, and she had left just like that. "Are you awake?" Suddenly, a tender figure appeared in front of Long Chen. There was a warmth in Lang Yuan's eyes now, as well as a rare smile. Yup, I'm also fully recovered. Long Chen smiled, so Lang Yuan hadn't left. Lang Yuan was like a steep mountain that made people look up to it with reverence and despair. This mountain only looked down on others coldly. However, there were emotions between Long Chen and Lang Yuan. Deep within Long Chen's heart, he felt a strong sense of accomplishment. This was the illness of men. The stronger the woman, the more accomplished the man felt upon conquering her. Although Long Chen wouldn't say that he had conquered Lang Yuan, at least everyone in this world saw that she had feelings for him. The two of them simply looked at each other. Lang Yuan smiled and bent down. Their faces were less than an inch away. Everything about Lang Yuan was perfect, a perfection that shouldn't exist in this world. Long Chen's heartbeat quickened. Lang Yuan was like a poisonous rose that had a fatal charm to men. Just as Long Chen was expecting a tender kiss, Lang Yuan paused. She smiled. Since you've recovered, then let's properly settle our debts. Long Chen felt a sharp pain from his thigh. At some point, Lang Yuan had stabbed her bone sword into his leg. His defenses were useless. Are you mental? Raged Long Chen. This crazy woman's head was definitely not normal. She actually repaid kindness with enmity. Long Chen pushed his hands forward, wanting to push on Lang Yuan's chest, but she slipped away like a phantom. Hee, why so angry? Laughed Lang Yuan. She was delighted like a little devil. Is your head sick? If you have some illness, tell me. I have plenty of medicine. If you eat enough, I guarantee it can cure you, raged Long Chen. This girl went hostile faster than the flipping of a page. I'm not sick, you're the one with a brain illness. It was clearly a death trap, but you still went. Don't you agree that you must have a brain illness? Lang Yuan chortled. Fine, I admit I have an illness. Long Chen couldn't help sighing. This was actually something that you set up, but I actually risked my life charging in. Long Chen felt himself to be very laughable. Chapter 1961. After waking up, when Long Chen thought about what happened, he was sure that the whole sacrifice plot had been designed by Lang Yuan. Her goal had been that pillar, and cutting that pillar required the energy of the corrupt god. However, the energy of the corrupt god would only descend during the sacrificial ceremony. Although he didn't know Lang Yuan's whole plan, Long Chen knew that Lang Yuan had possessed some methods to interrupt the ceremony and absorb the energy on her own. She had been fully prepared, and he had just barged his way in, throwing his life away. When he looked back at it, he felt it to be a cold joke. But I like your foolishness. Lang Yuan hugged Long Chen from behind, resting her face against his back. I really do like you, and I know you like me. It's nice that someone in this world is willing to face life and death with me. Do you know? You really helped me out this time. You saved me a trump card, and this trump card will decide whether or not I can survive my next tribulation. Really? Lang Yuan walked out from behind him, facing him and wrapping her arms around his neck. Of course it's true. Upon facing Lang Yuan, Long Chen's heartbeat quickened. Taking a deep breath, he tried to calm himself down. But when he saw her perfect face, as well as a certain gorge too deep to see the bottom, he couldn't stop his heart from pounding. Am I beautiful? Teased Lang Yuan. Very beautiful. Long Chen instinctively spat this out. Lang Yuan suddenly blushed. That was a rare sight. You're a scoundrel, you know. I was always looking for a reliable mountain in this world that could change my fate. I went through many people with great potential. I always started hunting them down, making them quicken their cultivation speed so they could survive. But none of them could ever keep up with my footsteps. They all died to my sword, proving that they weren't my prince. When I encountered you, I had a feeling that you would be the only one capable of saving me. I started to hunt you down, but you are an absolute fool. You actually started cultivating with a group of people. Just how much were you slowed down dragging them up with you? I told you that you were slowing yourself down, but you refused to listen. I don't know when it started, but I started to look after you more and more, and eventually I found I could no longer view you as just my savior. Then in the spirit world I attacked you, trying to kill you, and you actually had mercy on me. Tell me, don't you think you're a fool? Lang Yuan began to cry, but she continued, You foolish scoundrel, you made me love you. How could I continue to use you? I released you, even preparing to repay you for your 2 favors to sever our ties with each other. But, just as I made my determination to face my fate alone, you appeared again. What are you trying to do to me? You're a scoundrel. If you need help, just tell me. Wouldn't it be nice to face it together? Long Chen gently wiped away her tears. He knew that Lang Yuan's origins were mysterious. Whatever she was facing, it was definitely beyond his imagination, but he was willing to share her burden. Lang Yuan shook her head. You have too many burdens already affecting your cultivation. You can't help me. Let's not talk about such a heavy topic. In any case, I've pretty much finished my preparations. Once it comes, I'll have a battle to the death with it. What is it? You don't need to ask. I've already made my arrangements. With the evil dragon essence soul and the totem of faith energy, I'm 80% confident in suppressing it, said Leng Yuan. Seeing that Leng Yuan refused to say, Long Chen could only drop it. He understood her character. It was very difficult to change the things that she had decided on. Long Chen, would you like me to dance for you? Leng Yuan suddenly looked at Long Chen with a faint blush. A dance? That'd be great, Long Chen clapped. It was hard for him to imagine that the cold-blooded and merciless devil empress would actually dance for someone. Leng Yuan smiled and really began to lightly dance. Long Chen felt his heart rising up his throat. Leng Yuan's body was perfect in every way. Just standing there, she was beautiful enough to make a person forget how to breathe. As she danced, Long Chen felt dazzled. He felt like he was no longer in control of his body. As Leng Yuan danced, she began to undo her robes. Her arms revealed themselves and then her feet. Next, a belt came undone and a thin lower garment. Her long legs revealed themselves, possessing great charm. This was a dance that could take a person's life. Although there was no music, just the sight of her was enough to make a person's heart burst. This is the corrupt path, heavenly devil dance. A woman will only dance it when she marries the man she loves. I was taught it when I was very young, but anyone who has seen me dance, whether man or woman, has already been killed by me. Leng Yuan walked gracefully over to Long Chen. With a flick of her finger, her last piece of cloth also fell. In that instant, Long Chen's heart stopped beating. A beautiful scene was laid bare to him. Although he had bathed with Meng Qi once, he still felt lightheaded seeing Leng Yuan like this. She didn't have the slightest bashfulness. All of her was laid bare to Long Chen, front and back. She was like the goddess of beauty, yet also like a demoness who could take people's lives with just her charm. Long Chen gulped. He suspected that he was in a dream. In this dream, he didn't even dare to move as he was afraid of waking up. Leng Yuan walked even closer to Long Chen, her arms wrapped around his neck. Her eyes were like gemstones staring into his eyes. Long Chen's hot blood was surging, and he was no longer able to hold back. He grabbed her tender waist, and that feeling made his head buzz. He went to kiss her lips. Boom! However, he had just moved when he felt a sharp pain on his shoulders. Leng Yuan's hands had slammed into him, sending him flying back into the stone wall behind him. They were currently in a cave. It was unknown what energy was supporting the walls, but Long Chen was racked with pain upon smashing into the wall, while it wasn't damaged in the slightest. What are you doing? Raged Long Chen. Why did this girl go hostile so fast? You are my man, but I didn't say that I am your woman. Have you forgot? In this world, no one can subdue me. Leng Yuan, am the one who subdues others. Leng Yuan appeared devilishly beautiful, her eyes twinkling and her hair flowing gently. Fuck, is there even such a thing as who submits to who in this kind of matter? Demanded Long Chen angrily. Of course, I'm taking the initiative, so I'm subduing you. Leng Yuan suddenly appeared in front of Long Chen, her hand reaching for Long Chen's chest. Long Chen instinctively tried to dodge, but he was one step too slow. Long Chen's robes were torn apart by Leng Yuan. At the same time, 5 spots of blood appeared on Long Chen's chest. Fuck, let's see who subdues who. Long Chen was angry now. He smashed a fist at Leng Yuan. Leng Yuan hadn't used her heavenly Tao energy, while he didn't summon his divine ring or battle armor. Leng Yuan's hand nimbly pushed aside Long Chen's fist. Not only did she manage to do that, but her hand also tore off his sleeve. Long Chen repeatedly punched, but Leng Yuan's hand arts were too bizarre. Her hands were like spirits, and Long Chen was quickly down to just his underwear. Long Chen was finally starting to panic. Evil Moon, come out and help. Can you have some face? She's not using a weapon. Evil Moon merely gave him one lazy reply before going silent, not answering his summons. Finally, Leng Yuan grabbed him by the arm and slammed him into the wall. His last comrade, his underwear, died in battle, fully exposing him. Give up, you'll become my man with great dignity, said Leng Yuan, looking at him like an empress. I'm unwilling to hit you or injure you, but don't force me, shouted Long Chen as he covered himself. Give it up, I have a barrier set up here. Your speed, your power, your senses, they're all suppressed. You can't beat me, so be obedient. I'll be very gentle. Leng Yuan smiled bewitchingly. No wonder Long Chen had felt Leng Yuan to be so powerful all of a sudden. It wasn't that she had become stronger, but rather he had become weaker. Lang Yuan suddenly pounced. Other than that bath with Meng Qi, Long Chen had never been naked in front of anyone since his childhood. He had no way to fight. In just several moves, he was pressed down to the ground by Lang Yuan. "I won't let you have it as you please," Long Chen shouted. As a man, even if he was facing a woman he loved, he wouldn't accept such a method. Long Chen focused himself, suppressing the flames of desire within him. Lang Yuan smiled faintly. She pressed a hand against Long Chen's chest, and his expression instantly changed. The flames of desire he had just suppressed instantly erupted, even fiercer than before. "Long Chen, you're fated to be my man. Resistance is useless." Lang Yuan slowly descended. "Hey, wait, I know a much better way we can do this." "Aya, that hurts." "What the hell?" A sharp burst of pain interrupted Long Chen. It was different from that ecstatic feeling mentioned in legends. "This is the only way to make things fair. If I hurt, you hurt. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called subduing." Lang Yuan's voice was still calm, but it was shuddering as she also became lost in the feeling. Very quickly, the sound of deep breaths and a voice like immortal music began to ring out like the sound of birds and bees. However, for Long Chen, there were more pained groans and angry howls. After an unknown period, Long Chen felt exhausted to death and lost consciousness. He felt like his bones were about to collapse. When he woke up again, he not only felt a fiery pain down below, but there were also quite a few bloodstains. As for Lang Yuan, she had vanished. He couldn't help grinding his teeth. Fuck, she definitely did that on purpose. It hurt. How had that been the legendary coupling between men and women? It had been more like torture. Lang Yuan had tormented him for 6 hours, and Long Chen had been unable to beat her or resist. "That woman's a crazy monster. How did I end up so unlucky?" Long Chen hatefully spat on the ground. Instead of properly enjoying it, she had tormented him. Her head definitely wasn't normal. There was no way to reason with such a person. The only way to talk reason with her was to suppress her and return all the things she had tormented him back to her. "Was it everything you dreamed of?" Evil Moon's wicked laughter rang out. "Fuck off." Long Chen was angered. This bastard actually came out at such a time to throw stones at him. Cursing someone is a display of powerlessness and a show of no upbringing. "Long Chen, you've fallen," said Evil Moon, intentionally putting on a regretful tone. Long Chen ignored it and looked around the cave. It was a round cave only a few hundred meters wide. There was only one small exit. He thought about it for a short moment before he started to get to work. He began to dig and bury several long chains into the ground. "What, are you laying a trap?" exclaimed Evil Moon with surprise. "Shut up." Long Chen found it difficult to dig into this ground. It was like the ground was a divine item, and even a divine item barely left any marks on the ground. This was the result of Lang Yuan's formation. Long Chen took out the fragment of the eastern wasteland bell and cut through the ground like tofu with it, feeling delighted. After that, he began to bury his chains, working for several hours before finishing. Fortunately, during this time, Lang Yuan never appeared. "Actually, since Lang Yuan is gone, can't you just leave? Is it interesting to waste your time like this?" "Not getting vengeance isn't the style of a man," said Long Chen angrily. "Wasn't it just a question of who took the passive position? What's the big deal about it? Let me tell you that Lang Yuan's origins are very frightening." "Shut up. If you wanted to help me, you should have helped back then. Since you don't want to help, I'll handle it myself," snorted Long Chen. That had been his legendary first time which had been stolen away. Worst of all, Lang Yuan hadn't cherished it at all. Although it had also been her first time, how was it fair that if she hurt, he should also hurt? Lang Yuan's desire to conquer others was very strong. However, it was also strong in Long Chen. This enmity had to be avenged. As a result, Long Chen waited for 3 days. Finally, on the 3rd day, Lang Yuan returned. However, today, she was not wearing the normal red robes she wore but an imperial dress. Her hair was tied up in a high bun instead of falling naturally. Today, Lang Yuan appeared even more majestic, more noble, and more aloof than usual. Lang Yuan was startled upon seeing Long Chen. Before she could speak, Long Chen pulled on a chain in his hand. Lang Yuan was instantly bound by the chains he had arranged. Meanwhile, Long Chen immediately pounced, knocking her down. "Today, if I don't make you grab the railings and bite the sheets, I won't be called Long Chen," he roared. He tore at her clothes. "Don't think changing clothes is enough for me to forget that enmity." Chapter 1962. Long Chen pulled but actually didn't manage to tear her clothes. That surprised him. Even armor made out of divine items wasn't able to block him like this. Long Chen couldn't help being further enraged. All right, so you actually prepared some moves as well. You dare to blaspheme me, die. Leng Yuyan's beautiful face turned ice cold. Suddenly, a divine mark lit up on her forehead, and her divine power erupted like a volcano. As light bloomed from her robes, Long Chen felt an immense force try to blow him back. The chains binding Leng Yuyan blew apart, and Long Chen coughed up a mouthful of blood. Fuck, what about when you blasphemed me? Victory or defeat would be decided here. If he couldn't win here, he would lose any further chance. With a roar, he wrapped his legs around her waist and locked his arms around her neck, refusing to let go. Light erupted from every part of Leng Yuyan, and a terrifying light in particular came from her eyes. An invisible aura unfurled. However, just as Leng Yuyan was about to unleash her divine power, the cave shook intensely. Runes appeared along the walls, and a dragon roar could be heard. The might of an evil dragon and the energy of the corrupt god. Leng Yuan's expression changed slightly. The entire cave shook as countless runes appeared, suppressing her power. As for Long Chen, he was holding onto her tightly. The two of them rolled on the ground. Suddenly, Leng Yuyan opened her mouth, and a ray of light shot out. In that instant, all of Long Chen's hair stood on end. A sensation of death enveloped him. He instinctively turned his head. That ray of light shot right past his head, cutting through the cave and piercing the clouds. The entire world shook. Fuck, you want to kill me, raged Long Chen. Seeing Leng Yuyan open her mouth again, he clamped a hand over her mouth. His divine ring materialized, his 5-star battle armor activated, and even dragon scales appeared on his body. Boom! The world shook. Long Chen was truly angry now. Last time he hadn't even used any big moves, but now Leng Yuyan wanted to kill him. Those who blaspheme me spend an eternity in purgatory. They are skinned, their souls burned, never reincarnating. Leng Yuan's eyes blazed with light and some faint runes appeared. She began to chant something. Long Chen suddenly felt his body weaken as though his life energy faded away. It was some kind of power that surpassed the heavenly Taos, like an irresistible curse. Long Chen felt like he had dropped into an iceberg. It's death energy. Evil Moon suddenly let out a shout, actually flying out of Long Chen's spiritual space to attack Leng Yuan's head. Boom! Evil Moon and Long Chen were both sent flying. Leng Yuan's gaze was icy. Killing intent surged within her, and she suddenly appeared in front of Long Chen, grabbing his neck. The end of life, the peak of death, using my name as Nether God, I cast you to the purgatory. Suffer the 8 torments. Long Chen felt himself grow weaker and weaker. It was like Leng Yuan was a god of death, stripping him of his life. Scram! Suddenly, a burst of energy came from the primal chaos space as though it had been provoked. A burst of energy erupted out of Long Chen. Leng Yuan's expression changed, and she was sent flying by that burst of energy. She crashed into the wall, causing the cave to shake. Long Chen pounced on her once more. It was unknown where he got the energy, but this time when he grabbed her dress, he managed to tear it off, revealing her body. Once her dress was torn, it actually transformed into runes that dissipated into the air. Her clothes had actually been condensed of some law. Long Chen grabbed the stunned Leng Yuyan and threw her to the ground. She tried to resist, but she suddenly found that there was some terrifying divine power coming from Long Chen that suppressed her. If you dare to blaspheme me. Fuck your blaspheme, didn't you say that you're the only one allowed to subdue others? Today, I'll be the one subduing you, Long Chen roared. Leng Yuyan struggled intensely. Divine runes appeared in her eyes, but they would always crumble as soon as they appeared. You will regret this, shouted Leng Yuyan. I've never done anything that I regret. Long Chen ignored her threats. He would return all the pain that she had given him. After 2 hours, Long Chen was still working hard when he suddenly sensed someone else walk in. That person was the red-robed Leng Yuyan. Leng Yuyan held her bone sword in her right hand and an ancient formation disc in her left. There was a small pillar on the formation disc. It was actually the pillar that she had cut off from the corrupt god's altar, but much smaller. When she walked in, she gasped. The formation disc fell from her hand, and she covered her mouth, filled with disbelief. Long Chen also became dumbfounded. He glanced from the shocked Leng Yuyan to the other Leng Yuyan who looked like she wanted to kill him. Long Chen hastily jumped away, rapidly putting on his clothes. He looked at the Leng Yuyan that had just walked in. Is she your twin or something? Long Chen's voice shuddered and he felt a chill. It seemed he had just done something terrible. If it really was her sister, would Leng Yuan immediately kill him? However, the two of them were truly alike. Even each of their eyebrows was identical. The other Leng Yuan was filled with furious killing intent. She waved her hand, and runes condensed into her original dress. About that, my sincerest apologies. Long Chen awkwardly apologized to the Leng Yuan in the imperial dress. Shut up, you, a mortal, dared to blaspheme me. I will make sure you suffer eternally within purgatory, shouted that Leng Yuan. Suddenly, Leng Yuan began to laugh delightedly. She was laughing so hard that she was shaking. Long Chen retreated slightly, holding Evil Moon and secretly storing up energy. Leng Yuan was someone who could become hostile at the drop of a hat. He had to defend against her suddenly attacking him. Even now, he didn't know what was going on. You betrayed me. The Leng Yuan in the dress coldly looked at the other Leng Yuan. No, I did betray you. You are the one who wants to destroy me. I'm just resisting. My birth, my life was all planned by you. Ever since the death of my sister Nyanru, I knew that my parents, my sister, they were all part of the fate that you arranged. You want me to hate this world, but to tell the truth, the only thing I hate is you. You used the death of my sister Nyanru to awaken my killing intent, and then made me brush against death several times. But it was always you. Although I don't know why you did this, you failed. I am not your chess piece, I am not your tool, I am someone with blood, flesh, and soul. I have someone I love, however, your luck is very good. My man actually used you. How does it taste? Leng Yuan smiled like a little devil. Shut up, the other Leng Yuan glared at her, her whole body shuddering with killing intent. I forgot, my man was just broken in and doesn't have much experience. It seems he didn't do a good job. How about you let him gain some more experience before coming to find you again? Laughed Leng Yuan. The other Leng Yuan suddenly smashed her palm forward, while Leng Yuan slashed her bone sword out. The sharp bone sword cleanly sliced through her palm. Blood slowly dripped down. However, when the blood dripped into the ground, it transformed into divine runes, which then merged back into heaven and earth. A faint divine pressure caused space to rumble. This is the blood of a god. Long Chen's expression suddenly changed. Legend was that the blood of gods could not exist in this mortal world. I remember now, Long Chen suddenly recalled that when he had undergone his tribulation in the Xuanhuan Dao Sect's Devil Abyss, he had once seen someone who looked identical to Leng Yuan. You shut up. That Leng Yuan glared at Long Chen with immense hatred. She didn't even want to hear his voice. Long Chen, look at how angry this big sister is. Shouldn't you apologize to her? Leng Yuan looked at Long Chen and smiled warmly. Big sister, I'm truly sorry. I mistook you for someone else. I know that a simple apology cannot appease your anger, so how about this? You can subdue me once just like she did, and I promise not to resist. Long Chen raised a hand as he swore. Fuck off. The Leng Yuan wearing a dress looked like flames were about to erupt from her eyes. Long Chen could only shrug, not daring to say anything. Today had been too strange, and he still didn't know who this other Leng Yuan was, or what her connection was to the Leng Yuan that he knew. Chapter 1963. That's where you're wrong. Long Chen is my man, so he's your man too. Why shout and quarrel with your own people? If you think about it, Long Chen is my man, but then you became his woman. I should be the one angry, said Leng Yuan with a faint smile. Leng Yuan, so you know that you were me and I was you. Then why did you harm me like this? He's a mortal. Do you realize this affects my divine root? Raged the other Leng Yuan. Why would I harm you? Do you not know? Didn't you precisely come here in order to kill me? I'm no longer under your control. Is it painful being hurt by me? When you killed my father, my mother, and my sister Nyanru, did you think about my pain? Leng Yuan sneered. There is a certain phrase on the martial heaven continent. Man proposes, God disposes. But even gods aren't omnipotent. How is it? Having your own bone slice your hand, does it hurt? The other Leng Yuan's hand was still pressed against the bone sword. The bone sword had actually connected with her palm. They had temporarily merged, and she couldn't pull back. I laid down this trap with the evil dragon essence soul and a totem with the corrupt god's faith energy. I thought that you would just send one of your clones, but you actually sent your true body. No wonder none of the alarm systems I set up managed to sense you. But due to that, you actually ended up falling into my man's hands. How interesting. Your divine mark has also been damaged. It seems my man is quite good. Leng Yuan smiled upon seeing the divine rune. On the other, Leng Yuan's forehead had dimmed. I didn't come to kill you. Leng Yuan shook her head. Even if you didn't come to kill me, you came to arrange me as a chess piece, but I'm not going to be your chess piece. You are me, I am you. There are no chess pieces between us. I am just a strand of your divine will. I am the clone, while you're the true body. You wouldn't create me for no reason, and you wouldn't come here for no reason. I am just a chess piece for you to achieve your goals. Then what do you want? What do you think? I want to take the dominating position. I'll succeed the position of the true body. You want to refine me? The other Leng Yuan laughed furiously. My original plan was to kill your clone and devour it to strengthen myself. I thought that was pretty brazen already, but I didn't think that there would be someone even more brazen than me. So I'm thinking of going a bit crazy as well. Do we really need to fight to this extent? I don't want to destroy you. This is fate. Leng Yuyan's bone sword suddenly lit up. The hand it was piercing began to turn to stone. The stone crept up her arm. The other Leng Yuyan suddenly tore off her right arm. However, this time there was no blood. Her arm instantly regrew. She slammed her two palms together and black chi surged out. Her dress instantly became black and she became a manifestation of death. With a wave of her hand, a black bridge appeared. A divine pressure came from that bridge. Boom! Leng Yuyan's sword shattered the bridge. She smiled. I'm familiar with your abilities. This place is the martial heaven continent, not your world. You would probably have had to split yourself into at least 10 million clones before your true body could sneak through the barrier of this world. Now your divine root has been damaged, and your power has sharply dropped. As for me, I have the evil dragon essence soul and the corrupt god's energy. You're the one who will be defeated today. Leng Yuyan's bone sword sliced through the air. However, the other Leng Yuyan also took out a bone sword. The two began an intense battle. When their two bone swords clashed, a wave of sword chi shot out. Long Chen hastily dodged. That sword chi cut the cave in two. The cave exploded, and Long Chen saw that they were in a barren wasteland. Up in the sky, a black dragon image appeared. Behind it was a giant totem from which divine light sprinkled down. Fuck, that's my essence soul, roared Evil Moon. However, that essence soul was no longer truly there. Leng Yuyan had used some method to transform it into a part of some grand formation. The dragon essence soul combined with the energy of the totem, creating a giant domain. HMPH, these two energies can't last for long. Once they're exhausted, you'll lose. They'll be enough to handle you. Leng Yuyan's manifestation suddenly surged, and a figure identical to her appeared, a bone sword in its hand. Leng Yuyan's attack power soared. She was so powerful that she forced back the other Leng Yuyan repeatedly. The void rumbled. Tribulation clouds condensed in the sky, and the Leng Yuyan wearing a black dress suddenly looked up with fear. It seems luck is standing on my side. Your aura has been sensed by the heavenly Taos. This is a godless world. You have broken that order and will definitely die. Heavenly might descended from the sky. The divine rune on the other Leng Yuyan's forehead lit up once more. A ray of light soared out of her sword. The world changed color. The laws of the world crumbled before it. Long Chen was in the distance, but he felt like he was going to be sliced apart. Are you going all out now? Leng Yuyan suddenly gripped her sword with both hands. The dragon and totem images behind her suddenly exploded, and all their energy was absorbed by her. Boom! Long Chen was blown into the distance by the shockwaves of this attack. He almost coughed up blood. As for the two Leng Yuyans, they were both knocked back, coughing up blood. Their auras were sharply dropping. Long Chen, stop her, shouted Leng Yuyan suddenly. Almost instinctively, Long Chen slashed Evil Moon at the other Leng Yuyan. Boom! That Leng Yuyan coughed up blood. The previous exchange had heavily injured her. Her divine mark had vanished. She was on her last legs. Long Chen pressed his saber against her neck. She didn't say anything. She just coldly stared at him. Long Chen, kill her, shouted Leng Yuyan. Long Chen looked at the other Leng Yuyan. He knew that he should kill her, but he wasn't able to make himself do that. The sky rumbled. The heavenly punishment would fall at any moment. Even if he didn't kill her, she would die to that law. In the end, Long Chen sighed and pulled back Evil Moon. Go. That Leng Yuyan was surprised, but she coldly snorted, I won't feel any gratitude to you for this. You blasphemed me. I will still make you suffer an eternal hell in purgatory. Up to you, Long Chen shook his head. That Leng Yuyan stepped back and sliced the air with her bone sword. The void was torn apart. She glanced back at Long Chen before stepping into that crack, vanishing. Once she was gone, the heavenly might that was gathering in the sky faded, having lost its target. This heavenly might was something that even Long Chen didn't dare to provoke. It was heavenly punishment designed for gods. Bastard, why did you release her? Lang Yuan walked over furious. She was pale and tottering, looking like she might collapse. Long Chen reached out to support her, but she pushed him aside. Clearly, she was truly angry. Long Chen couldn't say anything. Finally, Lang Yuan sighed, "Sorry, I shouldn't get angry with you." Lang Yuan was actually apologizing. That greatly surprised him. Lang Yuan shook her head. "I was too greedy. I thought that she would just send a clone, but she sent her true body. Now her true body is heavily injured. That's a huge chance for me. I shouldn't be greedy. Long Chen, I know you're a good person. Your character will never change, although you're sometimes an idiot, but I like this foolishness of yours." Lang Yuan caressed Long Chen's cheek. "Fine, since you didn't kill her, I'll have to do it. Otherwise, she'll come after me once she's healed, and I won't be able to stop her. Goodbye, my man. If I manage to survive, I promise that next time I'll let you subdue me." A rare, gentle expression appeared on Lang Yuan's face. She wrapped her arms around Long Chen's neck and gave him a kiss on the face. She then sliced her bone sword through the air, stepping into the void and vanishing. Chapter 1964. 1964. The two Lang Yuans had vanished, and Long Chen looked at the swirling sand and dust around him, feeling like he was dreaming. She left just like that. This was Long Chen's first time feeling like this. He felt lost and empty. "Long Chen, I might not have admired anyone else in my lifetime, but you I admire. You even managed to get involved with a god. Amazing," praised Evil Moon. "Did you know it from the start?" raged Long Chen. "Cough, to tell the truth, I only had some suspicions. I was never able to confirm anything. But there was nothing I could do. Some things can't be randomly spoken about, or the one bearing this karma would be you," said Evil Moon hastily. Long Chen snorted, not believing that excuse. He felt that Evil Moon was becoming more of a conner as time passed. Although it followed him through life and death, sometimes it was just a huge conman. Long Chen looked up at the sky, and then at his own hands. "What are you pondering over that feeling?" snickered Evil Moon. "Scram." After saying that, Long Chen also laughed. However, that laughter was a bit bitter as he felt something that was hard to describe. This experience was beyond belief. Thereafter, Long Chen began flying through the air and found that he was in the northwestern part of the central Xuanhuan region. In that battle in the heavenly evil cave, he had used up all his power. He had to admit that his true combat power had been surpassed by Zai Luo. The Life Star realm was a huge barrier in front of him. He had even used up everything and hadn't managed to kill Zai Luo. Although he was able to fight across realms and even slay Nether Passage experts, those Nether Passage experts were just rank 9 Celestials. Empyreans had only appeared in their generation, so even though he was able to kill Nether Passage experts, he couldn't slay a Life Star Empyrean on this level. That was the difference between realms. He had to quickly catch up. Furthermore, through this fight, his realm had stabilized once more. He possessed the qualifications to attack the Life Star realm. He hopped into a flying boat, going toward the eastern Xuan region. He spent several days flying, using that time to prepare to attack the Life Star realm. When he once more descended upon the eastern Xuan city, he caused chaos. Last time he had killed his way out, but now he had come again. He was actually ignoring the threat that Pill Valley and the others posed him. This was arrogance, this was domineering. Long Chen directly walked into the Huiyuan pavilion. On the way, he had already sent a message to the Huiyuan sect that he wanted to talk with Zhang Wenlong. "Brother Long, you grow more amazing with each passing day. You even dared to charge into the heavenly evil cave. I really don't know what to say," said Zhang Wenlong. Long Chen was startled. The battle inside the heavenly evil cave was definitely not public information. It was suppressed by the corrupt path, but despite Zai Wenchen's information lockdown, Zhang Wenlong still knew of it. Amazing. Long Chen praised Zhang Wenlong. He knew that the corrupt path definitely had people that the Huiyuan sect had bribed. For the Huiyuan sect to be able to do such a thing in a place where only the most fervent of the corrupt path's followers were allowed, perhaps only Pill Valley possessed the same ability. "How is the continent state currently?" asked Long Chen. "It's still the same, and they're using the same moves. However, there have been several large battles with the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race. They have taken some heavy losses. With Heavenly Fate Island's help, 7 of their strongholds have been destroyed by the Xuan beasts." Long Chen's teacup shattered. "Good, very good." Long Chen's voice was filled with icy killing intent. Unable to target him, they actually turned toward others. "Brother Wenlong, help me release news that 3 days from now I, Long Chen, will be paying a visit to Heavenly Fate Island. Have them wash their necks for me. Other than that, welcome the other major powers to come watch. Tell them not to miss this chance because in 3 days, Heavenly Fate Island will no longer exist. Long Chen smiled, but that smile was chilling. Zhang Wenlong gulped. He could guess what Long Chen was about to do. A shocking piece of news quickly resounded throughout the martial heaven continent. What? Long Chen is challenging Heavenly Fate Island by himself. Is he mad? If it was the Huyan sect spreading this news, I'd really think it was just a wild rumor. Just what is he thinking, challenging the entire world by himself? Perhaps he found some powerful backer, and he couldn't wait for revenge. Long Chen's challenge toward Heavenly Fate Island shook the continent. Just what kind of figure was Long Chen? He was a figure of miracles. He was the creator of the #1 Legion, a legend with countless worshippers amongst the junior generation, a figure that was imitated but never surpassed. The most widespread saying was that Long Chen never said any empty words, and after investigating his history, this saying had been confirmed. As long as he dared to say it, he would dare to do it. If these words were coming from someone else, they would assume it was just an attempt at intimidation or mental warfare. But for Long Chen to say it shook countless sects. Long Chen's finally angry. He's going to strike back as he would rather break than bend. There's going to be an unprecedented bloody battle soon. Many people guessed that Long Chen had already advanced to the Life Star realm. It had been 3 months since he had vanished. For him to suddenly come back, he would definitely bring the Dragonblood Legion with him. The Dragonblood Legion was filled with monsters who fought across realms as easy as eating. They were equivalent to over 10,000 Nether Passage experts. Just how terrifying was that? However, some people also scoffed at this challenge. Did Long Chen think that all geniuses in this world were in the Dragonblood Legion? What about the countless experts and geniuses of the sects? True immortal Jiaoqi, Zai Luo, Daifeng, they were peak heavenly geniuses. They represented the greatest force of their respective powers. Moreover, the various powers had only sent a portion of their powers into the yin-yang world. They had all held a few geniuses back. The foundations of the major powers of the continent were too great to estimate. Many people thought that Long Chen was simply courting death. If he went a Heavenly Fate Island, then, even without the Nether Passage experts interfering, just the monsters of the junior generation would be able to trample the Dragonblood Legion. After all, the strongest person in the Dragonblood Legion was just Long Chen. If an expert on true immortal Jiaoqi's level charged into the Dragonblood Legion, they wouldn't be able to stop him. In any case, Long Chen's challenge had shaken the continent. The attention of the entire continent concentrated on Heavenly Fate Island. Heavenly Fate Island quickly responded to this news. The general meaning was that Long Chen had finally revealed his cowardly head, and that if he had continued to hide, the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race would have been destroyed because of him. Long Chen's supporters were enraged at that reply. Heavenly Fate Island was absolutely shameless. It was clearly a conflict between the Xuanhuan beasts and the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race, but they had interfered and then blamed Long Chen. At the same time, Heavenly Fate Island released word that anyone from any power could come to Heavenly Fate Island to watch how they would uphold justice for the continent and remove a scourge from this world. Hopefully, the justice warriors of the world wouldn't miss this chance to make their name known. Heavenly Fate Island wasn't just openly allowing people to help, but they were encouraging the prideful geniuses to come and target Long Chen. This was their chance to defeat the strongest junior generation expert of the continent. They would only have this one chance. If they missed it, they would never have another chance. Long Chen's name had eclipsed the other geniuses of the continent. This should have been an era where many heavenly geniuses competed with each other, but after true immortal Jiaoqi, Hu Lian, and Zai Luo had joined hands and still failed to defeat Long Chen, they had solidified his position as the #1 expert. Although Leng Yuan had appeared in the end and interrupted their attacks, it didn't change the fact that Long Chen hadn't been defeated by them. Ever since Long Chen had been expelled by the Martial Heaven Alliance, the entire continent had grown uneasy. However, this news caused countless experts that had been hiding in their sects to fly toward Heavenly Fate Island. They were going to bear witness to this fight. Heavenly Fate Island was a mysterious existence. It wasn't an island surrounded by water but a floating island. It was a gigantic island measured in millions of miles. It floated in the central Xuanhuan region's southern domain. It was one of the continent's 4 great wonders. No one knew how it floated there. Most of the time, Heavenly Fate Island's experts stayed in seclusion and rarely interacted with the rest of the world. But during the next 3 days, they were extremely lively, with experts arriving with each passing day. Heavenly Fate Island's disciples greeted the newcomers. They were extremely courteous to those that came from Pill Valley, the ancient races, the corrupt path, the Xuanhuan beasts, the ancient family alliance, and those allied powers. But to the other experts, they turned up their noses. They had clearly received orders and were doing that on purpose. Long Chen today, I, true immortal Jioki, will personally cut off your head. The void rumbled, and a giant war chariot pulled by a 9-color celestial horse arrived. Chapter 1965. True immortal Jioki arrived, appearing as overbearing as ever. However, when he walked off his war chariot, everyone couldn't help being stunned. The 5th heaven stage of Life Star, how did he advance so quickly? Just 3 months ago, when true immortal Jioki had fought Hu Feng, he had just broken through to the 2nd heaven stage of Life Star. But now he was at the 5th heaven stage. The rumors say that he refined his race's only drop of Kilin essence blood. Perhaps the growth of his cultivation base is related to that. Then doesn't that mean that the Killendrake race has bet their entire future on him? Probably. Not only that, I heard true immortal Jioki managed to fully awaken his manifestation. There's no way to estimate his power any longer. Countless figures on Heavenly Fate Island were staring up in shock at true immortal Jioki. The people permitted to come here were either geniuses or people on the level of sect masters. They were all at the Life Star realm, with even Nether Passage experts amongst the seniors. These seniors couldn't help feeling that they were past their prime. They had once been figures that had led their generation. When they were young, they were the ones creating waves on the continent. But now, they saw their disciples advance to the Life Star realm at such a young age. They had no choice but to admit that this era was not their playing field. They had been reduced to spectators. Monsters like true immortal Jioki in particular were so powerful that they made them feel despair. Even the old monsters that had been living for countless years had to retreat in front of him. The change in eras meant that they had to accept their age. True immortal Jioki was extremely arrogant, and he directly entered Heavenly Fate Island with his Kilin war chariot. He had only just arrived when another group of people came. They weren't as overbearing as true immortal Jioki, but they also raised waves. It's Zai Luo. The Righteous Path's experts retreated with fear. The leader of this group was Zai Luo, and there was a skeletal mark on his forehead. Where the skeleton's eyes were supposed to be, there were 2 flickering ghost flames. Just looking at them caused sharp pain in people's souls. They suddenly realized that their Yuan spirits had been injured just by looking at them. Besides Zai Luo were the other peak geniuses of the corrupt path. Of the 3 corrupt kings, Gui Yan was present, and while Ming Jai had been killed, he was now replaced by a short man who looked like a child. That one's Yan Wei. Supposedly, he was rivals with Ming Jai, and while they were mostly evenly matched, Ming Jai had a more powerful background, so his status was greater than Yan Wei. Quite a few righteous experts gathered in front of Heavenly Fate Island. Heavenly Fate Island had done this on purpose, saying that they were busy arranging things inside and having the righteous experts wait outside. However, the experts from the other factions were allowed to enter. When people questioned them over this, their reply was that they hadn't expected so many people from the righteous path to come. There were only so many seats, and they were currently expanding things. However, no one believed this excuse. Heavenly Fate Island was clearly intent on giving them a show of power. Zai Luo didn't say a word and walked into Heavenly Fate Island. He was much more low-key than true immortal Jioki. Gui Yan and Yan Wei also didn't say anything. Their gazes swept through the Righteous Path's experts, and their silent disdain was the greatest insult. Fuck, who do they think they are? Didn't they still have the crap beat out of them by senior apprentice brother Long Chen? Someone spat on the ground. Suddenly, the world rumbled. A giant flame sphere shot over like a meteorite, making everyone jump. That flame sphere was covered in divine runes. Its power was horrifying. Get out of the way, it's a paragon art. However, the flame sphere began to slow down, eventually dissipating and revealing a man wrapped in flames. Huo Leiyun. Startled cries rang out. It was actually Huo Leiyun, whose physical body had been destroyed by Long Chen. With his physical body destroyed, he had been cast aside from the rankings of the peak heavenly geniuses. No one had expected him to have recovered. No, that isn't a physical body. His body is made of flame runes. Someone suddenly noticed that his body wasn't wrapped in flames. It was made of flames. He actually replaced his physical body with a flame body. He looks even more terrifying than before. Xuanhuan's flame fluctuations were so powerful that even Nether Passage experts felt afraid. If Xuanhuan were to go all out, just how terrifying would he be? Xuanhuan glanced at the crowd. People were shocked to see that he no longer had pupils. Instead, there were two flame runes. The current Xuanhuan was no longer even human. He was a humanoid flame monstrosity. Anyone related to Long Chen, listen well. After I kill Long Chen, I'll exterminate all your sects. Xuanhuan coldly looked over the crowd. His voice was not the voice of a human. It had a metallic grinding sound to it. That's purely bragging. I refuse to believe it. A disdainful voice rang out. A cloaked man appeared with a bow on his back. Monayan. Everyone instantly recognized this person. On the Martial Heaven continent, only Monayan liked to wear a cloak that covered the upper part of his face. Just looking at his chin, many people might mistakenly think that whoever was inside was a fatty. But once he took off his cloak, they would find that he wasn't actually fat. It was just some leftover baby fat. Monayan lazily pulled off his cloak, revealing his handsome face. This was one of his signature moves, but to be considerate to someone, he didn't use his signature slogan. Tusk tusk, young people shouldn't be so fiery all the time. Don't carelessly end up burning yourself to cinders, said Monayan. He looked curiously at Xuanhuan's new body. Xuanhuan roared and suddenly smashed a fist at Monayan. Flame energy condensed into a giant fist of flames. He's also reached the fifth heaven stage of life star. People immediately sensed his realm and couldn't help being shocked. Monayan snorted and his bow twanged. Space distorted, and Xuanhuan's attack actually vanished within that twisted space. This is spatial energy. How is that possible? The Nether Passage experts let out startled cries. That was no ordinary magical art. It was a kind of law, something that even Nether Passage experts had only just managed to touch upon. How could Monayan possibly use such a profound power? Heaven and Earth lock. After resolving Xuanhuan's attack, Monayan took out a formation disc. The power of a dozen divine items suddenly erupted. The formation disc transformed into runic chains that were connected to a dozen divine items. Those divine items lit up, but all their light was absorbed by the chains. In the end, the divine items crumbled away, becoming nothing more than scrap iron. The divine items were crippled, but the runic chains blazed with light. They pierced toward Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan had prepared another attack after having his first attack failed. This new attack struck the runic chains and disappeared. Meanwhile, the chains enveloped Xuanhuan, binding him. It's bad for your body to be so fiery. Let me help cool you off. Just as Xuanhuan was chained, Monayan shockingly pulled down his pants, and a stream of urine fell toward Xuanhuan. Hey! Everyone's jaws dropped. They were dumbfounded. What was Monayan doing? He was a peak genius, someone on the same level of fame as Long Chen. He would actually piss on someone. Some of the female cultivators hastily turned away, not daring to look. Monayan was too shameless to even do such a thing. Xuanhuan's body was made of flames. The heat coming from him instantly vaporized his urine. Ah, brother, your flames are too strong. I can't help. Monayan was unable to extinguish Xuanhuan's flames. Monayan, I will tear you into 1,000,000 pieces, Xuanhuan roared, and the chains binding him exploded. Even though he had sacrificed a dozen divine items, those runic chains could only hold him for a second. However, Monayan was also quite amazing to finish peeing in just a second. A normal person definitely couldn't do that. Die! Xuanhuan's flame energy erupted, and a sea of flames filled the surrounding space. He was about to attack when he suddenly stopped, staring in shock at Monayan. Chapter 1966, 1966. The wild Xuanhuan instantly stopped, looking at Monayan in shock. The latter had actually taken out a formation disc again, but this time there were hundreds of divine items behind him. Although those divine items were all quasi-divine items, the sight of so many of them was still shocking. The thing that people didn't understand was how Monayan was capable of controlling so many divine items. It had to be known that each divine item had its own item spirit. A person's spiritual strength was limited, and normally they could only control a single divine item. Controlling 2 divine items was difficult, and those who could control 3 to 5 were very rare. The fact that Monayan had taken out a dozen divine items before and instantly absorbed all their divine energy had already been shocking enough. Now he was doing the same thing, but with hundreds of them. Are you not coming? Don't worry, I won't kill you, but if you dare to come over, it won't just be piss this time. Mo Nian waved the formation disc at the shocked Huo Lian. You wretch, cursed Huo Lian. Huo Lian didn't know what method he had used, but when Mo Nian had sacrificed those divine items, the runic chains he had condensed had actually been able to bind Huo Lian. Huo Lian had been careless just now, however. If hundreds of divine items were sacrificed this time, the power would be dozens of times greater than before. Perhaps it might not be able to cause any serious harm to his flame body, but while he was bound, Mo Nian might actually crap on his head. The name of the Western wretch was not for nothing. Being humiliated in front of this many people was not something Huo Lian was willing to accept. That's right, young people shouldn't be so fiery, just look at me. I'm hard at work every day, but I don't complain. No matter how people curse me, it doesn't stop me. So, little fellow, try to calm down. Once you reach my realm, you'll understand. That's all I have to say to you. I'm going to enter now so you can leave. Mo Nian actually swaggered past Huo Lian's body and into Heavenly Fate Island. Bastard wretch. Huo Lian clenched his teeth, furiously cursing Mo Nian and 18 generations of his ancestors, but he didn't dare to attack. He might not be afraid of Mo Nian's battle power, but he was afraid of his wicked moves. He had already been defeated by Long Chen, so this was his only chance to wipe away that disgrace. He had to focus on that, or he would forever be a laughingstock. I can enter on my own. If you dare to say a word, do you believe me when I say I'll toss you into a dung pit for 100 years? 2 of Heavenly Fate Island's disciples came to receive Mo Nian, but once he spoke, they didn't dare to move. Sometimes, the Western wretch was even more terrifying than the Eastern madman. At most, Long Chen would just kill you, but Mo Nian would make you live a life worse than death. He was constantly challenging mankind's limits when it came to wretched moves. In front of everyone's shocked gazes, Mo Nian walked right in. Those disciples of Heavenly Fate Island didn't dare to stop him. Bastard, don't even think about leaving Heavenly Fate Island alive. Huo Lian silently cursed. He also walked in. Scram! Just a short while later, a shout rang out like thunder. The disciples of Heavenly Fate Island were knocked back, coughing up blood. Everyone turned to look. Just who was brazen enough to attack Heavenly Fate Island's disciples? They quickly saw a powerful elder standing at the gates, wielding a black wooden cane. It's the sect master of the heaven-splitting battle sect, Wu Guangyuan. It was the old man. The 7 bosses had also come, as well as dozens of life-star disciples. Those disciples were led by Bao Buping and Chang Hao. Fuck, when I dominated the continent, your fathers were still playing in the mud. Who dares to block me? Shouted the old man. His temper was well known on the martial heaven continent, and after advancing to Nether Passage, it had only grown worse. He wouldn't give face to anyone. Back in the Martial Heaven Alliance's headquarters, he had even dared to fight Pill Valley's master, Xuanhuan. What didn't he dare to do? As for the disciples blocking his path, if he didn't see that they were so weak that they weren't worth anything, he would have long since beaten them to death. Those disciples simply didn't know enough about the continent. They were busy focusing on comprehending the mysteries of fate, and so they hadn't recognized the old man immediately. The old man suddenly turned back at the Righteous Path's experts that had been kept out of Heavenly Fate Island. Can you bastards grow up a bit? Just because they don't want you to enter, you woe, you're going to endure it as they insult you. What if they want to kill you instead? Are you going to stick your necks out for them to slice off? You cowards of the Righteous Path embarrass me. After that scolding, the old man walked in with the experts of the heaven-splitting battle sect. Fuck, this senior is right, I'm going in. Who dares to block me? Someone in the crowd suddenly walked forward, pointing his spear at the disciples of Heavenly Fate Island. He had been inspired by Mo Nian and the old man. Let's go. Others also shot into motion. They had long since been holding back their fury. Hey, you can't. That disciple was kicked away. Fuck off with your can't. Why is it that others can but we can't? If you make any more noise, I won't go in. Instead, I'll just kill you before leaving. Chaos reigned at the entrance. Heavenly Fate Island had tried to give a show of power to the Righteous Path, but the old man wouldn't accept such a thing. What a waste of all your years. No wonder you've raised a group of fools. You don't know how to follow rules. Just at this moment, a cold snort rang out from deep within Heavenly Fate Island. It was the unfettered All-Seer. He was mocking the old man for his rudeness. Don't play this meaningless game with me. Do you think people don't know about your plot? If you want something, then fight for it openly. The heaven-splitting battle sect's motto is fight or fuck off. If you keep spouting nonsense, I'll topple your heavenly fate island. The old man continued walking forward. Each time his cane touched the ground rumbled, indicating his determination. The unfettered all-seer didn't reply. In the senior generation, the old man had another nickname, which was the old madman. No one wanted to provoke him, because when he went crazy, he would do anything. If he was further angered, he might just start fighting before Long Chen even arrived. Countless experts followed along with the old man. Inside Heavenly Fate Island, they saw beautiful scenery, towering mountain ranges, long brooks, ancient trees. The spiritual chi here was extremely dense. This floating island was rich in precious minerals, but they weren't mined. Instead, they were connected by a formation to absorb the world's essence to nourish Heavenly Fate Island. This place was distant from the clamor of the mortal world. What a good place, but it's actually been occupied by a bunch of idiots, cursed Balbuping. In comparison to Heavenly Fate Island, their heaven-splitting battle sect was like the home of a pack of beggars. Fuck, let's just kill them and take this island for ourselves. Chang Hao clenched his fist. Balbuping and Chang Hao had just spoken when the old man kicked them both. Why'd you kick us? Are you two unfilial bastards thinking of establishing your own sect here? Furthermore, this place is like mist blocking your eyes. You see the leaf in front of your eyes but not the forest behind you. Here, you're isolated from the rest of the world. You'll think that what you see here is the entire world, when in reality, you see nothing. That's why Heavenly Fate Island has never produced any true gods and has no divine inheritance. As for our heaven-splitting battle sect, we were once called the heaven-splitting divine sect because we had godlike existences. The reason our home is barren is so that your hearts can be clear. So what if I kick you? If it weren't to give you face because so many people were here, I'd beat the crap out of you. Your words are against the foundations of our ancestors, understood? Demanded the old man. Balbuping and Chang Hao were startled. They hadn't expected there to be such a thing. They shut their mouths. They continued onward and eventually reached a giant platform. There were countless runes carved onto the platform. It was a giant calculating machine. There were already quite a few experts gathered here. They formed three factions. One was the neutral faction that was in the middle. To the left were the people of the Martial Heaven Alliance, while to the right were the allied powers of Pill Valley, the Xuanhuan beasts, the ancient races, the corrupt path, the ancient family alliance, and the others. The old man sought joining amongst the section for the Martial Heaven Alliance. His expression sank, but he still decided to sit on the edge of the Martial Heaven Alliance's side. Chapter 1967. The old man's arrival caused things to become quiet. Pill Valley's side had been in the midst of mocking the Martial Heaven Alliance's side, but they shut their mouths now. Everyone knew that when the old man was enraged, there was nothing he feared. They couldn't afford to provoke such a figure. The old man was standing on the very edge. Although he was sitting on the side of the Martial Heaven Alliance, he clearly didn't want to mix with them. Seeing that, Jining was sad. Clearly, the matter of her expelling Long Chen was still fresh in the old man's mind. She didn't mind if others didn't understand her actions, but this coldness from the old man hurt her. I'll go over. Li Tianxuan stood up. Leave it, that old bastard. He won't listen to anyone. Don't bother. Jining shook her head. This is just a misunderstanding. We can resolve it, said Li Tianxuan. This choice had been something he had forced Jining to make. Hence, he didn't feel it was fair for the old man to blame her. Not all misunderstandings can be resolved. Resolving one misunderstanding will just create a second one. The two of us are fated to be like this for this lifetime. Jining looked at the old man's figure. She sighed with disappointment. Li Tianxuan couldn't reply to this. Clearly, the old man and Jining's conflicting views went deeper than others saw. The old man's arrival also brought in thousands of righteous experts. They all paid their respects to Jining. Only through a brief conversation with them did Jining learn why so few of her people had entered in a long time. So it was all caused by Heavenly Fate Island. She frowned, about to stand, but was stopped by Li Tianxuan. Li Tianxuan smiled. Today, we're just spectators and Long Chen is the main character. He already sent word to me that there's nothing we have to do. We can just calmly watch. That little brat, he's the same as the old bastard. He actually doesn't tell me anything. I'll properly beat him once he's safe, said Jining irritably. After Long Chen had been expelled, he had sent word to the old man and Li Tianxuan through the Huyan sect. However, He hadn't sent any news to her. It was like he was treating her like an outsider. Alliance head, I approve of this plan. If you don't properly put him in his place, wouldn't he get himself killed sooner or later? Making you, who are busy with thousands of things every day, worry about him so much. He definitely has to be taught a lesson. Suddenly, Mo Nian, who was sitting beside Yi Lingshan, jumped in. He wouldn't give up any chance to con Long Chen. Yi Lingshan found it difficult to tolerate Mo Nian. There was no way to talk with him. When he spoke, he ended all conversations, as no one could reply to him. Perhaps the only one who could keep up with him was Long Chen. Bastard, don't think that you're any better than Long Chen. Stop trying to seduce my apprentice. She won't be marrying out, so, unless you want to marry in, you should give up. My apprentice couldn't be seduced by Long Chen, so don't think that your little skills are enough. I'm not trying to give you a blow, but you're a far cry from Long Chen in that regard, said Jianying. Just who was Jianying? Did Mo Nian's thoughts have the slightest possibility of escaping her gaze? Furthermore, she didn't really like Mo Nian, feeling him to be even more unreliable than Long Chen. When he smiled, it was truly unbearably wretched. Lion's head, this is where you're wrong. My lack of skills in this regard is due to a lack of experience. A lack of experience shows that I am a pure man, completely different from a rogue like Long Chen. Even if 1,000 flowers were to drown me, I wouldn't touch them. Just ask yourself, who is as pure as I am on the martial heaven continent? Mother-in-law, just agree for my sake. Mo Nian actually knelt down before Jianying, even changing the way he addressed her. Yi Lingshan was embarrassed and enraged. She had an urge to kick him. She had countless pursuers, but it was her first time seeing someone like Mo Nian. Yi Lingshan's desire came true. Mo Nian was kicked away by Jianying. Perhaps it was coincidence or on purpose, but he flew over to the old man. The old man reached and caught him. Mo Nian hastily bowed. Many thanks, father-in-law. The experts present almost coughed up blood. Mo Nian was talented. Everyone in the senior generation knew of the old man and Jianying's relationship. If it weren't for their tempers being too fiery, the two of them would have long since ended up together. For him to call the old man father-in-law at this moment was quite perfect. The old man's expression was odd, but he didn't refute this appellation. He glanced at the distant Jianying. Little fellow, for you to be brothers with Long Chen means you have some skill. Don't spend all day messing around. Men should be men. As long as you are strong enough, can't you find any woman you want? Rather than constantly pestering someone, wouldn't it be better to conserve some face? Seeing that the old man didn't refuse the title of father-in-law, Jianying's heart softened slightly. At least, she was still in the old man's heart. HMPH, if he cared about face, would he be called the Western wretch? A cold voice rang out in the distance. It was Huo Liyun. Mo Nian angrily pointed at him. Little brat, get out here, I'll properly teach you how to behave. Was the piss bath not enough for you? This time I'll fix that. Seeing Mo Nian directly challenge Huo Liyun, the old man nodded, feeling that he had at least some mannerisms of an expert. But then his expression darkened. Just what expert would do something like urinate on an opponent? Huo Liyun suppressed his anger at that comment and sneered. Who do you think you are? A little mouse who hides all day. If I were to fight you all out, you would just run in your tortoise shell. Furthermore, today's main character is Long Chen. Once I kill Long Chen, I'll handle you, you wretch. Exactly, a wretch like Mo Nian only knows how to run. It runs in the family, cursed someone else. This person was wearing robes of the ancient family alliance and seemed to have immense enmity with Mo Nian. Mo Nian, if you swear to fight to the death and not run, Brother Huo will definitely fight with you. But do you dare? This time it was someone from the ancient races. Before the yin-yang world, Mo Nian's tomb digging had been limited to the ancient family alliance. But after it, Mo Nian had expanded his work to the ancient races, the corrupt path, the Xuanhuan beasts, and the other powers. Apparently, during these past few months, Mo Nian had been crazily digging up tombs. Most days, he would manage to dig up 7 ancient tombs in a day, infuriating the various large sects and families. They would then hunt him down as best as they could, but with the earth-splitting divine shuttle, no one could stop him. When he was still in the soul transformation realm, he had been able to easily escape his pursuers. Now that he was at the life star realm, he was even more difficult to catch. No one could do anything to him. The most hateful thing of all was that Mo Nian wasn't just flipping through their tombs and taking their treasures. He also brought their ancestors' corpses up to the sun, defiling them. It was a great taboo, but Mo Nian did it. He had sworn to do this in the battle in the yin-yang world. They wanted to kill him. Then fine, Long Chen would be in charge of killing the living people, while he would be in charge of digging up the dead people. The various large powers spent all day trembling in fear that their ancient tombs would be targeted next. They spent a huge amount of money and manpower on guarding their tombs. Before this, most enmities would be resolved by charging at the actual sect, not their ancient tombs. Mo Nian was the first to use this method of revenge, which only made people hate him more. That was why thousands of experts immediately began to speak up to curse Mo Nian now. On his own, there was no way that Mo Nian could curse back at all these people. Don't be a coward, go ahead. If any of their old fellows want to interfere, I'll help you handle them, said the old man. Mo Nian looked back at him. Inside, he thought to himself, old man, I'm not as crazy as that. A single Huo Lian would be tough enough. There's still true immortal Jioki, Zai Luo, and the tens of thousands of heavenly geniuses from the other powers. Are you trying to get me killed? Cough, father-in-law, I want to go kill them, but the main character is Long Chen. I can't fight over the limelight with him. I'll wait for him before doing anything, said Mo Nian. In the end, he obediently returned to his original position. However, seeing Yi Lingxian glare at him, Mo Nian helplessly hid behind Li Tianxuan. Li Tianxuan was very amicable and polite. Mo Nian held him in high esteem. Mo Nian had just sat down when a ruckus occurred. A young man had walked in. He was handsome and even scholarly, but it wasn't because of his looks that people were startled. It was because of the giant die behind him that was constantly spinning. The gambling heavenly Dao's heir, Hu Feng. People's hearts shook. Hu Feng was an extremely mysterious existence. His fight against true immortal Jioki had caused his fame to skyrocket. Although the two of them had just been probing each other, Hu Feng's strange fighting style had left a deep impression on them. Some people even suspected him of being the continent's strongest expert, but he was too low-key for them to see just how strong he was. Hu Feng's arrival drew everyone's attention. Hu Feng looked around and then, upon seeing Mo Nian, he cupped his fists. Brother Mo Nian, it's been a while. I'm glad to see you as healthy and graceful as ever. Chapter 1968. Haha, it's been a while, why don't you come and sit over here? Things are very lively here. Mo Nian laughed, seeming very familiar with Hu Feng. No, I'll be over there. Next time, I hope I'll be able to treat you to some wine as thanks for your pure water mercury. Hu Feng gracefully declined Mo Nian's proposal. That kind of thing couldn't be decided randomly. If he went over there, that would be equivalent to joining the Martial Heaven Alliance's side. Hence, he chose to sit in the neutral camp. That's fine. Let me tell you, there's plenty of that stuff within old tombs. I can get you as much as you want. I can even sell it to you wholesale. The more you buy, the greater the discount, said Mo Nian. Pure water mercury was a very peculiar thing. It was normally used to seal stone statues or coffins, but it was unknown what Hu Feng was using such a thing for. This kind of mercury would naturally absorb the earth's essence to grow, but above ground, it would absorb spiritual qi and slowly dissipate. Mo Nian spent a great deal of time underground, so he had quite a bit of this stuff. After a coincidental encounter, Hu Feng had bought a great deal of his stock. Originally, Mo Nian was planning on simply giving it to him, but Hu Feng had refused, insisting on buying it. The expressions of the opposing experts sank. Mo Nian had obtained that pure water mercury from their tombs. This was unbearable. Hu Feng hadn't expected Mo Nian to directly announce this matter to everyone. He couldn't help being a bit embarrassed, but he didn't say anything and sat down in the neutral camp. Big brother, are you very powerful? Hu Feng had just sat down when a little girl pulled on his sleeve. Not very powerful. Hu Feng was startled. Just how was he supposed to answer this question? If he said yes, it would be showing off. If he said no, it would appear like fake modesty. Xuanhuan, don't cause trouble. Suddenly, another woman came running over, grabbing the girl. This girl was Xuanhuan, while the person pulling her was her big sister, the one who was on the same level of fame as Yi Lingxian in Clearwind City, Fengsu. Fengsu apologized. I'm sorry, my little sister doesn't understand things and might say something offensive. Hu Feng smiled. It's fine, it's very rare to see someone so pure and without other motives in the cultivation world. I knew that Big Brother was a good person. Big Brother Long Chen is also a good person. If Brother Long Chen comes and can't beat these bad people, can you help him? Shouldn't good people help good people? Asked Xuanhuan. Well, Hu Feng was immediately at a loss for words. Xuanhuan, stop it, hurry and sit. Fengsu's expression darkened. This place was the neutral camp, and since they were here, they couldn't participate in the fighting between the two sides. She was regretting bringing Xuanhuan, but if she didn't bring her sister, she would cause an even bigger fuss. Seeing Qi Fengsu's expression, Xuanhuan immediately began to cry. "You're not a good person. Big brother Long Chen saved me in the yin-yang world, but you're not going to help the person who saved your little sister. Is the point of cultivation to just protect your own hide?" Qi Fengsu's expression became unnatural. Although Xuanhuan was naive, she still understood how to repay kindness. But even if Qi Fengsu understood that, what could she do? She wasn't just one person. She represented the heaven-reaching ancient castle and needed to be cautious with her actions. "Long Chen, have you arrived yet? This time I'll go at it with you 300 times. Suddenly, a thunderous voice rang out. A large, fat man with a fierce-looking face walked in. He had a giant butcher's knife on his shoulder. The fierce Yang butcher, Tu Qiancheng. A startled cry rang out. This fatty was a disciple of the wine god Palace, Tu Qiancheng. The current Tu Qiancheng had advanced to the nether passage realm. When he walked in, an intense alcoholic smell filled people's noses. The smell was burning hot. As soon as people smelled it, they coughed, feeling like they couldn't breathe. "Ha ha ha, fatty, you've come. Get over here, we missed you." Boss Bao laughed and enthusiastically called out to him. The other bosses all stood excitedly. Seeing them, Tu Qiancheng was delighted and hastily went over to give them a fierce embrace. "Fuck, I encountered quite a few irritating pigs that tried not to let me in. I actually thought that Long Chen had already arrived," cursed Tu Qiancheng. At this time, they saw that Tu Qiancheng's blade was covered in blood. Hearing this, they understood that those that had blocked him had probably met an untimely end. "Greetings, senior," Tu Qiancheng bowed to the old man. "No need for that nonsense, we know you have some good wine. Come, come, let us taste your new wine. Your wine's the strongest in this world." Boss Bao gulped down his saliva. Tu Qiancheng and the 7 bosses directly began to drink. Even the old man joined in. The smell of alcohol filled the air. After one gulp of Tu Qiancheng's wine, Boss Bao breathed fire. The air was ignited. "Fuck, if I wasn't familiar with you, I'd think that you were feeding us wine. This wine's addictive," laughed Boss Bao. Tu Qiancheng's wine was domineering. Ever since he had helped Long Chen escape the Grand Zia and slaughtered his old enemies, undoing the knot in his heart, his wine Dao had progressed even further. Even the old man exclaimed that this wine was good. He even forgot about his previous displeasure with Jianying. "Tu Qiancheng, why have you come here? Is the wine god Palace planning on interfering with Long Chen's matter?" demanded an elder from Heavenly Fate Island. "The wine god Palace is the wine god Palace, while I am Tu Qiancheng. I've come here to drink wine with Long Chen. What does the rest have to do with me or the wine god Palace? Other than that, don't stand so high. Count yourself lucky today that I haven't drunk that much, or I'd have cut off your head," said Tu Qiancheng coldly before ignoring him. Tu Qiancheng's temper was very much to the old man's liking. His wine was even more to his appetite. After drinking a few bowls, he even forgot that this place was Heavenly Fate Island. More and more people were arriving, but Jianying was disappointed to see more and more experts of the righteous path standing with Pill Valley. There was also a portion standing in the neutral camp. "Alliance head, don't feel bad. The waves wash away the sand, leaving behind the gold. It might be painful, but only through this can we be stronger," comforted Li Tianxuan. "I understand the theory, but are people truly emotionless? Seeing those people that followed me into death in battle against the corrupt path now standing with the corrupt path, I can't say that my heart doesn't hurt." Jianying shook her head. "As time passes, people's hearts change. They followed you because of your charisma, because of their hot blood, but also because the righteous path was on the verge of destruction. If they didn't want to die, they had to fight. They didn't fight out of some noble desire. It was their only option back then. But now they have more options. Only now can we see who truly belongs to the righteous path," said Li Tianxuan indifferently. These seniors of his had been people he had once worshipped in his youth. But now, seeing the hypocrisy of the world, he didn't feel anything. "Dai Feng has arrived." A flying boat shot over and a man walked off it. It was Dai Long's son, the ancient family alliance's #1 genius, Dai Feng. Following him, a large group of experts from the ancient family alliance walked off the boat as well. These disciples were young, but they had reached the midlife star realm. Their auras were shockingly powerful. Dai Feng's gaze swept through the crowd. His eyes landed on Mo Nian. "Mo Nian, do you dare have a battle to the death with me?" "Just you?" Last time, if it weren't for the sudden eruption in the yin-yang world, you'd have already been killed by me. You had to lay down a trap for me in the yin-yang world, and for you to challenge me again, I guarantee you've prepared another trap for me, because you simply have no confidence in beating me. The same trap used twice is meaningless, said Monayan lazily. HMPH, isn't that because you're a cowardly mouse? You just keep running. In a real fight, do you think I'm afraid of you? Mocked Dai Feng. Monayan was about to reply when everyone felt a chill. Two graceful figures walked in. Snow swirled around those two figures and a biting chill struck the air. The two of them were like ice goddesses. One of them was the ice fairy, Yi Jikyu, but the one beside her was a beautiful woman looking to be in her late 20s. There was a snowflake mark on her forehead. Upon seeing that woman, the senior generation was deeply stunned. Jianying jumped up. Even the old man and the others stopped drinking, staring at her with disbelief. Why would she come? Chapter 1969. I didn't expect the great Taoist Heavenly Feather to come to my Heavenly Fate Island. I'm sorry I couldn't personally greet you at the door. Space twisted, and the unfettered All-Seer finally appeared. When they heard the name Taoist Heavenly Feather, the experts present all jumped. That was a legendary name, an existence that had reached the peak of Nether Passage at least and might have reached an even higher realm. Taoist Heavenly Feather was someone that almost no one had ever met. She existed almost exclusively in legend. However, she was the current master of the Divine Ice Palace. Her ice energy could only be called terrifying. As soon as she arrived, anyone with a cultivation base that had reached a certain level could feel her immense power. Although they might not have personally seen her before, they could guess her identity because only Taoist Heavenly Feather's ice energy had reached such a state. In truth, the swirling snow in the air was caused by Yi Jikyu's power. Taoist Heavenly Feather's ice energy was under her perfect control, so only those that had reached a certain level could sense it. She was a supreme expert of the senior generation. Even Jianying, the old man, and the others had to stand, and the unfettered All-Seer was forced to come greet her. There's no need to be so formal. I've been in my humble home for many years. Now that the great era has come, it just so happened that I wanted to see which great geniuses are rising. I also get to exercise these old bones of mine. Otherwise, I might start getting rusty. Taoist Heavenly Feather smiled. Her voice was gentle and pleasant, not like Yi Jikyu's icy voice. She had reached a perfect level of control in her energy. Just based on appearance, no one would be able to tell that she was a terrifying ice cultivator. Although Taoist Heavenly Feather looked young, she was definitely an old monster. Her age was probably much greater than anyone else present. Senior is too courteous. May I ask where you wish to sit? The unfettered All-Seer asked cautiously. Yi Jikyu and Long Chen's relationship was known to all, while Taoist Heavenly Feather was Yi Jikyu's master. If Taoist Heavenly Feather had come as Long Chen's reinforcements, to call it troublesome would be an understatement. Taoist Heavenly Feather smiled slightly. I'll just sit here. There's no need for you to worry about me. Today, I am merely a spectator. Saying that, Taoist Heavenly Feather sat in the neutral camp. As for Yi Jikyu, she bowed to Taoist Heavenly Feather, and in front of everyone's shocked gazes, walked over to the Martial Heaven Alliance's side. Senior this, the unfettered All-Seer looked at Taoist Heavenly Feather. Young people have their own thoughts. I can't force her. Before joining my palace, I promised her that I would not take away her identity as one of the warriors of the Dragonblood Legion. However, don't worry. While she is fighting as a warrior of the Dragonblood Legion, she is not a disciple of my Divine Ice Palace. In other words, if she dieta at your hands today, I won't do anything, said Taoist Heavenly Feather lightly. Although that was what she said, the unfettered All-Seer was not at ease at all. However, he couldn't do anything about it. There were still over 2 hours before the time that Long Chen had set. More and more experts trickled in. When one particular woman walked in, it once more caused an uproar. She wore pure white robes, and there was a certain rhythm to her movements that were like music. She was beautiful and elegant, possessing a graceful air. It's the Zither Fairy. The Zither Fairy Zai Yan had come. She was more reserved than before she had entered the yin-yang world. There was a hidden sharpness behind her soft gaze. She seemed to have matured, and even in the face of so many experts, her expression didn't change. I heard that this woman has a romantic relationship with Long Chen. I wonder if it's true or not, whispered Mo Nian. Yi Jikyu, who had been sitting with Yi Lingshan, spat out, "Wretch." Yi Lingshan couldn't hold back a laugh. Even Jianying snickered. No one had expected Yi Jikyu to say such a thing. As Mo Nian was speechless, Yi Lingshan said, "You deserve it. Who asked you to constantly try to con Long Chen?" Big Sister Jikyu's words are entirely correct. Everyone knew about Long Chen's relationship with Yi Jikyu. In the GLI secret realm, Yi Jikyu had sacrificed herself to protect Long Chen. She had died in front of Long Chen, and he had gone crazy, slaughtering his enemies and making rivers of blood flow. Then, when a powerful expert came to take away her corpse, Long Chen was willing to fight to the death to protect her. There were actually many versions of their romance story spread throughout the cultivation world. It was the stuff that romance novels were made of. For Mo Nian to intentionally sow dissension between Yi Jikyu and Long Chen by mentioning this matter was truly wretched. However, for such a word to come from an ice beauty like Yi Jikyu tasted very peculiar. Ziyan greets Taoist Heavenly Feather. Ziyan first bowed toward Taoist Heavenly Feather. Her voice was soft and seemed to be one with the heavenly Taos, as if her words were echoed by the world. Taoist Heavenly Feather was pleasantly surprised. "You've awakened the voice of the heavens. It seems that another divine emissary is about to be born. The seven-string sea-suppressing zither has finally accepted you as a successor. Excellent." Taoist Heavenly Feather's words puzzled the surrounding experts. What voice of the heavens? What divine emissary? It seemed that she was talking about some secret. Ziyan merely smiled. She then walked over to the Martial Heaven Alliance's side, or more specifically, toward Yi Jikyu. Ziyan greets Big Sister. Yi Jikyu stood and bowed slightly without saying anything. Last time, when they had been about to be devoured by that curtain of darkness, it had been Ziyan who had saved them. Yi Jikyu thought about thanking her now, but she knew that Ziyan belonged to the elusive music immortal palace. That was a neutral sect, and thanking her here wasn't too suitable. For Ziyan to walk over to the Martial Heaven Alliance's side caused the expressions of Pill Valley's side to darken. "Bastard," Daifeng clenched his fists and a vein jumped on his forehead. He was jealous. What was so attractive about Long Chen that he had managed to seduce so many heavenly fairies? True immortal Jioki, Hugh Lian and the others were all jealous. Ziyan's status was just that high. She could look down on any one of them. Why was she so focused on Long Chen? Ziyan's music Dao was a cultivation method that could bring her closer to the heavenly Daos. If she used her music Dao to help others comprehend the Dao, they would be able to cultivate faster and easier. Just how many heavenly geniuses longed to dual cultivate with Ziyan? They would probably ascend to the heavens if their dreams came true. However, Ziyan didn't give any of them a second glance. The only one she cared about was Long Chen. Long Chen had harmed her several times, even raising his blade against her, but she still wasn't able to forget him. Just what did she mean when she called Yi Jikyu Big Sister? Was she joining her? Were they sharing a husband? Where was the heaven justice? "Hey, hello, I'm Mo Nian. Long Chen's good brother. We've actually met." Mo Nian also stood. "Hello, I can't stay here for long. After greeting my big sister, I have to leave. Sorry, please forgive me." Ziyan respectfully said hello to Mo Nian before leaving, going to the neutral camp and finding a place for herself to sit. "What the fuck, I'm only given this little face." Mo Nian was speechless. Yi Jikyu sat back down and was curious inside. Just now, Ziyan had sent her a spiritual message. "We are both successors of the Martial Heaven Continent's fate." She didn't know what that was supposed to mean, but it seemed that at the very least, they wouldn't be enemies in the future. She looked toward her master, confused. Taoist Heavenly Feather sent her a message. "She is correct. She has already taken that step, but you have not." Yi Jikyu's heart shook. She seemed to have understood something. Suddenly, immense pressure crashed down from the sky. One figure after another appeared. Xuanhuan had come along with the other supreme leaders. The corrupt paths Zai Wenchen, the ancient family alliances Dai Long, the Xuan beasts Peng Wanli, the blood halls Zhang Ziyang, and the ancient races Long Zhengkeng were all with him. Each of them was a powerful figure in their own right. Adding on the master of Heavenly Fate Island, the unfettered All-Seer, all the leaders who had gone to the headquarters of the Martial Heaven Alliance to force Jianing to expel Long Chen had come. "Greetings, Taoist Heavenly Feather." Yu Zion and the others cupped their fists toward Taoist Heavenly Feather. After all, her seniority was just too high. Even they didn't dare to be arrogant in front of her. Taoist Heavenly Feather nodded slightly toward them, not saying anything. She had already said that she was just here to watch and had no intention of upstaging anything. "Haha, how lively. So many of our clients are here. Our Huyun sect has also come to watch. We wouldn't be locked outside, would we?" Just at this moment, two people walked in. They were the assistant sect master of the Huyan sect, Hua Mingsheng and Zhang Wenlong. This time, Ma Ryan, the sect master, hadn't come. However, Hua Mingsheng was enough because the majority of the Huyan sect's businesses were handled by him. Of course we wouldn't, we welcome you. It just so happens you can bear witness to how long Chen dies. If you miss this chance, it would truly be a pity, sneered Xuanhuan. Hua Mingsheng smiled. He was about to speak when a disdainful voice rang out from the distance, causing everyone's hearts to shake. How I die isn't something you'll get to see. However, there's a good chance that I'll be letting you rest in peace today. Chapter 1970. Following that voice that caused countless hearts to wildly pound, everyone saw a black-robed Long Chen walk in. The current Long Chen was extremely calm. He had no fear, nor anger. The only expression on his face was disdain toward his enemies. Even though this place had gathered the top powers of the entire continent, he was looking down on them. He was walking casually like he was strolling through his own backyard. Long Chen had really come. The experts who had gathered as spectators knew that something major was about to occur today. Last time, because of Long Chen, a war had almost erupted throughout the continent. However, he had escaped, and Jining had expelled him from the Martial Heaven Alliance, resulting in that war not occurring. Some praised Jining for her foresight and judgment, as well as how she thought about the lives of this world. However, the rest called her powerless and weak, letting her own disciples suffer without standing up for him. They said that she had lost her domineering manner and was no longer fit to be a leader. Last time, the war was avoided because Long Chen had escaped, but now he had come to a place where the top experts of every major power had gathered. How would he be able to escape this time? This place was a nest of monsters, but he had still thrown himself in. Furthermore, this nest was created because of him. There was no way his enemies would let him leave alive. If he died, what would the Martial Heaven Alliance do? If he died and the Martial Heaven Alliance didn't do anything about it, they would lose all their supporters. Those people had seen how much Long Chen had done for the Martial Heaven Alliance. So if he died, the Martial Heaven Alliance would be forced to go to war. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to keep their people. Today, even the 4 Grand Elders of the Martial Heaven Alliance had come. They were sitting behind Jining, looking like statues, but everyone knew that those 4 possessed the power to destroy heaven and earth before they died. Right now, Long Chen would decide the fate of the Martial Heaven Alliance. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen. Countless young disciples stood up, shouting toward him. There were hundreds of thousands of them, some of them so emotional that they cried. The most emotional ones were those that had fought alongside him in the yin-yang world. They had managed to comprehend the life and death tide in the yin-yang world thanks to the Dragon Blood Legion's protection. Because of it, they had advanced to the Life Star Realm without the slightest difficulty. This was thanks to Long Chen, thanks to the Dragon Blood Legion, and thanks to their fellow comrades who had sacrificed themselves to protect them. They would never forget this. They had been the most furious ones when Long Chen was expelled. Some of them had also wanted to leave the Martial Heaven Alliance because of it. Seeing Long Chen now, it was like they had returned to the yin-yang world when they had fought alongside him. Their voices raged like thunder. Long Chen is irreplaceable. Seeing Long Chen cause such a reaction just by arriving, Yi Lingshan smiled bitterly. She knew that no matter how she turned out to be, she would never couldn't compare to Long Chen in this regard. You'll have to work hard. Because you are a woman, you have to work harder to show that you won't lose to any man, comforted Jining. However, Jining was also amazed by Long Chen's charisma, which was irresistible to both men and women. His wild nature and his guts to risk his life for others without hesitation made others also willing to do the same for him. She suspected that these people possessed such a level of loyalty to him that as long as he beckoned, they would go fight to the death with him. Fuck, being a show-off without even trying is so cool. Mo Nian sighed. Just how was it that Long Chen received such a welcome while he was practically overlooked? When he had come, although he had also caused a disturbance that had just been jeering and cursing, not this worshipful display. How was the difference between them so great? Brothers, after today we can have a real match. There's no leaving until we're all drunk, and even when we're all drunk there will be no leaving. Long Chen cupped his fists toward those disciples. His response was a heroic roar from those disciples. HMPH, you won't be living past today. True immortal Jioki's icy voice rang out. He was already standing and pointing his halberd at Long Chen. Long Chen ignored him, not even glancing in his direction. He first bowed to Jianying. Alliance head, sorry for the trouble. I was the one who left the Martial Heaven Alliance, but I made you carry the burden. I will go apologize at your door another day. Hearing this, quite a few people looked at Jianying with surprise. Long Chen was the one who had wanted to leave the Martial Heaven Alliance. People didn't quite believe it. Was Long Chen lying to help out Jianying? The reason why I left the Martial Heaven Alliance is because I am establishing my own power. Starting today, my Dragonblood Legion is joining the ranks of the major powers on the continent as the #1 legion of this world. So I'd like everyone who has come here today to bear witness to this. Today, this world will be losing a Heavenly Fate Island but gaining a Dragonblood Legion, announced Long Chen. How brazen! It seems you've already gone insane. My Heavenly Fate Island has been standing for countless years. We've borne witness to the rise and fall of the continent. How could a little brat like you do anything to us? Sneered the unfettered all-seer. Long Chen looked at him and smiled. That smile seemed to be a mix of disdain and pity. Don't focus your gazes on me. First, you should look up. Long Chen pointed toward the sky. What? He plans on undergoing tribulation here. Mo Nian looked up and jumped in shock. At some point, black tribulation clouds had started to slowly revolve in the sky. There was a majestic energy growing within those clouds that made everyone feel uneasy. Taoist Heavenly Feather looked up at those black clouds, a touch of shock appearing in her eyes. However, she didn't say anything. Ha ha, how laughable. I know you've used this method before, but did you think that Heavenly Fate Island was defenseless? I'll tell you the truth. This Heavenly Fate platform that we're on has the innate ability to screen us from the very heavens. Otherwise, cultivators of fate would have been locked down by the heavens and turned to dust for our defiant actions. To think that you didn't even know this yet wanted to use lightning tribulation against us. Let alone you, even a Nether Passage expert's tribulation would be screened off. Now that you know this, you can die in peace, laughed the unfettered all-seer. Suddenly, all of Heavenly Fate Island shook, and pillars of light shot out of the platform that they were on. The light condensed into a giant barrier around all of Heavenly Fate Island. Haha, do you see? Your little tricks are nothing, sneered the unfettered all-seer. Following the arrival of the barrier, the black clouds slowly dissipated. Long Chen looked at the sky calmly without replying. What, have you been dumbfounded? Hurry up and come face your death. This time it was Hugh Lian speaking. The flame runes in his eyes revolved. Long Chen, don't worry. If heavenly tribulation is no good, then we can just use the blades in our hands to kill them, said the old man. That's right. Even though I'm called a butcher, I haven't slaughtered pigs in a long time, added Tu Qiansheng. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, we're willing to fight to the death with you. Even the Life Star disciples joined in, all of them raising their weapons, their auras rising. Seeing that scene, Yu Xiaoan smiled faintly. This was precisely the result that he had wanted. However, at this moment Long Chen waved his hand dismissively. A little Heavenly Fate Island doesn't require all of you to fight. Just watch patiently. Of course, having a few cups of wine and a few snacks will make the show more enjoyable. Heavenly Fate Island claims to be able to read the heavens, to read life, and to read death, but I believe all of that to be bragging. They are just a group of conmen. Today, I'll expose their true faces. It was like something had shattered within Long Chen's body. A majestic aura surged out. A gust of wind unfurled with Long Chen at its center. The wind was like knives scraping against their faces. What a powerful aura! Startled cries rang out, but that wasn't all. Long Chen's aura was only growing stronger. People had no choice but to defend against it with their spiritual yuan. He's just attacking the Life Star realm. How can his aura be so powerful? Even the Nether Passage experts were stunned. This was merely the final bottleneck, but this aura was 10 times greater than most Life Star experts. As his aura grew, space rumbled. A terrifying pressure crashed down and surged through Heavenly Fate Island. HMPH, it's useless. Within this formation the heavens cannot find you, the tribulation cannot sense. The unfettered all-seer came to a sudden stop, his smile becoming rigid. He then slowly looked up, his expression changing. Following that voice that caused countless hearts to wildly pound, everyone saw a black-robed Long Chen walk in. The current Long Chen was extremely calm. He had no fear nor anger. The only expression on his face was disdain toward his enemies. Even though this place had gathered the top powers of the entire continent, he was looking down on them. He was walking casually like he was strolling through his own backyard. Long Chen had really come. The experts who had gathered as spectators knew that something major was about to occur today. Last time, because of Long Chen, a war had almost erupted throughout the continent. However, he had escaped, and Jianing had expelled him from the Martial Heaven Alliance, resulting in that war not occurring. Some praised Jianing for her foresight and judgment, as well as how she thought about the lives of this world. However, the rest called her powerless and weak, letting her own disciples suffer without standing up for him. They said that she had lost her domineering manner and was no longer fit to be a leader. Last time, the war was avoided because Long Chen had escaped. But now, he had come to a place where the top experts of every major power had gathered. How would he be able to escape this time? This place was a nest of monsters, but he had still thrown himself in. Furthermore, this nest was created because of him. There was no way his enemies would let him leave alive. If he died, what would the Martial Heaven Alliance do? If he died and the Martial Heaven Alliance didn't do anything about it, they would lose all their supporters. Those people had seen how much Long Chen had done for the Martial Heaven Alliance. So if he died, the Martial Heaven Alliance would be forced to go to war. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to keep their people. Even the 4 Grand Elders of the Martial Heaven Alliance had come. They were sitting behind Jianing, looking like statues. But everyone knew that those 4 possessed the power to destroy heaven and earth before they died. Right now, Long Chen would decide the fate of the Martial Heaven Alliance. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen. Countless young disciples stood up, shouting toward him. There were hundreds of thousands of them, some of them so emotional that they cried. The most emotional ones were those that had fought alongside him in the yin-yang world. They had managed to comprehend the life and death tide in the yin-yang world thanks to the Dragon Blood Legion's protection. Because of it, they had advanced to the Life Star realm without the slightest difficulty. This was thanks to Long Chen, thanks to the Dragon Blood Legion, and thanks to their fellow comrades who had sacrificed themselves to protect them. They would never forget this. They had been the most furious ones when Long Chen was expelled. Some of them had also wanted to leave the Martial Heaven Alliance because of it. Seeing Long Chen now, it was like they had returned to the yin-yang world when they had fought alongside him. Their voices raged like thunder. Long Chen is irreplaceable. Seeing Long Chen cause such a reaction just by arriving, Yi Lingshan smiled bitterly. She knew that no matter how she turned out to be, she would never couldn't compare to Long Chen in this regard. You'll have to work hard. Because you are a woman, you have to work harder to show that you won't lose to any man, comforted Jianing. However, Jianing was also amazed by Long Chen's charisma, which was irresistible to both men and women. His wild nature and his guts to risk his life for others without hesitation made others also willing to do the same for him. She suspected that these people possessed such a level of loyalty to him that as long as he beckoned, they would go fight to the death with him. Fuck, being a show-off without even trying is so cool. Mo Nian sighed. Just how was it that Long Chen received such a welcome while he was practically overlooked when he had come, although he had also caused a disturbance that had just been jeering and cursing, not this worshipful display? How was the difference between them so great? Brothers, after today, we can have a real match. There's no leaving until we're all drunk, and even when we're all drunk, there will be no leaving. Long Chen cupped his fists toward those disciples. His response was a heroic roar from those disciples. HMPH, you won't be living past today. True immortal Jiaoqi's icy voice rang out. He was already standing and pointing his halberd at Long Chen. Long Chen ignored him, not even glancing in his direction. He first bowed to Jianing. Alliance head, sorry for the trouble. I was the one who left the Martial Heaven Alliance, but I made you carry the burden. I will go apologize at your door another day. Hearing this, quite a few people looked at Jianing with surprise. Long Chen was the one who had wanted to leave the Martial Heaven Alliance. People didn't quite believe it. Was Long Chen lying to help out Jianing? The reason why I left the Martial Heaven Alliance is because I am establishing my own power. Starting today, my Dragon Blood Legion is joining the ranks of the major powers on the continent as the #1 legion of this world. So I'd like everyone who has come here today to bear witness to this. Today, this world will be losing a Heavenly Fate Island but gaining a Dragon Blood Legion, announced Long Chen. How brazen. It seems you've already gone insane. My Heavenly Fate Island has been standing for countless years. We've borne witness to the rise and fall of the continent. How could a little brat like you do anything to us? Sneered the unfettered all-seer. Long Chen looked at him and smiled. That smile seemed to be a mix of disdain and pity. Focus your gazes on me. First, you should look up. Long Chen pointed toward the sky. What? He plans on undergoing tribulation here. Mo Nian looked up and jumped in shock. At some point, black tribulation clouds had started to slowly revolve in the sky. There was a majestic energy growing within those clouds that made everyone feel uneasy. Taoist Heavenly Feather looked up at those black clouds, a touch of shock appearing in her eyes. However, she didn't say anything. Ha ha, how laughable. I know you've used this method before, but did you think that Heavenly Fate Island was defenseless? I'll tell you the truth. This Heavenly Fate platform that we're on has the innate ability to screen us from the very heavens. Otherwise, cultivators of fate would have been locked down by the heavens and turned to dust for our defiant actions. To think that you didn't even know this yet wanted to use lightning tribulation against us. Let alone you, even a nether passage expert's tribulation would be screened off. Now that you know this, you can die in peace, laughed the unfettered all-seer. Suddenly, all of Heavenly Fate Island shook, and pillars of light shot out of the platform that they were on. The light condensed into a giant barrier around all of Heavenly Fate Island. Haha, do you see? Your little tricks are nothing, sneered the unfettered all-seer. Following the arrival of the barrier, the black clouds slowly dissipated. Long Chen looked at the sky calmly without replying. What, have you been dumbfounded? Hurry up and come face your death. This time it was Huo Lian speaking. The flame runes in his eyes revolved. Long Chen, don't worry. If heavenly tribulation is no good, then we can just use the blades in our hands to kill them, said the old man. That's right. Even though I'm called a butcher, I haven't slaughtered pigs in a long time, added Tu Kaiansheng. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen were willing to fight to the death with you. Even the Life Star disciples joined in, all of them raising their weapons, their auras rising. Seeing that scene, Xuanhuan smiled faintly. This was precisely the result that he had wanted. However, at this moment, Long Chen waved his hand dismissively. A little Heavenly Fate Island doesn't require all of you to fight. Just watch patiently. Of course, having a few cups of wine and a few snacks will make the show more enjoyable. Heavenly Fate Island claims to be able to read the heavens, to read life, and to read death, but I believe all of that to be bragging. They are just a group of conmen. Today, I'll expose their true faces. It was like something had shattered within Long Chen's body. A majestic aura surged out. A gust of wind unfurled with Long Chen at its center. The wind was like knives scraping against their faces. What a powerful aura! Startled cries rang out, but that wasn't all. Long Chen's aura was only growing stronger. People had no choice but to defend against it with their spiritual yuan. He's just attacking the Life Star realm. How can his aura be so powerful? Even the Nether Passage experts were stunned. This was merely the final bottleneck, but this aura was 10 times greater than most Life Star experts. As his aura grew, space rumbled. A terrifying pressure crashed down and surged through Heavenly Fate Island. HMPH, it's useless. Within this formation, the heavens cannot find you. The tribulation cannot sense. The unfettered all-seer came to a sudden stop, his smile becoming rigid. He then slowly looked up, his expression changing. Chapter 1971. There was no change in the sky, but the barrier that was enveloping Heavenly Fate Island was starting to crack. But this is impossible. The unfettered all-seer's expression completely changed. Even a Nether Passage expert's tribulation would be blocked off in this special location. That was not just bragging. It was truly the case, with multiple examples in history. Even the tribulations of an even higher realm could be screened off, so the unfettered all-seer had felt complete disdain for Long Chen's actions. However, although there were no clouds, although there were no signs of heavenly tribulation, the barrier was starting to break. Suddenly, Long Chen let out a roar at the sky. His divine ring spun behind him, and light erupted out of his eyes. Boom! In front of countless experts, shocked gazes, Heavenly Fate Island's grand formation shattered. At the same time as the formation shattered, the sky rumbled, and a streak of lightning appeared in the air, coiling into a giant lightning ring. Every single person present, regardless of cultivation base, felt an extreme sense of danger. The might of the heavens enveloped them. It really is a tribulation of legends, but Long Chen is just a mortal. How is he supposed to pass this tribulation? Taoist Heavenly Feather slowly stood up and began to walk away, muttering to herself. Seeing this, Yijikyu hastily followed, holding her arm. Master, Yijikyu was befuddled. You should get further away. This heavenly tribulation is very dangerous. It's not something a human can endure, said Taoist Heavenly Feather. It's not something a human can endure. Then who can endure it? Asked Yijikyu. A monster. Taoist Heavenly Feather showed a smile that was not a smile, and walked out of Heavenly Fate Island. Yu Zaiuan, Zai Wenchen, Peng Wanli, Dai Long, and the others also rushed away. Although they had been shocked by this sight, they hadn't thought about leaving. But the fact that Taoist Heavenly Feather would walk away gave them a bad feeling. Suddenly, a pillar of lightning crashed down from the center of the lightning ring, attacking Long Chen. Lightning exploding, filling the sky with blinding light. The old man and the others had already left. Long Chen's heavenly tribulation was so terrifying that the pressure it exuded even before descending was enough to make them feel ice cold. Curious, Why does it seem that this attack has no power behind it? The strange thing was that, although this attack seemed like a furious attack intent on killing him in one blow, it was more like a firework. Although there was brilliant light, it didn't have much power. Even an ordinary life star expert would have been able to block it. This attack was just to create a mark, so it had no power, said Taoist Heavenly Feather. A mark? Everyone was dumbfounded. Only now did Jianying bring the Martial Heaven Alliance's experts to greet Taoist Heavenly Feather. The previous situation hadn't been appropriate for her to do so, as it would have felt like she was trying to pull her onto her side. Now everyone was standing together as they retreated from Heavenly Fate Island. Senior, do you know the origin of Long Chen's heavenly tribulation? Probed Jianying. Taoist Heavenly Feather seemed amicable enough and didn't seem to discriminate against anybody. I know a bit. However, I'm not sure about all of it, so let's just keep watching. This heavenly tribulation exists only in legend, said Taoist Heavenly Feather. At this moment, the sky darkened and tribulation clouds covered the sky. It was like the world had fallen into eternal night, into endless death. It looked like the end of the world. Just as people were terrified for their lives, a pillar of light lit up this dark world. It landed at the center of the Heavenly Fate platform, right on Long Chen. Within the darkness, the only light was that pillar. It was like Long Chen was the only one in this world. Lightning runes began to appear around Long Chen, making him appear godly. Even the heavens are helping him show off. That's definitely unprecedented. I, Monian, have to admit my defeat. Monian sighed. This was something that he would never be able to surpass. Long Chen looked up at the sky, his eyes calm as water. He had no thoughts of showing off because he knew that this would be his most difficult tribulation yet. He could already feel a sensation of death enveloping him. The sky suddenly exploded. The light spread, covering a wide area of Heavenly Fate Island. The unfettered all-seer's expression immediately sank. Such a terrifying heavenly tribulation was something he had never seen. If he allowed it to continue, Heavenly Fate Island would be turned into ruins. Kill him, don't let him undergo tribulation. 4 young disciples immediately stood up amongst the people of Heavenly Fate Island. Shockingly, their auras were not inferior to true immortal Jiaoqi and the others. The real 4 Fate Princes have finally come out. Jianying narrowed her eyes. Although it was a secret that Heavenly Fate Island had a deputy for each Fate Prince, she was still aware of it. The 4 Fate Princes pointed their rulers at Long Chen. The runes on their rulers lit up, forming a strange formation. It seemed like the 4 of them had a special combination attack. However, Hu Liyun, Dai Feng, Zai Luo, Gui Can, as well as Ming Jai's replacement, Yan Wei, also flew out, attacking Long Chen at the same time. This was their one chance to get revenge, as well as to establish their own superiority over the others. True immortal Jiaoqi roared, and a 9-colored streak of light flew through the air. He was the fastest with the Killing War Chariot. Long Chen, face your death. Wielding his halberd, true immortal Jiaoqi unleashed a vicious attack. At the same time, a ray of divine light shot out from his celestial horse, as well as the Killing War Chariot. He wanted to kill Long Chen with this attack. As long as Long Chen was killed, the heavenly tribulation would disappear, so they weren't worried. As for the other experts, they wished to kill Long Chen as well, but they didn't have the confidence to compete with them, so they just watched. This horse isn't bad, it should have quite a bit of meat. Long Chen sneered and raised his saber. However, he didn't slash it toward true immortal Jiaoqi. Instead, he slashed it at the sky. Boom! His saber tore through the sky, a giant cut appearing. He dares to attack his heavenly tribulation. People were appalled by this action. Wasn't this suicide? Perhaps suicidal actions were common for Long Chen, but it was shocking to others. Any disrespect to the heavenly Taos during a heavenly tribulation would cause the tribulation to become a terrifying punishment. Lightning poured out of the tier in the sky, surging down like a waterfall. The sound of rushing thunder boomed. That's divine lightning. Boom! Just at this moment, true immortal Jiaoqi arrived. However, the 9-colored celestial horse let out a mournful cry and hastily retreated. As for the Killing War Chariot's attack, due to the celestial horse retreating, its attack also missed. Only true immortal Jiaoqi charged through the lightning waterfall, but as he passed through the thick waterfall, his expression changed. The torrent of lightning was wearing away his power. His attack was down to 70% of its original force. The lightning stung his eyes. Before his vision cleared, a hand slapped across his face. True immortal Jade went flying. He smashed through the lightning waterfall and into the heavenly fate platform. He tumbled against the platform several times. That platform was even more durable than divine items, but many cracks appeared in it now. In the end, he slammed into one of its stone pillars before stopping. People looked at true immortal Jade with shock. He had been handled easily by a slap from Long Chen. It was like he had beaten a child. Was Long Chen really so powerful? That was true immortal Jade he had just handled. Someone at the fifth heaven stage of life star. Now, Long Chen's palm lines had been imprinted onto his face. True immortal Jade let out a furious roar and charged forward once more. "Idiot, have you been struck stupid? You're going in the wrong direction," sneered Mo Nian. Stars were still spinning in true immortal Jade's eyes. He had actually charged in the opposite direction of Long Chen. In the face of the amazed gazes of the martial heaven continent's experts, he almost went insane. He turned around, charging back toward Long Chen. As for his horse, it was terrified of the lightning and was already far away, attacking Long Chen from a distance. At this time, Hu Lian, Daifeng, Zai Luo Guican, Yan Wei and the others arrived, charging through the wild lightning waterfall. Just as that moment the sky exploded, a torrent of lightning poured down. There was no change in the sky, but the barrier that was enveloping Heavenly Fate Island was starting to crack. But this is impossible. The unfettered All-Seer's expression completely changed. Even a nether passage expert's tribulation would be blocked off in this special location. That was not just bragging. It was truly the case, with multiple examples in history. Even the tribulations of an even higher realm could be screened off, so the unfettered All-Seer had felt complete disdain for Long Chen's actions. However, although there were no clouds, although there were no signs of heavenly tribulation, the barrier was starting to break. Suddenly, Long Chen let out a roar at the sky. His divine ring spun behind him and light erupted out of his eyes. Boom! In front of countless experts' shocked gazes, Heavenly Fate Island's grand formation shattered. At the same time as the formation shattered, the sky rumbled and a streak of lightning appeared in the air, coiling into a giant lightning ring. Every single person present, regardless of cultivation base, felt an extreme sense of danger. The might of the heavens enveloped them. It really is a tribulation of legends. But Long Chen is just a mortal. How is he supposed to pass this tribulation? Taoist Heavenly Feather slowly stood up and began to walk away, muttering to herself. Seeing this, Yizikyu hastily followed, holding her arm. "Master," Yizikyu was befuddled. "You should get further away. This heavenly tribulation is very dangerous. It's not something a human can endure," said Taoist Heavenly Feather. "It's not something a human can endure." "Then who can endure it?" asked Yizikyu. "A monster." Taoist Heavenly Feather showed a smile that was not a smile and walked out of Heavenly Fate Island. Yu Xuanhuan, Zai Wenchen, Peng Wanli, Dai Long and the others also rushed away. Although they had been shocked by this sight, they hadn't thought about leaving. But the fact that Taoist Heavenly Feather would walk away gave them a bad feeling. Suddenly, a pillar of lightning crashed down from the center of the lightning ring, attacking Long Chen. Lightning exploding, filling the sky with blinding light. The old man and the others had already left. Long Chen's heavenly tribulation was so terrifying that the pressure it exuded even before descending was enough to make them feel ice cold. Curious. Why does it seem that this attack has no power behind it? The strange thing was that, although this attack seemed like a furious attack intent on killing him in one blow, it was more like a firework. Although there was brilliant light, it didn't have much power. Even an ordinary life star expert would have been able to block it. "This attack was just to create a mark, so it had no power," said Taoist Heavenly Feather. "A mark?" Everyone was dumbfounded. Only now did Jianing bring the Martial Heaven Alliance's experts to greet Taoist Heavenly Feather. The previous situation hadn't been appropriate for her to do so, as it would have felt like she was trying to pull her onto her side. Now everyone was standing together as they retreated from Heavenly Fate Island. "Senior, do you know the origin of Long Chen's heavenly tribulation?" probed Jianing. Taoist Heavenly Feather seemed amicable enough and didn't seem to discriminate against anybody. "I know a bit. However, I'm not sure about all of it, so let's just keep watching. This heavenly tribulation exists only in legend," said Taoist Heavenly Feather. At this moment, the sky darkened and tribulation clouds covered the sky. It was like the world had fallen into eternal night, into endless death. It looked like the end of the world. Just as people were terrified for their lives, a pillar of light lit up this dark world. It landed at the center of the Heavenly Fate platform, right on Long Chen. Within the darkness, the only light was that pillar. It was like Long Chen was the only one in this world. Lightning runes began to appear around Long Chen, making him appear godly. Even the heavens are helping him show off. That's definitely unprecedented. I'm Onion, have to admit my defeat. Onion sighed. This was something that he would never be able to surpass. Long Chen looked up at the sky, his eyes calm as water. He had no thoughts of showing off because he knew that this would be his most difficult tribulation yet. He could already feel a sensation of death enveloping him. The sky suddenly exploded. The light spread, covering a wide area of heavenly fate island. The unfettered All-Seer's expression immediately sank. Such a terrifying heavenly tribulation was something he had never seen. If he allowed it to continue, heavenly fate island would be turned into ruins. Kill him. Don't let him undergo tribulation. 4 young disciples immediately stood up amongst the people of heavenly fate island. Shockingly, their auras were not inferior to true immortal Jade and the others. The real 4 fate princes have finally come out. Jianying narrowed her eyes. Although it was a secret that heavenly fate island had a deputy for each fate prince, she was still aware of it. 4 fate princes pointed their rulers at Long Chen. The runes on their rulers lit up, forming a strange formation. It seemed like the 4 of them had a special combination attack. However, Hu Liyun, Dai Feng, Zai Luo Guican, as well as Ming Jai's replacement Yan Wei, also flew out, attacking Long Chen at the same time. This was their one chance to get revenge, as well as to establish their own superiority over the others. True immortal Jide roared, and a 9-colored streak of light flew through the air. He was the fastest with the Killing War Chariot. Long Chen, face your death. Wielding his halberd, true immortal Jide unleashed a vicious attack. At the same time, a ray of divine light shot out from his celestial horse, as well as the Killing War Chariot. He wanted to kill Long Chen with this attack. As long as Long Chen was killed, the heavenly tribulation would disappear, so they weren't worried. As for the other experts, they wished to kill Long Chen as well, but they didn't have the confidence to compete with them, so they just watched. This horse isn't bad, it should have quite a bit of meat. Long Chen sneered and raised his saber. However, he didn't slash it toward true immortal Jide. Instead, he slashed it at the sky. Boom, his saber tore through the sky, a giant cut appearing. He dares to attack his heavenly tribulation. People were appalled by this action. Wasn't this suicide? Perhaps suicidal actions were common for Long Chen, but it was shocking to others. Any disrespect to the heavenly Taos during a heavenly tribulation would cause the tribulation to become a terrifying punishment. Lightning poured out of the tier in the sky, surging down like a waterfall. The sound of rushing thunder boomed. That's divine lightning. Boom. Just at this moment, true immortal Jide arrived. However, the 9-colored celestial horse let out a mournful cry and hastily retreated. As for the Killing War Chariot's attack, due to the celestial horse retreating, its attack also missed. Only true immortal Jide charged through the lightning waterfall. But as he passed through the thick waterfall, his expression changed. The torrent of lightning was wearing away his power. His attack was down to 70% of its original force. The lightning stung his eyes. Before his vision cleared, a hand slapped across his face. True immortal Jide went flying. He smashed through the lightning waterfall and into the heavenly fate platform. He tumbled against the platform several times. That platform was even more durable than divine items, but many cracks appeared in it now. In the end, he slammed into one of its stone pillars before stopping. People looked at true immortal Jide with shock. He had been handled easily by a slap from Long Chen. It was like he had beaten a child. Was Long Chen really so powerful? That was true immortal Jide he had just handled. Someone at the 5th heaven stage of life star. Now, Long Chen's palm lines had been imprinted onto his face. True immortal Jide let out a furious roar and charged forward once more. Idiot, have you been struck stupid? You're going in the wrong direction, sneered Mo Nian. Stars were still spinning in true immortal Jide's eyes. He had actually charged in the opposite direction of Long Chen. In the face of the amazed gazes of the martial heaven continent's experts, he almost went insane. He turned around, charging back toward Long Chen. As for his horse, it was terrified of the lightning and was already far away, attacking Long Chen from a distance. At this time, Hu Liyun, Dai Feng, Zai Luo Guican, Yan Wei, and the others arrived, charging through the wild lightning waterfall. Just as that moment, the sky exploded. A torrent of lightning poured down. Chapter 1972. Audio player. Originally, the lightning had only been coming from the tier that Long Chen had cut in the sky. But now, it was like the dam had broken, and it poured down from every part of the sky. All of Heavenly Fate Island shook violently. The lightning spread in every direction. Although the Heavenly Fate platform was able to endure the lightning, the surrounding buildings weren't able to. They instantly exploded. Heavenly Fate Island was ravaged by the lightning. The beautiful scenery was turned into one of destruction. Even those who had enmity with Heavenly Fate Island couldn't help feeling bad that such a beautiful place was being destroyed. Long Chen, you vile monster. The unfettered All-Seer lost all his previous calm and disdain. Other than a few buildings that were still standing, Everything else within this lightning had been turned to rubble. As for those buildings that had survived, they were special buildings. There were quite a few of Heavenly Fate Island's people within them, crying out in shock and terror as they were now surrounded by lightning. They could only rely on the buildings' defenses to stay alive, but those defenses seemed paper-thin at this moment. This was just the start of Long Chen's tribulation, and it would only get stronger. If no one went to save them, those buildings wouldn't necessarily be able to survive. Island Master, save us. Those people let out cries. There were thousands of them. Long Chen, hurry and leave Heavenly Fate Island. Are you trying to get so many innocent people killed? Shouted the unfettered all-seer. Ha ha ha, Long Chen laughed derisively. As for true immortal Jioki, Hu Lian and the others, they were repelled by the lightning, unable to get close to him. Long Chen himself, despite being bathed in that lightning, wasn't harmed in the slightest. Innocent people. Why does that sound so laughable when it comes from your mouth? So even you have the concept of innocent people in your minds. Do you know how many wicked deeds you've helped Pill Valley with? What about the cloud-chasing, heaven-swallowing sparrow race? What about the righteous path? What about the sects you secretly destroyed? What about the chaos reigning on the martial heaven continent that you've intentionally caused? How many people have died because of your sinister plots? Weren't they innocent as well? You want to talk about innocence with me? Then let me ask you, how many fucking years did you spend cultivating the thickness of your skin so that it's impervious to sword and fire? Demanded Long Chen. The unfettered all-seer was as red as an apple. It seemed he still hadn't cultivated his skin to a high enough level. He was so angry that he didn't know how to reply. In the end, he finally found an excuse, an incredible excuse that was behind belief. That's all because of you. If you hadn't hidden yourself away, those innocent people wouldn't have died. So based on that, wouldn't my tribulation here at Heavenly Fate Island be because of you? Sneered Long Chen. Because of me, what? I sent you a challenge saying I was going to destroy Heavenly Fate Island. If you were smart, you would have simply disbanded your disciples and given Heavenly Fate Island to me. Then there would have been no tribulation. So it's all because of you, your foolishness, your overconfidence, and your greed. In that case, the innocent deaths of these disciples of Heavenly Fate Island have nothing to do with me, right? Laughed Long Chen. What bullshit? It's not as strong as your own bullshit. Stop yapping. If you have the guts, then come bite me. Seeing the master of Heavenly Fate Island be so infuriated, the old man and the others laughed. This was a truly satisfying sight. As for Jianying, she was worried. This heavenly tribulation was too terrifying. Just the first wave of it contained divine lightning. It was difficult to say whether or not Long Chen could pass it. Even if he could survive, this tribulation would leave him heavily injured. At that time, whether or not they could save him was unknown. At this time, even Li Tianxuan's expression was serious. Only two people in this world knew the truth behind Long Chen. One was him, and the other was Ling Yunzi. Li Tianxuan knew that Long Chen wouldn't die to other people's hands. His final fate was to die to heavenly tribulation. This time, even Li Tianxuan had no assurance. The lightning continued to rumble. True, immortal Jioki and the others were barely able to stay within it. They would need to expend a huge amount of energy just to advance further. In this kind of scenario, even if they did manage to charge over to Long Chen, their power would be exhausted. True immortal Jioki had already suffered once thanks to that. No one wanted to be the second. Let's not be impatient. Once the first wave is over, before the second wave starts, there will be a brief moment. We can attack together to slay Long Chen. Dai Feng sent a message to the others. They nodded and spread out, surrounding Long Chen. This thunder force wasn't able to cause too much damage to them. Because they were also heavenly geniuses, they had also been tempered by divine lightning during their tribulations, so they possessed some resistance. Zither Fairy, Long Chen is a slaughterer who is currently killing innocent people without the slightest mercy. Are you going to watch on the side as they are murdered? The unfettered all-seer suddenly turned to Ziyan. Everyone's attention immediately turned to Ziyan. Jianying and the others' hearts clenched. In this kind of situation, perhaps only Ziyan possessed the power to get Long Chen killed. As long as she wished it, she could use her zither music to affect Long Chen, strengthening his heart devil and getting him killed. The old man narrowed his eyes. As long as Ziyan made any move, he wouldn't care about any consequences. He wouldn't allow anyone to harm his child. However, Ziyan merely smiled and shook her head. Innocent? Actually, I'm also innocent, but no one helped me. Ziyan's smile was bitter and contained a mocking feeling. Actually, she had left out the final bit. In the end, the only one that had extended a helping hand had been Long Chen. In the yin-yang world, she had been affected by Grand Elder Yan Nanshan's words and made an agreement with the seven-string C suppressing zither to suppress her power and make her an ordinary rank 9 celestial. She had viewed the world from a different angle than that of the zither fairy. As a result, as soon as her view changed, the beautiful world she had once seen became vile and despicable. Once people tore off the disguise they pretended to have around her, she saw the darkness and blood. In the yin-yang world, the people that had once been respectful to her and happily listened to her expound on the Tao turned to mock her. They had once treated her like a god, but now they raised their butcher's knives against her. Although she said the same words instead of respect, she was met with derision. She had suffered immensely in the yin-yang world during this period. Killing people out of greed, the strong devouring the weak, she had personally experienced them. The worst was when she had saved someone, only to have that person backstab her and try to kill her. After that, her heart had grown cold. The unexpected thing, though, was that the only one who came to help her was Long Chen, her fated enemy. Now the unfettered all-seer wanted her to target Long Chen with the excuse of saving these innocent people. She felt it to be almost laughable. Seeing Zai Yan decline, the old man sighed with relief and turned back to Long Chen. He had a bitter smile. He glanced at the distant Jianing and thought to himself that Long Chen truly had some abilities. As for himself, he was unable to handle even a single woman. Jianing smiled while Mo Nian rolled his eyes. He felt like he shouldn't have come today. He was given blows from every direction. This Zai Yan had also been seized. Fickle-hearted men aren't reliable, don't you think so, little sister Lingshan? I feel like a person should focus only on one person, whispered Mo Nian. Surprisingly, Yi Lingshan shook her head. I disagree. An outstanding man should be like a mountain others look up to. They should fight, they should strive. As for those without a single woman beside them, they aren't interesting. If others didn't want them, then there's definitely some problem with them. Focusing on one is just an excuse. Others look down on them, so focusing on one is their only choice. Damn my heart. Mo Nian was embarrassed. Was there really such logic in this world? Furthermore, for it to come out of a woman's mouth left him speechless. He felt like Yi Lingshan had said it just to anger him. The unfettered all-seer's expression sank at Zai Yan's refusal, and he was about to speak when rumbling rang out. The buildings had finally reached their limit. Their formations crumbled, and the disciples within let out cries of despair as they were blown to bits. Long Chen, I'll make sure you have a miserable death today, roared the unfettered all-seer. The deaths of these thousands of people put him on the spot because this plan had been made by him. More rumbling rang out. The lightning in the sky suddenly began to weaken. Attack! This was the best time to kill Long Chen. True immortal Jai Oki led the charge, attacking together with Huo Lian, Zai Luo, Gui Can, Dai Feng, and the four Fate Princes. Originally, the lightning had only been coming from the tier that Long Chen had cut in the sky, but now it was like the dam had broken, and it poured down from every part of the sky. All of Heavenly Fate Island shook violently. The lightning spread in every direction. Although the Heavenly Fate platform was able to endure the lightning, the surrounding buildings weren't able to. They instantly exploded. Heavenly Fate Island was ravaged by the lightning. The beautiful scenery was turned into one of destruction. Even those who had enmity with Heavenly Fate Island couldn't help feeling bad that such a beautiful place was being destroyed. Long Chen, you vile monster. The unfettered all-seer lost all his previous calm and disdain. Other than a few buildings that were still standing, everything else within this lightning had been turned to rubble. As for those buildings that had survived, they were special buildings. There were quite a few of Heavenly Fate Island's people within them, crying out in shock and terror as they were now surrounded by lightning. They could only rely on the building's defenses to stay alive, but those defenses seemed paper-thin at this moment. This was just the start of Long Chen's tribulation, and it would only get stronger. If no one went to save them, those buildings wouldn't necessarily be able to survive. Island Master, save us. Those people let out cries. There were thousands of them. Long Chen, hurry and leave Heavenly Fate Island. Are you trying to get so many innocent people killed? Shouted the unfettered all-seer. Ha ha ha. Long Chen laughed derisively. As for true immortal Jai Oki, Huo Lian, and the others, they were repelled by the lightning, unable to get close to him. Long Chen himself, despite being bathed in that lightning, wasn't harmed in the slightest. Innocent people. Why does that sound so laughable when it comes from your mouth? So even you have the concept of innocent people in your minds. Do you know how many wicked deeds you've helped Pill Valley with? What about the cloud chasing heaven swallowing sparrow race? What about the righteous path? What about the sex you secretly destroyed? What about the chaos reigning on the martial heaven continent that you've intentionally caused? How many people have died because of your sinister plots? Weren't they innocent as well? You want to talk about innocence with me? And let me ask you, how many fucking years did you spend cultivating the thickness of your skin so that it's impervious to sword and fire? Demanded Long Chen. You. The unfettered all-seer was as red as an apple. It seemed he still hadn't cultivated his skin to high enough level. He was so angry that he didn't know how to reply. In the end, he finally found an excuse, an incredible excuse that was behind belief. That's all because of you. If you hadn't hidden yourself away, those innocent people wouldn't have died. So based on that, wouldn't my tribulation here at Heavenly Fate Island be because of you? Sneered Long Chen. Because of me? What? I sent you a challenge saying I was going to destroy Heavenly Fate Island. If you were smart, you would have simply disbanded your disciples and given Heavenly Fate Island to me. Then there would have been no tribulation. So it's all because of you, your foolishness, your overconfidence, and your greed. In that case, the innocent deaths of these disciples of Heavenly Fate Island have nothing to do with me, right? Laughed Long Chen. You. What bullshit? It's not as strong as your own bullshit. Stop yapping. If you have the guts, then come bite me. Seeing the master of Heavenly Fate Island be so infuriated, the old man and the others laughed. This was a truly satisfying sight. As for Jianying, she was worried. This heavenly tribulation was too terrifying. Just the first wave of it contained divine lightning. It was difficult to say whether or not Long Chen could pass it. Even if he could survive, this tribulation would leave him heavily injured. At that time, whether or not they could save him was unknown. At this time, even Li Tianxuan's expression was serious. Only two people in this world knew the truth behind Long Chen. One was him, and the other was Ling Yunzi. Li Tianxuan knew that Long Chen wouldn't die to other people's hands. His final fate was to die to heavenly tribulation. This time, even Li Tianxuan had no assurance. The lightning continued to rumble. True immortal Jiaoqi and the others were barely able to stay within it. They would need to expend a huge amount of energy just to advance further. In this kind of scenario, even if they did manage to charge over to Long Chen, their power would be exhausted. True immortal Jiaoqi had already suffered once thanks to that. No one wanted to be the second. Let's not be impatient. Once the first wave is over, before the second wave starts, there will be a brief moment. We can attack together to slay Long Chen. Dai Feng sent a message to the others. They nodded and spread out, surrounding Long Chen. This thunder force wasn't able to cause too much damage to them. Because they were also heavenly geniuses, they had also been tempered by divine lightning during their tribulations, so they possessed some resistance. Zither Fairy, Long Chen is a slaughterer who is currently killing innocent people without the slightest mercy. Are you going to watch on the side as they are murdered? The unfettered all-seer suddenly turned to Ziyan. Everyone's attention immediately turned to Ziyan. Jianying and the others' hearts clenched. In this kind of situation, perhaps only Ziyan possessed the power to get Long Chen killed. As long as she wished it, she could use her zither music to affect Long Chen, strengthening his heart devil and getting him killed. The old man narrowed his eyes. As long as Ziyan made any move, he wouldn't care about any consequences. He wouldn't allow anyone to harm his child. However, Ziyan merely smiled and shook her head. Innocent. Actually, I'm also innocent, but no one helped me. Ziyan's smile was bitter and contained a mocking feeling. Actually, she had left out the final bit. In the end, the only one that had extended a helping hand had been Long Chen. In the yin-yang world, she had been affected by Grand Elder Yan Nanshan's words and made an agreement with the 7-string C-suppressing zither to suppress her power and make her an ordinary rank 9 celestial. She had viewed the world from a different angle than that of the zither fairy. As a result, as soon as her view changed, the beautiful world she had once seen became vile and despicable. Once people tore off the disguise they pretended to have around her, she saw the darkness and blood. In the yin-yang world, the people that had once been respectful to her and happily listened to her expound on the Tao turned to mock her. They had once treated her like a god, but now they raised their butcher's knives against her. Although she said the same words instead of respect, she was met with derision. She had suffered immensely in the yin-yang world during this period. Killing people out of greed, the strong devouring the weak, she had personally experienced them. The worst was when she had saved someone, only to have that person backstab her and try to kill her. After that, her heart had grown cold. The unexpected thing, though, was that the only one who came to help her was Long Chen, her fated enemy. Now the unfettered all-seer wanted her to target Long Chen with the excuse of saving these innocent people. She felt it to be almost laughable. Seeing Ziyan decline, the old man sighed with relief and turned back to Long Chen. He had a bitter smile. He glanced at the distant Jianying and thought to himself that Long Chen truly had some abilities. As for himself, he was unable to handle even a single woman. Jianying smiled, while Mo Nian rolled his eyes. He felt like he shouldn't have come today. He was given blows from every direction. This Ziyan had also been seized. Fickle-hearted men aren't reliable, don't you think so, little sister Lingshan? I feel like a person should focus only on one person, whispered Mo Nian. Surprisingly, Yi Lingshan shook her head. I disagree. An outstanding man should be like a mountain others look up to. They should fight, they should strive. As for those without a single woman beside them, they aren't interesting. If others didn't want them, then there's definitely some problem with them. Focusing on one is just an excuse. Others look down on them, so focusing on one is their only choice. Damn, my heart. Mo Nian was embarrassed. Was there really such logic in this world? Furthermore, for it to come out of a woman's mouth left him speechless. He felt like Yi Lingshan had said it just to anger him. The unfettered All-Seer's expression sank at Ziyan's refusal, and he was about to speak when rumbling rang out. The buildings had finally reached their limit. Their formations crumbled, and the disciples within let out cries of despair as they were blown to bits. Long Chen, I'll make sure you have a miserable death today, roared the unfettered All-Seer. The deaths of these thousands of people put him on the spot because this plan had been made by him. More rumbling rang out. The lightning in the sky suddenly began to weaken. Attack! This was the best time to kill Long Chen. True immortal Jiaoqi led the charge, attacking together with Huo Liyun, Zai Luo, Gui Can, Dai Feng, and the four Fate Princes. Chapter 1973. Audio Player. This was the buffer room in the Heavenly Tribulation's tempo. It was like a brief breather. Before gathering strength, people would usually take a deep breath. The heavens were the same. Once the first wave of the tribulation was over, the second wave would descend, but first there would be a brief moment of accumulating energy. True, immortal Jiaoqi and the others had been waiting for this brief moment. Long Chen's heavenly tribulation did have some benefits to them. When they had gone through their tribulations, divine lightning had only come down toward the end. There had been a limited time for them to use it to temper their bodies. Now they had another chance to temper their bodies. However, while true immortal Jiaoqi and the others had been able to patiently wait for this moment, Heavenly Fate Island was not. Their buildings had been destroyed. Each one of those buildings was connected to cores and formations under the ground. Those were buildings that generations of people had poured their blood, sweat, and tears into building. They had already been nourished by the minerals beneath them for countless years and had given rise to their own spirits. They were very beneficial for the disciples when it came time to read the lines of fate. It was like a towering tree they had cultivated for years had been knocked down. Just how long would it take it to regrow? The four Fate Princes were red-eyed. How could they not be infuriated by the damage Long Chen was doing to their home? So while true immortal Jiaoqi had been content to keep waiting, the four Fate Princes weren't. So true immortal Jiaoqi and the others had to attack now to fight over their chance to kill Long Chen. Long Chen snorted at their attacks. A dragon's cry rang out, and a lightning portal appeared behind him. Roars shook the sky as giant lightning drakes flew out. They were the lightning field's drakes. In the past, Long Chen was unable to create a large channel due to his limited power. However, now he was using the surrounding energy of the tribulation lightning to create the largest possible channel. The lightning drakes soared out, charging at true immortal Jiaoqi and the others. These lightning drakes are many times stronger than back in the yin-yang world. A cry rang out. 9 lightning drakes appeared, forcing back true immortal Jiaoqi. Long Chen had no intention of further attacking though. The main thing was that he couldn't do anything even if he did. Don't be impatient. The good show will start later. According to reason, he should currently be condensing his astral space. However, this wild torrent of lightning hadn't caused his body to change at all. Perhaps the current strength of the lightning wasn't enough for him to condense his astral space, so he was waiting for stronger lightning. True immortal Jiaoqi and the others had no time to try attacking again. Lightning condensed in the sky, and a group of humanoid figures descended from it. Ancient heroic spirits. The Life Star experts were stunned to see such existences appear. These figures had only appeared at the final moment of their tribulations, and they had ended up using up all their power to defeat them. The ancient heroic spirits were geniuses that had failed their own tribulations and been killed. The heavens had branded their techniques into themselves, summoning them for future tribulations. They were extremely powerful, and most Life Star experts that failed their tribulations died to them. An ordinary Life Star expert would normally only have one of them appear at the end. As for the geniuses that had been gathered here, the majority of them had encountered 9 of the ancient heroic spirits at once. 9 was a peak. It had taken an intense battle for them to beat the ancient heroic spirits and complete their tribulations. That battle had been dangerous and difficult, but it was one of the battles they were proudest of. Now, that pride shattered as they looked up at the sky. At this moment, the sky was filled with ancient heroic spirits. What kind of monster is he? Who on earth would possess such a terrifying tribulation? How are you supposed to pass? The Life Star experts felt like they had gone crazy. Even the Nether Passage experts were stunned. The ancient heroic spirits flew down from the sky, their bodies wrapped in lightning. Other than that, they appeared no different from real people. There were men and women, but they were all young and powerful. All kinds of runes appeared in the sky as they used their magical arts and divine abilities. True immortal Jyoki and the others were also drawn into fights with them. However, people were shocked by how powerful they were. True immortal Jyoki's halberd danced, and he killed 3 of the ancient heroic spirits in an instant, transforming them into lightning runes. That made people sigh in admiration. He was worthy of being an expert that stood at the peak of all heavenly geniuses. For others, they needed to use all their power to beat the ancient heroic spirits, but true immortal Jyoki slew 3 of them with a casual blow. True immortal Jyoki and the others no longer had an opportunity to bother Long Chen. There were too many ancient heroic spirits. They covered heaven and earth, and the experts were surrounded. They could only slaughter the ancient heroic spirits. As for the lightning drakes, they also didn't bother with true immortal Jyoki and the others any longer. They began crazily devouring the ancient heroic spirits. "Many thanks, Brother Long," the lightning drakes cried out in delight. They were like starving beasts that had finally encountered meat. Last time, the Dragonblood Legion's tribulation hadn't been enough to satisfy them. As for Lei Long, it was devouring the ancient heroic spirits that approached Long Chen. Originally, the majority of the ancient heroic spirits had been charging at Long Chen, but after going through the lightning drakes, the number that reached him was much lower. Lei Long didn't need to expend much energy to devour them at all. The ancient heroic spirits were not actually alive. They were husks created by the tribulation. Ever since the start of the tribulation, Long Chen had yet to personally do anything. The only thing he had done was slap true immortal Jyoki that one time. Then he had just been standing there. This is practically cheating. People's jaws dropped. Who actually went through tribulation like this? No wonder Long Chen can control lightning tribulation. He actually has such a terrifying lightning beast. People now understood the rumors of Long Chen being able to control heavenly tribulation lightning. Before this, they had thought that those were simply exaggerated rumors, but now they witnessed it personally. Countless experts were crazy with envy. No wonder Long Chen dared to challenge the heavenly tribulation. With such a terrifying lightning housebit, then even if there was a flaw after a tribulation, he could use the housebit to undergo a second tempering. That lightning beast was a priceless treasure. True immortal Jyoki and the others were pleasantly surprised to find that, after they killed the ancient heroic spirits, the latter would transform into lightning runes that would be absorbed by them. When they had gone through their tribulations, the Thunder Force hadn't been so pure. "This bastard, he's been blessed by the heavens. No wonder he's so strong." Dai Feng suddenly sent a message to true immortal Jyoki, Huo Lian, Zai Luo, Gui Kan, and Yan Wei. "Long Chen's lightning tribulation is very beneficial to us. He's been blessed by the heavens. Why don't we strip him of this luck by sharing his tribulation?" Even Huo Lian could sense the Thunder Force cleansing the impurities in his new flame body. His flame energy was growing purer. Hence, all the others also agreed with Dai Feng's proposal. Dai Feng was quite crafty, and he intentionally left out the 4 Fate Princes. Dai Feng and the others didn't care about the destruction of Heavenly Fate Island. They just wanted to kill Long Chen, and any benefits they could dredge up by doing so were a bonus. Before this, they had been worried that the 4 Fate Princes would be able to slay Long Chen on their own, but now it seemed that if they all didn't cooperate, just the 4 of them wouldn't be able to kill him. Dai Feng's proposal quickly received replies of assent from the others. Only the 4 Fate Princes were still glaring at Long Chen, looking for a chance. The 4 Fate Princes were able to seamlessly work together, and they had profound combination tactics that made the ancient heroic spirits unable to even approach them. "Brother Long, this is amazing," one of the lightning drakes shouted out in joy. They were now addicted to Long Chen's tribulation lightning. As they devoured more lightning, they grew larger and stronger. That also meant that they were capable of devouring even more of the ancient heroic spirits. Now, Lei Long didn't even need to join in. Lei Long shrank down and patiently coiled around Long Chen's body, watching as the 9 lightning drakes shouted. It suddenly rubbed its head on Long Chen's face. Long Chen couldn't help scolding. "It's enough for me to have bad language. You shouldn't learn it." Lei Long was growing more and more intelligent, and it was actually scolding the lightning drakes as country bumpkins with no experience, making Long Chen speechless. Lei Long was actually mirroring his own words. It seemed it had been corrupted by him. Boom! The sky shook, and 5-colored lightning descended. One giant lightning beast after another came roaring down. This is 5-colored peak lightning. This was the buffer room in the heavenly tribulation's tempo. It was like a brief breather. Before gathering strength, people would usually take a deep breath. The heavens were the same. Once the first wave of the tribulation was over, the second wave would descend, but first there would be a brief moment of accumulating energy. True immortal Jioki and the others had been waiting for this brief moment. Long Chen's heavenly tribulation did have some benefits to them. When they had gone through their tribulations, divine lightning had only come down toward the end. There had been a limited time for them to use it to temper their bodies. Now they had another chance to temper their bodies. However, while true immortal Jioki and the others had been able to patiently wait for this moment, Heavenly Fate Island was not. Their buildings had been destroyed. Each one of those buildings was connected to cores and formations under the ground. Those were buildings that generations of people had poured their blood, sweat, and tears into building. They had already been nourished by the minerals beneath them for countless years and had given rise to their own spirits. They were very beneficial for the disciples when it came time to read the lines of fate. It was like a towering tree they had cultivated for years had been knocked down. Just how long would it take it to regrow? The 4 fate princes were red-eyed. How could they not be infuriated by the damage Long Chen was doing to their home? So, while true immortal Jioki had been content to keep waiting, the 4 fate princes weren't. So true immortal Jioki and the others had to attack now to fight over their chance to kill Long Chen. Long Chen snorted at their attacks. A dragon's cry rang out, and a lightning portal appeared behind him. Roars shook the sky as giant lightning drakes flew out. They were the lightning field's drakes. In the past, Long Chen was unable to create a large channel due to his limited power. However, now he was using the surrounding energy of the tribulation lightning to create the largest possible channel. The lightning drakes soared out, charging at true immortal Jioki and the others. These lightning drakes are many times stronger than back in the yin-yang world. A cry rang out. 9 lightning drakes appeared, forcing back true immortal Jioki. Long Chen had no intention of further attacking though. The main thing was that he couldn't do anything even if he did. Don't be impatient. The good show will start later. According to reason, he should currently be condensing his astral space. However, this wild torrent of lightning hadn't caused his body to change at all. Perhaps the current strength of the lightning wasn't enough for him to condense his astral space, so he was waiting for stronger lightning. True immortal Jioki and the others had no time to try attacking again. Lightning condensed in the sky, and a group of humanoid figures descended from it. Ancient heroic spirits. The Life Star experts were stunned to see such existences appear. These figures had only appeared at the final moment of their tribulations, and they had ended up using up all their power to defeat them. The ancient heroic spirits were geniuses that had failed their own tribulations and been killed. The heavens had branded their techniques into themselves, summoning them for future tribulation. They were extremely powerful, and most Life Star experts that failed their tribulations died to them. An ordinary Life Star expert would normally only have one of them appear at the end. As for the geniuses that had been gathered here, the majority of them had encountered 9 of the ancient heroic spirits at once. 9 was a peak. It had taken an intense battle for them to beat the ancient heroic spirits and complete their tribulations. That battle had been dangerous and difficult, but it was one of the battles they were proudest of. Now that pride shattered as they looked up at the sky. At this moment, the sky was filled with ancient heroic spirits. What kind of monster is he? Who on earth would possess such a terrifying tribulation? How are you supposed to pass? The Life Star experts felt like they had gone crazy. Even the Nether Passage experts were stunned. The ancient heroic spirits flew down from the sky, their bodies wrapped in lightning. Other than that, they appeared no different from real people. There were men and women, but they were all young and powerful. All kinds of runes appeared in the sky as they used their magical arts and divine abilities. True immortal Jioki and the others were also drawn into fights with them. However, people were shocked by how powerful they were. True immortal Jioki's halberd danced, and he killed 3 of the ancient heroic spirits in an instant, transforming them into lightning runes. That made people sigh in admiration. He was worthy of being an expert that stood at the peak of all heavenly geniuses. For others, they needed to use all their power to beat the ancient heroic spirits, but true immortal Jioki slew 3 of them with a casual blow. True immortal Jioki and the others no longer had an opportunity to bother Long Chen. There were too many ancient heroic spirits. They covered heaven and earth, and the experts were surrounded. They could only slaughter the ancient heroic spirits. As for the lightning drakes, they also didn't bother with true immortal Jade and the others any longer. They began crazily devouring the ancient heroic spirits. "Many thanks, Brother Long," the lightning drakes cried out in delight. They were like starving beasts that had finally encountered meat. Last time, the Dragonblood Legion's tribulation hadn't been enough to satisfy them. As for Lei Long, it was devouring the ancient heroic spirits that approached Long Chen. Originally, the majority of the ancient heroic spirits had been charging at Long Chen, but after going through the lightning drakes, the number that reached him was much lower. Lei Long didn't need to expend much energy to devour them at all. The ancient heroic spirits were not actually alive. They were husks created by the tribulation. Ever since the start of the tribulation, Long Chen had yet to personally do anything. The only thing he had done was slap true immortal Jade that one time. Then he had just been standing there. This is practically cheating. People's jaws dropped. Who actually went through tribulation like this? No wonder Long Chen can control lightning tribulation. He actually has such a terrifying lightning beast. People now understood the rumors of Long Chen being able to control heavenly tribulation lightning. Before this, they had thought that those were simply exaggerated rumors, but now they witnessed it personally. Countless experts were crazy with envy. No wonder Long Chen dared to challenge the heavenly tribulation. With such a terrifying lightning housebit, then even if there was a flaw after a tribulation, he could use the housebit to undergo a second tempering. That lightning beast was a priceless treasure. True immortal Jade and the others were pleasantly surprised to find that, after they killed the ancient heroic spirits, the latter would transform into lightning runes that would be absorbed by them. When they had gone through their tribulations, the Thunder Force hadn't been so pure. "This bastard, he's been blessed by the heavens. No wonder he's so strong." Dai Feng suddenly sent a message to true immortal Jade, Huo Lian, Zai Luo, Gui Can, and Yan Wei. "Long Chen's lightning tribulation is very beneficial to us. He's been blessed by the heavens. Why don't we strip him of this luck by sharing his tribulation?" Even Huo Lian could sense the Thunder Force cleansing the impurities in his new flame body. His flame energy was growing purer. Hence, all the others also agreed with Dai Feng's proposal. Dai Feng was quite crafty, and he intentionally left out the 4 Fate Princes. Dai Feng and the others didn't care about the destruction of Heavenly Fate Island. They just wanted to kill Long Chen, and any benefits they could dredge up by doing so were a bonus. Before this, they had been worried that the 4 Fate Princes would be able to slay Long Chen on their own, but now it seemed that if they all didn't cooperate, just the 4 of them wouldn't be able to kill him. Dai Feng's proposal quickly received replies of assent from the others. Only the 4 Fate Princes were still glaring at Long Chen, looking for a chance. The 4 Fate Princes were able to seamlessly work together, and they had profound combination tactics that made the ancient heroic spirits unable to even approach them. "Brother Long, this is amazing," one of the lightning drakes shouted out in joy. They were now addicted to Long Chen's tribulation lightning. As they devoured more lightning, they grew larger and stronger. That also meant that they were capable of devouring even more of the ancient heroic spirits. Now, Lei Long didn't even need to join in. Lei Long shrank down and patiently coiled around Long Chen's body, watching as the 9 lightning drakes shouted. It suddenly rubbed its head on Long Chen's face. Long Chen couldn't help scolding. "It's enough for me to have bad language. You shouldn't learn it." Lei Long was growing more and more intelligent, and it was actually scolding the lightning drakes as country bumpkins with no experience, making Long Chen speechless. Lei Long was actually mirroring his own words. It seemed it had been corrupted by him. Boom! The sky shook and 5-colored lightning descended. One giant lightning beast after another came roaring down. This is 5-colored peak lightning. This kind of tribulation existed only in legends. However, back outside the eastern Xuanhuan city, countless experts had managed to witness this legendary lightning. At that time, it had been Yi Qingquang who had summoned his tribulation and been killed by Long Chen. At that time, Long Chen had provoked the heavens, inciting this 5-colored lightning to descend. This kind of lightning could no longer be called heavenly tribulation. It was heavenly punishment. Heavenly tribulation was just a trial, but heavenly punishment was to kill. Long Chen has angered the heavens. This lightning tribulation, it's so powerful. Tu Qiansheng couldn't help clenching his fists upon seeing so many lightning beasts descending from the sky. "Little brats, look well. See how Long Chen doesn't even blink in the face of the heavens' fury. Then look at yourselves. I hit you a few times with a stick and you flee like rabbits. Aren't you all cowards?" The old man shook his cane at Bao Buping and the others. "HMPH, his tribulation will end in just a bit. But you come to find trouble with us all day long. Does bullying the little fellow make you seem strong? If you have the ability, then let's fight once we reach the Nether Passage realm as well, said Balbuping. Little brat, good, so you dare to have a tough mouth. Then all of you just wait, snorted the old man. Reporting, it was just Balbuping. It has nothing to do with us. The other disciples hastily raised their hands to express their innocence. So you don't even have the daring to have a tough mouth. You're even more cowardly. Just wait, shouted the old man. This time, all the heaven-splitting battle-sex disciples wilted like flowers that had met a night's frost. Jianying and the others shook their heads. If he acted so powerful, then his disciples would be living under his shadow. Just how would they grow? The way that the heaven-splitting battle sect raised its disciples was truly unique. The 5-colored lightning beasts were still roaring in the sky, being in the phase of accumulating energy. At this moment, the 4 fate princes charged at Long Chen, but they were blocked by the lightning drakes. As for true immortal Jioki and the others, they were unfortunately one step slower. Before they could do anything else, the thousands of beasts in the sky roared and smashed down like meteorites. It was like a barrier had broken. This isn't 5-colored peak lightning. That lightning contains different energy. Amongst the crowd, Hu Feng suddenly let out a shocked cry. Boom! The first lightning beast smashed into the heavenly fate platform. A large hole actually appeared, and countless cracks spread. The incomparably tough heavenly fate platform was actually unable to endure. One giant dragon turtle had appeared. It was a dirt yellow color, and when it opened its mouth, a giant earth-colored sphere shot at Long Chen. Long Chen finally had to move, dodging the attack. As a result, it shot past him, leaving a deep gorge on Heavenly Fate Island. Jaws dropped. This attack possessed the power to annihilate an ordinary Nether Passage expert of the first step. How could a soul transformation disciple attacking the Life Star realm cause such a terrifying tribulation? The most shocking thing of all was that the dragon turtle actually used earth energy. How can a lightning beast's attack contain the earth element's energy within it? That's impossible. People felt like they were going crazy. That earth element attack toppled their understanding of heavenly tribulation. This is 5 elements divine lightning. The divine lightning contains the energy of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. They can be called lightning metal energy, lightning wood energy, etc. Their destructive power is truly shocking. Taoist Heavenly Feather suddenly spoke. However, none of those is the important point. Then what is the important point? Taoist Heavenly Feather smiled faintly, but didn't reply. More and more lightning beasts descended, attacking Long Chen. There were various forms: dragons, phoenixes, elephants, and even one in the form of a giant tree. That giant tree unleashed rays of divine light that were like swords. The lightning drakes roared and formed a giant barrier in front of Long Chen as they attacked these divine lightning beasts. However, while they had been capable of devouring the ancient heroic spirits easily, these divine lightning beasts were fighting back, so it was much more difficult to eat them. As they tore at the divine lightning beasts' bodies, they devoured their energy. They were shocked to find that as they devoured them, their own energy rapidly grew. Kill them, the lightning drakes went wild with ecstasy. In their eyes, these divine lightning beasts had transformed into giant pieces of succulent meat that they couldn't resist. As for Lei Long, it was also forced to participate in the battle. These lightning beasts were also very beneficial to it as they were no longer little seeds. They might not be rich pieces of meat, but they were at least appetizers. Long Chen was protected behind them. The divine lightning beasts were unable to reach him. However, true immortal Jioki and the others were thrown into disorder. These divine lightning beasts possessed the power to kill Nether Passage experts, and there was an endless number of them. These experts were forced to focus on them. All of Heavenly Fate Island shook intensely. Their power was terrifying. The earth element divine lightning beasts in particular caused immense damage to the Heavenly Fate platform. It looked like it might shatter at any moment. The unfettered All-Seer's old face was twitching. Now he regretted things. He had brought a wolf to his house and couldn't chase it away. His face was green, but there was nothing he could do. Long Chen's tribulation was too terrifying. If he touched it, he would be sensed by the heavenly Taos. Moreover, he wasn't a Life Star disciple. If a Nether Passage expert were to suddenly enter, it would be like throwing oil into a stove. He would definitely die. As for Life Star disciples, the only ones capable of enduring this terrifying tribulation were the ones that had already entered. Anyone else would die. Perhaps the only one capable of tipping the scales was Ziyan. However, Ziyan was still calmly watching. Unfettered, All-Seer had tried reaching out to her several times, but she hadn't responded. He even secretly invited Hu Feng to go, but Hu Feng responded with silence, angering him. He begged the heavens for help, but no help came. He begged the earth, but he got no response. Now that things had developed to this point, the only hope was for the 4 Fate Princes and the others to kill Long Chen. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen isn't attacking. If he attacked them, he should be able to heavily injure them. Why isn't he doing anything? Whispered one of the disciples of the Martial Heaven Alliance. They could see that true immortal Jade and the others were finding it difficult to handle the divine lightning beasts. As for Long Chen, he was just standing there, with no intention of attacking. True immortal Jade and the others hadn't gone all out yet, nor could they, as their trump cards would be exposed in front of Long Chen and the others. No one was so foolish as to do that. Some trump cards would be useless as long as their opponents knew about them. It was only when their opponents didn't know about them would the trump cards have the most effect. This difference was especially important at their level, when the difference between them was so little that the slightest bit could decide victory or defeat. Other than casually slapping true immortal Jaioki's face, Long Chen hadn't attacked them. Others were unable to understand what he was thinking. You don't understand just how terrifying this lightning tribulation is. Long Chen has to preserve his peak state to handle the last phases of the tribulation, said Taoist Heavenly Feather. She actually answered that ordinary disciple. You mean this isn't the final wave? Asked the disciple. Of course not. Even someone as powerful as Long Chen will only have a slim chance of surviving this tribulation. If Long Chen isn't attacking, it's because he doesn't dare to. Each bit of power can influence the final result. Long Chen won't waste his energy killing them. Besides, true immortal Jaioki and the others are capable of leaving if they sense danger because the tribulation is locked onto Long Chen. As long as they flee its range, the tribulation won't bother them. As Empyreans, they are favored by the heavens. So ignoring whether or not Long Chen could kill them if he tried, he would still end up dying to his own tribulation, said Taoist Heavenly Feather. People were shocked to hear this. Originally, they had felt that this would be the final wave. There had already been several waves, and the tribulation had already strengthened immensely. Did none of that matter? Master Long Chen, Yijikyu bit her lip. Foolish child, don't try to deceive yourself. Do you think if I said he could pass, he would pass? Just keep watching. Taoist Heavenly Feather held Yijikyu's hand, shaking it. After an hour, a streak of lightning lit up in the sky. It followed the same path as the first streak of lightning that had marked the start of the tribulation. Now that it was lighting up again, it formed a giant lightning gate. A terrifying apocalyptic pressure descended. Now is the real start. Long Chen looked up and took a deep breath. Battle intent raged in his eyes as he looked at the lightning gate that was about the same size as all of Heavenly Fate Island. The lightning gate in the sky slowly opened. More and more lightning beasts descended from within, and they were clearly more numerous than before. However, there was a certain lightning mark on their heads. The senior generation was stunned by that sight. The divine mark of the heavenly Taos. Long Chen has fully infuriated the heavenly Taos. This mark represented the will of the world. When it appeared, it meant that the world was intent on annihilating someone. In other words, Long Chen could no longer exist within the heavenly Taos. Boom! When the first lightning beast with that mark descended, one of the lightning drakes went to block it. However, it was actually sent flying. True immortal Jaioki and the others' expressions changed. True immortal Jaioki received one of their blows, resulting in him almost losing his grip on his halberd. What do we do? Without going all out, there's no way we can block them. If we do go all out, will we still be able to kill Long Chen after exposing our trump cards? Yan Wei sent a message to the others. We can't expose our trump cards. Killing Long Chen is more important. Let's leave, sighed Dai Feng. Impossible. If we leave, Heavenly Fate Island will be destroyed by the tribulation, raged one of the Fate Princes. Sorry, we just don't have the ability. If Long Chen learns our trump cards and is on guard, he might be able to get away. We have to save them to kill him. Everything else isn't important in comparison, said Dai Feng. He was the first to leave. Boom! However, just at that moment his expression changed. A dozen of the lightning beasts actually blocked him. Being attacked by so many, he coughed up blood despite his hasty block. Just as he was injured, a lightning sword shot over at the back of his head. Not good. The lightning has gone crazy. It no longer differentiates between people inside the tribulation. Zai Luo and the others' expressions changed. They were powerful empyreans blessed by the heavens. Although the lightning beasts had previously been violent, they had still been gentle in comparison toward them. But now, they were shocked to find that the new lightning beasts no longer cared that they were empyreans. The lightning beasts were fully intent on annihilating them. "Run, if we still don't run, it'll be too late," shouted Xuanhuan. He was finally afraid. Originally, they had relied on their status as empyreans with great karmic luck to protect them from the heavenly Taos. They should have been able to come and go as they wished. But now they found that they were wrong. If they still didn't leave, they might have to endure the entire lightning tribulation with Chen. Unfortunately for them, they were clearly one step too late. The gate in the sky was gigantic and they were at the center. Hence, they were surrounded. "Join together and charge," shouted Daifeng. The four Fate Princes were unwilling, but if Daifeng and the others refused to join in, just the four of them were unable to kill Chen. If Daifeng and the others left without them, they would be stuck here in Chen's tribulation and would be killed eventually. With no other choice, they followed Daifeng and the others. Joining hands, they forcibly blasted a path through the lightning beasts. They quickly charged out of Heavenly Fate Island, but the lightning beasts continued to chase them. "Get in," true immortal Jade shouted, summoning his celestial horse and the Killing war chariot. They immediately jumped into the chariot, fleeing. The lightning beasts continued chasing, but at a certain range, they seemed to be pulled back by the lightning gate and were forced to stop. Seeing all that, people were unable to even make a sound. Just what kind of tribulation was it, for it to not even care about empyreans? Weren't empyreans supposed to be the favorites of the heavens? Was this how the heavens treated their favored sons? An empyrean's tribulation was filled with life, but this tribulation was no trial, it was pure annihilation. Only once the tribulation stopped chasing them did true immortal Jade stop the chariot. They all had unsightly expressions. After jumping in to kill Chen, they had been forced to flee miserably without even touching a hair on Chen's head. Well, it wasn't accurate to say they hadn't touched a hair on his head. At least true immortal Jade had met the touch of Chen's hand with his face. "True immortal Jade, you were bragging so much before this. Tell me, does your face hurt now?" laughed Xuanhuan. Before this, true immortal Jade had said many arrogant words, such as that he would personally cut off Chen's head. But now, other than being slapped, it seemed he hadn't even managed to touch him. Xuanhuan, true immortal Jade clenched his teeth furiously. "What, you want to bite me?" asked Xuanhuan disdainfully. Rumbling rang out. The endless lightning beasts were so powerful that even the drakes were unable to stop them. They were only able to devour a portion of them, but the majority managed to get past. Chen was finally forced to fight. He had the wild lightning soul battle spear in hand and his lightning wings on his back. With each strike of his spear, lightning beasts exploded. Senior apprentice brother Chen is mighty. Seeing that Chen was so powerful once he fought personally, the Martial Heaven Alliance's disciples cheered. Hundreds of lightning beasts were blown apart, transforming into runes. They also couldn't help glancing at true immortal Jade and the others. These experts had been forced to flee in front of the lightning beasts, but Chen was able to easily slay them. The difference between the two groups was immense. "What powerful lightning paragon arts," sighed one of the Martial Heaven Alliance's elders. "It's not that his paragon arts are powerful, it's his thunder force. It comes from the same source as the tribulation lightning. He's fighting fire with fire. The will of the heavenly Taos is contained within this lightning, while empyreans like true immortal Jade and the others don't have the bravery to go against the heavenly Taos. That's why they fled," said Jade. "True immortal Jade, that idiot's arrogance knows no bounds. He actually calls himself true immortal. That just shows how ridiculous the Xuan beasts' overconfidence in themselves has grown," sneered Xuanhuan. The title of true immortal was given only to those who had reached the peak of cultivation. Furthermore, it was never self-given. It was something people bestowed upon them based on their accomplishments. For example, Taoist Heavenly Feather had taken the ice element's cultivation path to an entirely new level, so she was given such a name. As for true immortal Jade, he was nothing. Although he was a genius, he hadn't actually made anything himself. His title was self-given, so Xuanhuan had long since felt intense disgust for him. Hearing this, Jade actually smiled. "In this world, true can be false and false can be true. As long as you say enough false things, people will believe them to be true. Xuanhuan, tell me, if you encounter an idiot, what would you do?" Just slap them to death, said Mo Nian. Yi Lingshan suppressed a chuckle. What did I say something wrong? Demanded Mo Nian. My master posed the same question to Long Chen, but he gave a much better answer, said Yi Lingshan. What did he say? He said if he encountered an idiot, he would praise everything they said and raise them into an even bigger idiot. Mo Nian suddenly understood. You mean that true immortal Jioki, or perhaps the entire Xuan beasts, are being groomed to have an overinflated sense of ego? Jianing smiled and didn't reply. Her meaning was clear. The Xuan beasts were a group of idiots who had immense pride. If someone wanted to, it was easy to make their confidence inflate. However, it was Long Chen who was doing that. As they were speaking, Long Chen continued to tear through the lightning beasts. Lei Long wildly absorbed the lightning runes, strengthening itself and passing on the energy to Long Chen. There were so many lightning runes filling the air that even the lightning drakes were benefiting from Long Chen's fight. That made them even more grateful toward him. Long Chen's own body was absorbing the lightning runes when he touched them. The 108,000 stars in his body began to activate, indicating that he was starting to condense an astral space. Stop absorbing it, wait for the final wave. A voice rang out in Long Chen's mind, and he immediately stopped absorbing the lightning runes. However, he then realized that something was wrong. Evil Moon, was that you? Asked Long Chen. Was what me? Evil Moon was startled by this sudden question. Long Chen's heart pounded. If it was Evil Moon who had just spoken, then who was it? Just as he was distracted, a lightning sword pierced through his shoulder, causing a spurt of blood. Long Chen immediately stopped thinking about that voice. He had to focus on killing the lightning beasts. There was a giant lightning gate up in the sky, but there was also a lightning channel behind Long Chen connected to the lightning field. On the other side of the channel, there were countless lightning drakes crazily devouring the lightning runes that came through. These lightning drakes were smaller, and sometimes they would simply explode after eating a mouthful of the runes. They weren't strong enough to absorb such powerful thunder force. However, the stronger ones were devouring them and roaring with excitement. This was the greatest blessing of their lives. Up in the sky, the Silver Drake King was glaring at the channel, wondering if Long Chen was conning him. Why was it that even at such a time, he hadn't called out to it? Last time, it had been rather embarrassing during the Dragonblood Legion's tribulation as it had come out ahead of time. Hence, it was waiting for Long Chen to call it this time. That would make it appear more kingly. However, even now, Long Chen wasn't calling it. The divine lightning runes coming out of the channel were extremely attractive to it, but now it felt it would be embarrassing to fight over those scraps. Even though Long Chen was killing the lightning beasts quickly, more and more of them came from the sky. Furthermore, they were getting progressively stronger. All of Heavenly Fate Island was shaking, and it wasn't long before the Heavenly Fate platform shattered. But that wasn't all. The ground was continuously sinking. Some of the metal lightning energy attacks were so powerful that they pierced giant holes into the island. If this continued, it really wouldn't be long before Heavenly Fate Island was destroyed. That made them think of what Long Chen had said. Long Chen had said that the Martial Heaven continent would no longer have a Heavenly Fate Island. We can't let Long Chen finish his tribulation. We have to think of some way to disturb him, said the unfettered All-Seer. If you want to disturb him, it's simple. Let me. A sinister true immortal Jioki suddenly thought of something. Long Chen, take a look at this. An elder appeared in true immortal Jioki's hand. He was half unconscious and was being held by the throat. He was motionless, but there was a rainbow-colored mark on his forehead, with an aura showing that he was a powerful nether passage expert. This is the aura of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race. Startled cries rang out. Just what was he doing? I'd advise you not to do anything stupid. Long Chen turned to look at true immortal Jioki, icy killing intent in his eyes. He knew what true immortal Jioki was about to do. Blood splattered as the elder's body fell to the ground without his head. His head was in true immortal Jioki's hand. As for the body that fell, it transformed into the true form of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow. What did you say? I didn't hear it clearly. Something about doing something stupid, mocked true immortal Jioki. True immortal Jioki waved his hand, and dozens of people from the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race appeared. With a swing of his halberd, blood mist filled the air. In truth, those people were just corpses. Their souls had already been extracted to learn their secrets. However, their corpses had still possessed the slightest bit of life. As true immortal Jioki hadn't had time to handle these corpses yet, he now took them out in front of Long Chen. Haha, aren't you very arrogant? Then come at me. I only hunted down the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race's people because of you, so come at me. I have the kill-in-war chariot and you can't catch me. You'll only be able to watch as I kill them. You are trash, ha. True immortal Jioki suddenly took out a young woman. She was also from the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race, but she had a terrified expression. I was planning on raising this woman to have my children to see if I could give rise to an even stronger generation, but now I've changed ideas. I think I'll kill her and skin her slowly. You win. Long Chen took a deep breath. Haha, winning just like this. No, the good show is still coming. Don't be in a rush, Twang. True immortal Jioki's body shook. His vision flashed, and the woman in his hand vanished. That woman reappeared by Ziyan's side. Holding the 7-string C-suppressing zither, Ziyan coldly stared at true immortal Jioki. I, Ziyan, rarely curse people, but at this time I have no choice but to say that you are complete trash. Yijikyu slowly released her sword, Mo Nian put away his bow, and Hu Feng's die once more began slowly spinning. Each one of them had killing intent in their eyes. Jianying had a disdainful expression. The Xuanhuan beasts had been raised into even bigger idiots by Pill Valley. Even the neutral camp's experts couldn't maintain their neutrality. You, true immortal Jioki, was startled and enraged. He pointed his halberd at Ziyan, but before he could say anything, Long Chen's voice rang out from within the lightning. True immortal Jioki, you win. I have no choice but to change my plans because of your foolishness. Long Chen suddenly flew toward the other side of Heavenly Fate Island. Not good, the unfettered All-Seer's expression changed. He already knew what Long Chen was planning. As he moved, the tribulation followed him. The untouched parts of Heavenly Fate Island were torn asunder. Countless buildings lit up and attacked Long Chen, but regretfully, Heavenly Fate Island had always been a mysterious existence that no one had dared to provoke, so its defenses weren't very strong. Long Chen easily avoided those attacks and went straight for the main palace. The disciples within fled for their lives. There were over 10 Nether Passage experts who bravely charged into the lightning tribulation to kill him, but as soon as they entered his tribulation, swords of divine lightning condensed, with even greater power, turning those Nether Passage experts into nothing more than dust. Long Chen charged into the palace. The lightning beasts tried to follow him, but the palace was too big. Thus, they began to crazily attack the palace. All the buildings in the surroundings were blown apart. The disciples that didn't have time to flee yet were killed. They hadn't expected Long Chen to be able to drag the tribulation over. It had to be known that other people were locked down within a certain region when they underwent tribulation. Long Chen's actions once more toppled their understanding of heavenly tribulation. In just a few seconds, the palace was destroyed. The lightning beasts continued chasing Long Chen, and anything in their way was blown apart. He led this army of lightning beasts throughout Heavenly Fate Island. As a result, the disciples cried for their fathers and mothers as they ran. Long Chen, you bastard, hurry and stop, roared the unfettered All-Seer, but Long Chen ignored him. Very quickly, all of Heavenly Fate Island turned into ruins. I actually didn't find it, Long Chen was surprised. After going throughout the island, he hadn't found what he was looking for. He started another loop. The thunder force in the air was growing stronger and stronger. The lightning beasts had also grown mightier, and Heavenly Fate Island was now filled with holes. I understand, this fellow, he really is ruthless, Mo Nian suddenly understood. What is he doing? Asked Yi Lingshan. Guess. Suddenly, the ground exploded. A giant underground altar appeared beneath one of the palaces. That altar had a giant cut appear in it from one of the lightning beast's attacks, and as a result, brilliant divine light shone from the opening. Seeing that divine light, everyone let out startled cries. They realized what Long Chen was planning. Long Chen, you dare? The unfettered All-Seer was finally afraid. That was the heaven and earth divine pool of Heavenly Fate Island. It was their divine spring, a place where all their karmic luck was condensed. If it was destroyed, Heavenly Fate Island would slowly fade away until it was no more. Not even a god would be able to save them. Years ago, back when the heaven-suppressing magic sect had been one of the 3 great heavenly sects along with the Xuanhuan Dao sect and the heaven-splitting battle sect, Long Chen had destroyed their divine pool, resulting in them silently vanishing from this world. That was one of the laws of the heavenly Daos, an irresistible power. Once their divine pool was destroyed, it represented that this sect's destiny had run out. The world would no longer accept their existence. Long Chen flew over, but he had just approached it when a ray of sword chi slashed toward Long Chen. That terrifying sword chi annihilated any lightning beasts in its way. Long Chen immediately had a bad feeling. His lightning wings flapped and he hastily retreated. That sword chi just barely missed him. He narrowly avoided being cut in two. Long Chen's heart shook. A middle-aged man in Taoist robes had appeared, holding a translucent sword. Things can end here today. I, Jai Wuming, admit defeat. Ending our hostilities here will benefit everyone. That middle-aged man spoke coldly to Long Chen. He was actually able to ignore the heavenly tribulation. The appearance of this middle-aged man startled people. Just who was he? So the unfettered all-seer was actually just the deputy island master. He's the real master, said Li Tianxuan with surprise. Heavenly Fate Island's Fate Princes were the only ones qualified to inherit the position of Island Master. Each Fate Prince had a deputy. One stayed inside, while one handled the outside affairs. It was the deputies who handled the business of Heavenly Fate Island and the outside world, while the true princes focused entirely on cultivation. They rarely set foot out of Heavenly Fate Island for their entire lives. As for this middle-aged man, he had launched a powerful attack that had almost killed Long Chen, and yet he still hadn't been sensed by the tribulation. That was extremely strange. This person possessed a bizarre aura, one that people found difficult to get a clear reading of. As for his weapon, it was Heavenly Fate Island's classic ruler but a translucent sword. There were countless stars flickering within the sword. It was like the flow of the cosmos was contained within it. Looking at it would make someone feel like their mind was being drawn in. That's Heavenly Fate Island's core divine item, the Fantasy Star Sword. Yes, he has to be the real island master, said Jianian gravely. Jai Wuming was staring coldly at Long Chen. Long Chen felt a strange but sharp aura lock onto him even through the tribulation. Long Chen sneered, ending our hostilities here. Are you talking nonsense with me? I never provoked Heavenly Fate Island. It was Heavenly Fate Island who went against me time and time again, even using despicable means against the people beside me. Isn't this current scene exactly what you wanted? And now you want to end things and you think you can scare me with a sword. Let me tell you, there is nothing that I, Long Chen, don't dare to do. Long Chen suddenly threw his lightning spear at the divine pool below him, without any hesitation. Courting death, Jai Wuming was enraged, and a sharp sword chi slashed out. At that moment, everyone clearly saw the stars flow within his sword, and a strange light tore through the void. Boom! Long Chen's lightning spear exploded, but Long Chen seemed to have expected that. Following his spear were his lightning wings. Jai Wuming followed up with another slash of his sword, shattering Long Chen's lightning wings through space. However, he wasn't the slightest bit happy after blocking Long Chen's two attacks. Instead, killing intent surged within him. It was only at this moment that he saw a lightning dragon charge into the divine pool. It exploded, causing the divine pool to crumble. Long Chen, I, Jai Wuming, swear that I will kill you. Jai Wuming's face twisted. The destruction of the divine pool signified that the root of their karmic luck was gone. Heavenly Fate Island really would vanish from this world. A layer of mist covered Jai Wuming's sword, and its brilliance rapidly dimmed. Clearly, the Fantasy Star Sword was linked to Heavenly Fate Island's karmic luck, and it was now damaged. As it dimmed, the clouds in the sky shook and immense pressure crashed down. Jai Wuming had no choice but to retreat. He vanished. Once Jai Wuming was gone, the tribulation returned to its normal state. At this time, people understood that the reason Jai Wuming was able to remain unnoticed by the heavenly Taos was mostly because of the Fantasy Star Sword. With its power dropping, the tribulation had finally sensed him. Jai Wuming reappeared beside the unfettered all-seer. Both of their expressions were unsightly. They looked like they were already dead, as Heavenly Fate Island had been destroyed. Even if its name could persist, it would just be a place, not a sect. If any sect tried to establish itself under the name of Heavenly Fate Island, they would not receive the recognition of the heavenly Taos. Without the world's karmic luck, they would be like rootless duckweeds. They would blow away with the slightest breeze. He really did it, how ruthless. The people from Pill Valley, the ancient races, the corrupt path, the Xuanhuan beasts, the ancient family alliance, the Blood Hall, and the others all felt their hearts pounding wildly. Long Chen had actually caused the destruction of a sect with countless years of history. Heavenly Fate Island's disciples were crying. Their inheritance had been destroyed. They would be people without a home in the future. Long Chen, I swear I will make you regret your actions today. I'll make you live a life worse than death, roared Jai Wuming. Work hard, youngster. Long Chen will await you. Long Chen snorted. His lightning wings reappeared. At the same time, he put away the lightning channel behind him. The 9 lightning drakes vanished, and Lei Long also returned to him. A torrent of lightning beasts now charged toward him. What was he doing? Everyone was startled by this. This was the crucial moment of the tribulation. Why was he pulling back everything? I've fulfilled my first promise. Starting today, the Martial Heaven continent will no longer have a heavenly fate island. This floating island is now a masterless object. Now I'll fulfill my second promise. True immortal Jioki, do you still remember what I said? Long Chen waved his lightning spear, forcing back the beasts. I told you not to do anything stupid, but you still did it. So you've won. Congratulations, you've managed to fully infuriate me. Now I'll send you a gift. Prepare yourself for it. Long Chen suddenly flew away at top speed. Seeing the direction he was going, the Xuanhuan beast's leader, Peng Wanli, shouted, "Alert our people to scatter." He found that the direction in which Long Chen was going was the headquarters of the Xuanhuan beasts. If he still didn't understand what Long Chen was planning now, he would really be an idiot. The tribulation followed Long Chen, and the giant lightning gate stayed above his head the entire time. Everywhere he traveled was turned into ruined land. It seemed that the tribulation wouldn't rest until Long Chen was dead. True immortal Jioki was dumbfounded. Peng Wanli roared, "I told you to send a message. Are you deaf?" Yes, I'll do it right away." True immortal Jioki vaguely started to feel like he had caused a calamity. He sent a message, but in truth, the other experts of the Xuanhuan beasts had already sent the warnings back. Quick! Peng Wanli transformed into the body of a giant Kunpeng. He instantly vanished, hoping to be able to bring as many experts over as possible before Long Chen arrived. At the same time, he prayed that Long Chen's lightning tribulation would end soon, hopefully, before he even arrived at the Xuanhuan beast's headquarters. Peng Wanli was the first to move, and true immortal Jioki followed with his Kilin war chariot. Yu Xuanhuan, Zai Wenchen, Dai Long, Zhang Ziyang, Long Zhengking, the unfettered all-seer Jai Wuming, and the others were in hot pursuit. We should go too. That true immortal Jioki really is a genius. Long Chen was only going to use his tribulation to destroy Heavenly Fate Island, but he managed to change Long Chen's mind. That ability is admirable. Kajianying looked at the ruined Heavenly Fate Island. Countless experts began to chase Long Chen. They couldn't see him, but even from a great distance, they could see the lightning gate. They definitely wouldn't get lost. Long Chen flew for an hour. Because he didn't kill any lightning beasts during this time, more and more of them were filling the sky. Eventually, he saw his target and smiled. Countless experts with bows in hand were waiting for him. He had reached the territory of the Xuanhuan beasts. A hail of arrows tore through the air. As these arrows were made with the materials of divine items, even Nether Passage experts would be heavily injured if struck. Long Chen merely snorted, and he slashed Evil Moon. As a result, those arrows were blown apart, but Long Chen was forced back by their immense power. After all, there had been hundreds of divine arrows. That was enough to kill a Nether Passage expert of the second step. Long Chen's body suddenly shook. He transformed into 18 Long Chens that flew in every direction. The Xuanhuan beasts were stunned by this sudden change. For a moment, they were unable to tell which one was the true body and which ones were lightning fakes. With no time, they began shooting arrows. The fake Long Chens exploded one by one, until finally, Evil Moon appeared, blowing apart the nearby arrows, exposing who the real one was. "We found the real one," the Xuanhuan beasts shouted, but their expressions suddenly changed. Due to focusing entirely on Long Chen, they had forgotten about the tribulation. Run! However, it was too late. Lightning swords rained down from the sky, blowing them apart. Those experts were only at the peak of Life Star. The reason that they were so strong was entirely due to their special bows and arrows. Clearly, they were just cannon fodder the Xuanhuan beasts had called to slow Long Chen down. Long Chen continued past them, spotting a giant stone mountain. There were many caves throughout this mountain. This was the Xuanhuan beasts' headquarters. The Xuanhuan beasts didn't understand how to build things. Punching open caves was their forte. "Today, I'll destroy your bastard lair."